Captain's Log, June 2nd, 2836. After 27 years of war between the Degen Coomers and the Sainthood Slayers, a new hope arises. As the battlefield lay weaponized, locked and loaded for destruction, negotiations for a peace treaty are in transition. The moderator has arrived at Station 42. Can this war be ended? Will the Coomers and Slayers find a middle ground?
Abort mission. I repeat, abort mission. Negotiation failure. Abort mission.
Heavy bogies, 6 plus, low orbit, over grid 15-2.
No joy, Yashin.
Then go to your window and look up their biggest fracking asteroid.
Copy, Yashin. Still blind. Got some kind of system-wide crash in the defense grid.
Go on, track yourself right goddamn now, because we got Boku inbound, and they're not carrying flow.
Wait one, Yashin.
We don't have flow.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sarah, the Raging Tomato, bringing to you live another Moderator Monday. This evening, we question the topic of whether, is God required for knowledge? I'm joined by Alex from the Wi-Fi Gospel, Joel from the Think Institute, Craig McNeil from FTFE, and Flow State, also known as the Powdered Dusty. Gentlemen, if you would like to go ahead and kick off with you for opening statements, Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I appreciate you guys. You can find me on YouTube. I do a lot of debates, stuff like that. And let's get started. Proverbs 1:7 says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And this truth is echoed throughout the entire Bible. The Bible is clear that no knowledge can be had apart from God. All knowledge assumes the truth of the Christian worldview. Whatever you claim to know something, the foundation for that knowledge is the fear of the Lord. Now, this debate isn't merely about winning. Souls are literally at stake tonight. In fact, during this debate, you may receive more light and truth than you ever have before, and God will hold you accountable for what you do with it. If you don't repent of your sins and place your faith in Jesus Christ, there will be no hope for you. My sister was just in a really bad car accident. She's okay. She has some major injuries, but she's recovering well. It was just a sober reminder that any moment can be your last. She didn't wake up that day thinking she was going to end up laying in a pool of her own blood on the pavement of the highway. Something to think about. The Bible says that we all innately know that God exists, but we suppress that truth because of our unrighteousness. This is evident in the fact that every time we open our mouths and make statements about reality, we assume the God we deny. And the argument starts like this. If humans know things, then the Christian worldview is true. If humans know things, therefore the Christian worldview is true. For tonight's discussion, we'll use the simple philosophical definition of knowledge, justified true belief. The key problem is, how do we know if a belief is true or justified? Imagine I stop at my usual gas station after work. I pay with my card, insert the pump, pull the trigger, let it run for 10 minutes, hang it up, and drive home. Later, when my wife asks me, hey, is the gas tank full? I'll answer, yeah, I just filled it. She goes out to the car. It doesn't start. There's no gas in the tank. It turns out the gas tank had a hole in it, and I didn't notice, and it leaked all over the street on the way home. In this case, I merely had a false belief that my gas tank was full, not knowledge, because it wasn't actually true that my tank was full. Now, what if my gas tank didn't have a hole in it, but I was 70 years old and had dementia? I stop at the gas station, put the pump in my gas tank, and pull the trigger. The gas dispenses, and I fill my tank. My wife asks me, "Hey, is the gas tank full?" And I answer, "Yes, of course, I just filled it." She goes out, she starts the car, and the tank is indeed full. The issue is I have dementia, and it wasn't me that filled my tank. It was one of my children who loves to help me out, and I just remembered wrong because I have dementia. It's true that my tank is full, but my justification was no justification at all. I had a true belief, but not knowledge. This illustrates why knowledge must be infallibly true and undoubtedly justified. The only alternative is fallibilism, which claims that knowledge doesn't require a justification value of 100%. The problem with this is that any level under 100% is completely arbitrary. There's no principled reason why it should be 99 or 51%. So it follows that if it's arbitrary, I can use whatever level I want, including less than 1%. And if fallibilism is true, my belief in God could be less than 1% probable, and it must be considered knowledge. Lastly, if the only way to know something is to know it infallibly, then it may seem that God can only know things. Well, not really. Is it possible that God could reveal things to us such that we can know them infallibly? The eternal, holy creator and sustainer of all things. That God can most definitely reveal things to us such that we can know them. In fact, this is the only way we can know things. Without general and special revelation from God, we cannot know anything, and that's what we will demonstrate in this debate.
Thank you. And Joel, to you.
All right, my name is Joel Sedekase. I'm the founder of and president of the Think Institute. We're a Christian teaching and outreach organization aimed at helping regular believers to articulate, share, and defend the truth of the Christian worldview. Let's talk about knowledge. When it comes to knowledge, there are two possible levels. The first level, the primary level, consists of certain necessary beliefs. These cannot be false. For an infallibilist, someone who says that belief must be certain to be justified, these are the only kinds of beliefs that actually count as knowledge. But then there's the level 2 beliefs. These are the uncertain beliefs. They're contingent. They may be false, but given the fallibilist view of knowledge, they can count as knowledge. Level 2 beliefs are warranted when they are produced by truth-seeking faculties functioning according to their design at seeking truth in a favorable environment. Now, atheism undercuts knowledge at both levels. Any attempted certainty without God leads to an infinite regress of justification. I know A because of B, I know B because of C, ad infinitum. This leads to radical uncertainty about literally every belief. Without certainty, there can be no infallible, certain beliefs. But level 2 beliefs are also undermined. Without God, there's no warrant for trusting our faculties or the intelligibility of our environment. Now, God, on the other hand, does ground knowledge. First, God is the necessary precondition for level 1 beliefs. For example, laws of logic, which are certain. They are immaterial, absolute, objective, universal, and one and many. God has all these attributes, and so God grounds logic, mathematical principles, moral absolutes, and obligations. God is necessary for these certain, justified, true beliefs. And from these primary beliefs, we come to the level 2 beliefs, the ones that are uncertain, but which some people may want to call knowledge. In order for them to be warranted, we must have truth-seeking faculties aimed at truth, functioning according to design in a favorable environment. But if you take God out of the equation, there is no reason for thinking that any of those things obtain. With God, of course, they are all there. They're all justified. God is necessary for contingent, warranted beliefs. Now, here is our opponent's problem. They have to come here and seem as though they are certain that God is not necessary for knowledge. But they abandoned certainty when they abandoned God. Despite the implications of their position, which does lead to radical uncertainty, radical skepticism. You're not going to hear radical skepticism tonight. You're not going to hear radical uncertainty. They're going to act like they are certain. Why? Because they know what we know, what you know, that there is no escaping the truth. God is there, and God is necessary for knowledge.
Thank you, Joel. Craig, to you.
Okay, yeah. So another one of these debates where we take a perfectly reasonable question about knowledge and jam God into it like an unwanted pop-up ad. The question at hand is God required for knowledge? But before we even get to that, we need to address the sneaky little trick hidden in the question, because this is actually two debates in a trench coat. The first part asks about knowledge, but lurking right underneath is, does God even exist? Because if God doesn't exist, then asking if he's required for knowledge is like asking if unicorn tears are required for hydration. The answer isn't just no, it's what the hell are you even talking about? Let's be clear, nobody has ever proven the existence of God, not once, ever. The best we've gotten are philosophical word games, ancient texts that contradict themselves, and the occasional just look at the trees argument. So if my opponents want to argue that God is necessary for knowledge, they first need to prove that God exists. And if they could do that, they wouldn't be debating me on the internet. They'd be out there claiming their Nobel Prize, shaking hands with world leaders, and probably launching some tax-exempt megachurch. But hey, let's humor the idea for a second and pretend that knowledge only exists because some cosmic overseer is handing out like party favors. That would be a bit weird though, wouldn't it? Because atheists, agnostics, and skeptics all still manage to know things. Scientists make discoveries, doctors save lives, engineers build bridges, all without requiring a single divine permission slip. Even dogs who, as far as I can tell, have never attended Sunday school still know when it's dinner time. And then there is, this is where the presuppositionists roll in with their favorite move. But how do you justify logic without God? As if logic is some magical artifact that God forged in the divine realm and bestowed upon humanity like an overly complicated IKEA instruction manual. The answer is simple. Logic works because reality is consistent. We use it because it gets results. We don't need a celestial babysitter to explain why fire burns hot, why objects fall, or why touching an electric fence with your tongue is a bad idea. So let's recap. In order to prove that God is required for knowledge, my opponents first have to prove that God exists. Then they have to prove that knowledge specifically comes from him and not from our own ability to observe, test, and reason. That is a big ask. And given that the thousands of years of religious philosophy still hasn't pulled it off, I'm not exactly holding my breath. But hey, maybe tonight's the night, or my opponent cracks the case. Maybe they've got the one argument that will change history forever, or maybe they just repeat some warmed over, already debunked nonsense and call it a day. Let's find out.
Thank you so much, Craig. Flo, to you.
Yeah. So we can use the definition of knowledge that they provide, which is justified true belief, and I think that we could easily demonstrate that that's not the case with that definition. But I want to point out real quick that the reason that they didn't choose the Merriam-Webster definition, which is the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity gained through experience or association. That would have been a lot harder slog uphill. The philosophical claim that, the claim that we need God to have knowledge that I heard from Joel a minute ago is basically the claim that without God, you have uncertainty. But that is what we have. We have uncertainty. We don't know. And the issue with claiming you know something when you don't actually know it is then you stop looking and learning. You consider yourself to have that filled. So the fact is that if we're being honest, which I think that God would want, if we're being honest, we don't know where anything came from. And if we had faith, we would be okay with that because that's how it's supposed to be.
Thank you so much. And gentlemen, I appreciate all of your opening statements. And as a kind reminder to all the viewers out there, everybody up here is free streaming on their own end. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share. There are over 400 of you watching right now. I expect to see a bunch of thumbs up all over the place. As another reminder, we will go into open panel dumpster fire at the end of this. We will run a 2-hour debate. We will do closing statements, read and respond to super chats, and then we will open the floor up for the public. Gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Thanks. Craig, real quick, do you agree that there's a distinction between certain necessary beliefs and uncertain contingent beliefs?
Yeah.
And how do you, as an atheist, achieve certainty for level 1 beliefs, those certain beliefs like the laws of logic, without God's revelation?
They work. We have our own experiences and can test to see if they work, and to say that they're contingent on God is just a presupposition that God itself exists.
Craig, you said that they work, but isn't that an assumption that you bring to any of your endeavors, whether it's your time in the military or your time talking about science? Don't you have to already presuppose that the laws of logic are going to obtain and are going to work before you test anything?
Laws of logic have been tested countless times throughout history. They evolve as we evolve and new logical paradigms appear.
Craig, did you say the laws of logic evolve?
The laws of logic, as the humans evolved, do change. The laws of logic that we now have as a species that can talk are very different to the laws of logic when we were cavemen. To say
what
that
do
the laws of logic
used
are,
to be?
well, we would have laws of logical decisions that we derive from different things than cavemen would. The laws of logic for us are different. Yeah, you know, if you've asked me a question, you do need to give me the chance to respond. So once again, this all comes down to the presupposition that there is a God for logic to be a thing. We know that logic works because we can test it, we can observe reality, and we can apply logic to situations and see if they work. If they don't, we can find a better logical way to go around it.
And the laws of logic are linguistic features.
What did they used to be? Flow State, do you agree with your partner that the laws of logic have evolved since we were cavemen?
I don't think that the laws of logic evolved, but I think that they are a human development because they come with language. They define themselves.
Can you name the 3 laws of logic, one of you, real quick?
Identity, excluded middle. I don't remember the third one, but they're all linguistic. What's the third one?
They have changed.
What is the third one?
Non-contradiction, excluded middle, and identity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of those. No, they haven't changed, but they could have evolved. I mean, they were developed as a way of understanding the world, but all they're doing really is referring to their linguistic origin.
Okay,
I can't be a dog and be a cat at the same time because, as defined, dog is not a cat.
Okay, so what you're saying, so that was a great example of the second law of logic, which is the law of non-contradiction. Your partner has said that the laws of logic have evolved over time, that they weren't the same when we were cavemen.
I mean, I don't believe that, and I don't know. I don't know that that's going to be the toehold that you really want it to be.
In the sense of, like my partner said, in the sense of it's a linguistic feature, and as cavemen, we didn't have the linguistic abilities that we do now. So we couldn't perceive the laws of logic in the way that we can now as a sentient species.
I see.
So it was a very different thing.
So I apologize for interrupting you. So the laws of logic haven't changed, just our ability to articulate them has changed over time. Is that correct?
I suppose you could say that how we perceive the world around us, which gives us our ability to derive logical assumptions.
I see. So that's really immaterial as to whether or not the laws of logic exist today. Is that correct? They're there whether we perceive them or not.
Did God create the laws of logic, or is he? Do they predate him?
That's a great question. They're an expression of God's mind. Do you agree that the laws of logic?
You just said something very specific there. Can you demonstrate how they're an expression of God's mind and lead us to the logical assumption that you've just come to?
Yes, I did that in my opening statement, didn't I? I said that the laws of logic are immaterial, absolute, objective. They are omnipresent. They are absolute, and they also demonstrate unity and diversity.
Except for the
triune God of Scripture. One second. The triune God of Scripture has all of those attributes and sufficiently and necessarily grounds the law of logic. And if he is the necessary precondition for logic, then there can't be another one. What I heard in your opening statement, on the other hand, Craig, was that we don't need to ask why the fire burns. We don't need to ask why logic works. It just works. Well, if we're here to just talk about, this is just the way the world works, we don't need to really go any deeper. Then why are we even debating?
Sorry to interrupt you there, but no, that's not what I said. I didn't say we don't need to ask why. In fact, I specifically said that we ask why, and then we get that answer without having to refer to a deity. We find out why the fire is hot by experimenting with the world. We find out why licking an electric fence is a bad idea by the experiences that have come beforehand. Knowledge is something that we gain through experience, and that experience can exist whether there's a deity or not.
I see. And so the laws of logic are something that we gain through a posteriori experience. Is that correct? You don't believe that they're something that we know a priori?
Not
the laws of logic. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No, you go ahead. Please,
the laws of logic are not the things governing the universe. They govern our linguistic understanding of the universe that we interact in. So does the law of logic predate my understanding of what a father is? Well, I don't know. It comes baked into me understanding the definition of a father and how this definition excludes father from being its own son. If I understand what the word means.
You guys said that the laws of logic are a linguistic feature. Does that mean they existed before humans could experience them?
No one would have known.
Did they exist though?
Well,
if it's a linguistic feature, then they exist before language.
Okay,
Yeah,
so before
to
humans were
be
here-
logically consistent, we have to be able to understand what has happened. So to be able to understand what the laws of logic are, we would have had to have linguistic abilities. So the laws of logic themselves couldn't have existed before our ability to perceive them as laws of logic.
Perfect, and that's the debate. If the laws of logic could not have existed before humans were here, then the Earth could have existed and not existed at the same time, right? In the same way.
No, I don't know how you reached that at all. We know the Earth existed because of science and experimenting and testing and observations. That is apart. Wait, hold on. No, that's different to if humans existed and were able to perceive the laws of logic. You're trying to shoehorn the laws of logic into our ability now to test what happened in the past, and those aren't the same things.
Would you say that our ability to perceive the laws of logic and the laws of logic themselves are different?
Yes.
No, I don't think. Well, I mean, maybe. Hold on. It's the laws of logic are an aspect of our perception, but our perception is a prerequisite for the laws of logic. Now we can walk through them if you want, and we can do a demonstration of how they are language oriented.
Saying yes contradicts what you just said, Craig.
No, it doesn't.
You said they did not exist before human minds existed.
Yeah, and
then you just said that the perception of them and what they are actually different, and that they did exist before the human minds exist.
But the fact that we can perceive them is what allows them to exist.
This is tricky. You're making a tricky language argument. You're making a tricky language argument because look.
Yes, I am.
What is this? Here, play along with me. What is this?
What
charging
do they
block.
call those? Charging block. That's a good word for it.
What's this?
It's a lighter.
Okay. How do we know that?
Well, I would say that you actually can't, under your worldview, know that.
Yeah.
No, I can't under your worldview. Both of you made a point of saying that
our
knowledge
worldview is true,
doesn't
you
have
can
to
know
be
that.
guaranteed for it to be knowledge.
No. I think you might have misunderstood that, Dusty. The point that I was making is that however you define knowledge, whether on an infallibilist view or a fallibilist view, both schemes of knowledge rely ultimately on God. See, the fallibilist view says you don't. I'm explaining. The fallibilist view says that you don't have to have absolute certainty in order to call a belief knowledge. The infallibilist view says you must have 100% certainty. My point was that whether or not you take a fallibilist view, under which knowledge can be warranted true belief, or you take a infallibilist view, which says you must have justified true belief. Either way, you don't have warrant or justification without the triune God of Scripture. Now, Craig, you accused us of trying to shoehorn God into the debate and talk about just look at the trees, which, by the way, trees are beautiful and I think an excellent evidence for God. But that's not our argument tonight.
That's a presupposition again.
That trees are beautiful. Yes, I presuppose that trees.
No, it's evidence of God.
The point.
That's the
One second. Hold that
the,
thought 1 second.
Well, okay,
the point
sorry,
is that you misread what you did was you came in thinking we were going to make a particular argument. Maybe you got thrown off by the presupposition that we brought. Well, either way, it seemed like you did. And the point is not that we're defining knowledge. That we're defining knowledge one way or the other. What we're saying is, however you define knowledge, you can't have knowledge without God, and that's what we've demonstrated in our opening statements.
But that is a presupposition that you're just saying God exists because I say God.
You've made a claim, but you haven't demonstrated it. Shit, really. I mean,
we both did make arguments.
Well, hold on 1 second. One second. You just said we did demonstrate that God existed. Could you demonstrate that God?
Arguments, I said.
Well, no. That's not proven that God exists. An argument that God exists isn't demonstrated. You know, when I'm talking, that's the middle of my sentence. Yeah.
Don't apologize.
In fact, I do apologize that the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours. That's
not
incredibly rude of me.
Everyone apologizes.
The whole argument comes down to you making the presupposition that God exists. God exists, therefore knowledge is required. I reject the presupposition that God exists.
Hold on.
Knowledge comes from our observation of. No, don't hold on me. I'm going to finish. Our knowledge comes from our observation of the universe around us, and that comes from our ability as a species, which comes from evolution, which can all exist without your presupposition of a God.
Alex, do you want to respond to that?
Well, there are lots of problems with that. I don't think you represented my argument. I don't think you represented my argument well. But I just real quick, you said that our knowledge comes from observations, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, observation, experience, experimentation.
Observations.
My eyes, my senses.
Okay. And how do you know that your senses are reliable enough to give you true data about the world?
No, I don't just use my senses. I would use tools. I would use scientific methodology.
Okay,
You know,
both
I
of
would,
those
I
things
would,
require
I
your
would, be,
thinking, right?
I would ask a question. I would form a hypothesis. I would create a prediction. I would test that prediction with an
All of
experiment. I
those
would then
things
perform
require
analysis
you to
on
use
the
your senses.
middle of my sentence.
Well,
I would
you're
Yeah,
perform,
I will
I,
say
middle
you
of my,
did
yeah,
ask a question, Alex. You asked the question. At least let him finish answering it.
I would perform analysis on my data from my experiment, and then I would see where that comes and see if I need to do any more experimentation and observations. Not just my eyes, not just my senses. They are part of what I use. Tools are available thanks to the fact that we have developed as a species. We use those tools to test the world around us.
Okay, and everything you just listed also relies on your senses to operate, right?
Well, we need our senses and our abilities and our muscle memory,
That's our
and yes, our
information intake
senses.
methods, right?
Yes.
All right. So again, you can't use any of those to prove that your senses are reliable, because that would be a circular argument.
I think what you're trying to do is demonstrate that we can't know anything for sure.
That is correct.
Not that God exists.
No.
Your argument
actually,
demonstrates that we can't know anything for sure. I would agree with
given
that.
your own
actually.
worldview, yes. Given your
Yeah,
worldview.
but,
What is my
I
worldview?
want to point out
What's
the
my
flaw.
worldview? I want
Actually,
to hold on before you've done that 2 times now. Could you define my worldview, please?
The negation of the proposition that God is necessary for knowledge. Any worldview that that involves that, which I assume you hold, otherwise
I do. Yeah, I'm content with that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not that you can't know things. Actually, I brought that up in my opening statement. It's that you do know things, but you do so inconsistently. You hold 2 contradictory beliefs. The 2 beliefs are this: 1, God is there, and 2, that you don't believe in him. Those are
How do we hold the first one?
No, excuse me. Yeah, no, neither of us think that God is there.
No, I understand that you believe explicitly, you hold forth the proposition that you don't believe in God, but your very act of reasoning, of engaging in predication, you're very engaging in this debate today. This is what we showed in our opening statements, reveals that you tacitly or surreptitiously believe in God, or at least are willing to.
Well, no, that's just a massive
God.
assumption.
1 second, the middle of my
let him
sentence
finish,
just interrupted your interruption, or however you put it. You have to
It's
surreptitiously
literally
or tacitly act as if you're actually on this side. So what you're doing is you're standing on your foundation while you're denying that God is necessary for knowledge, but then you sneakily come over to our side of the fence in order to attempt to use the laws of logic, or attempt to appeal.
What would
to
our argument look like
reliable
if we
truth-seeking
were on
faculties.
all the way on our side? Sorry. I mean, but what would the argument look from our side if we were all the way on our side? Do you think?
That's an excellent question. You could not make a coherent argument, which is why.
Okay,
you
but this just comes back
Tell
to
me
the
in your
presupposition of God existing, because you're saying that we are saying that we use knowledge, therefore God exists. No, I reject your presupposition that God exists. I can tell you exactly where knowledge comes from the basis of evolution and our senses and everything. And again, the presupposition that we use our senses, therefore it must be God, is wrong. We can test if our senses are correct using the scientific method. Using the scientific method, we can test if our senses are correct. If you ask me a question, let me respond. I was in the middle of talking. I can't be done. We can test our senses. We can test our senses using the scientific method to see if our senses are correct. That's why I wear glasses, because these senses suck. So we use the scientific method to test my senses and correct them using tools. None of that required God. You're just assuming a deity is required for knowledge to happen. But knowledge is gained, it's experience.
The conclusions that you get from using the scientific method, how do you observe those?
Using
the same way that you observe.
Yes.
All right. So
the
that's
same way you observe religion. I mean, I just had
reliable
divine revelation. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but God just told me we're right.
So
yeah, but I've used it to answer the question. To answer the question.
Real quick, Dusty just said something.
It's a question. Let me answer the
Craig,
question.
Hold on.
We need to acknowledge what just happened. Craig said that God just
question.
Dusty just said that God gave him knowledge. Dusty, come on over to our side. And
was my
three of us.
I apologize for not lathering enough sarcasm onto that statement.
Is sarcasm not something you recognize, or
I thought listen, I can recognize sarcasm, but
clearly not.
He And
So you interrupted me asking a question to
Craig,
not recognize
Craig,
sarcasm. Is that right?
Craig,
Yeah, that's my name.
my
Don't wear it out.
One second. My invitation.
Yeah, you can
Festus
keep
coming
saying
over
my
to our
name.
side
It's not going to
was
change what
just
you've
as
just done.
serious
And that
as
is
Dusty's
right. So
statement
right,
that he had
yeah,
received
Joe,
revelation.
Okay,
Joe,
stop.
Joe,
Everybody stop.
Joe.
Hold on
Just
for a
as
second.
serious.
Stop.
So
Stop.
take a breath.
Now we all know Flow State and how sarcastic he puts a Pope hat on sometimes.
I
Like
thought that's
he's a
the biggest
total
one.
asshole when it comes to the God stuff.
What
Anybody in
stuff?
the crowd would already know that. Anybody listening and anybody that's observed him prior to that, he's a sarcastic little shit. This is what he
Me?
does. There you go. So
Okay.
yes, he spent a whole day talking about how God revealed it to him. So
Oh, Your Worship,
gonna-
it's an honor to have you on my
Thank
side.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
it time for the tithing?
I would like to get back to a couple of things Craig said in his opening statement. You said
Well,
if it was if
okay,
God was
I have questions,
demonstrated, we can get to your
Yeah.
questions. I promise. I have just a couple things. You said if it was, and I forget exactly what you said, so correct me if I'm wrong. You said if it was demonstrated that God exists, we wouldn't be on the internet debating it, right?
Yeah, no. If
Right.
if God came down and was here and did some miracles and proved that he was real, you and I would not be on the internet debating whether God existed. You would be collecting your Nobel Prize.
Has it been demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is not flat?
Yes, 100%.
And why do you debate it on the internet?
Oh, because it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah, because
All right,
there is ridiculously stupid people that have an IQ smaller than their shoe size, and dunking on them and being able to use that as a platform to teach real physics is hilarious and useful.
Craig,
I would say the same, but I don't want to be rude.
Craig.
I
and then
mean,
there's
okay,
two more
let's
things
hold
you
on.
said during
We
your
can
opening-
apply that. We can apply
All
that
right,
same
okay.
question though to God really
What do you
easily.
mean?
Has God been
Yeah.
demonstrated beyond a reasonable
Well,
doubt?
I wouldn't make that argument.
No,
Nobody.
I'm
Yeah, of course not.
No, I wouldn't make the argument that we shouldn't be debating it if it's been demonstrated.
Right.
Because I think people can be
Okay.
self-deluded.
So you found a tangent to try to win on because you can't win
Yeah.
on the main
I
topic.
thought
It-
I thought
right.
that
Can,
could
can
be
we
good
just take this?
rhetorical
Right. Can we
points.
just take this back to the base, the
Well,
very
you said that during
foundation
your
of
opening
this?
statement. Sorry, go ahead.
I will
can we-
allow me for just a second, gentlemen, because Alex and Joel, you do have the affirmative side. So technically, all of the questions should be coming from Flo and Craig. Now, that doesn't mean you can't, cross-examine, and it is allowable. But most of the bulk of the questions should be coming from these two in this conversation,
Yeah.
just as the wherewithal. Okay, Craig, to you.
Yeah. Okay. So you keep going back to, oh, well, how do you look at the data? You use your eyes and your senses. What's your point with that? How does that go back to knowledge comes from God?
Craig, I actually addressed that in my opening statement. So I've already anticipated all your questions and your arguments so far. When I spoke in my opening statement about those second tier beliefs that are gained through our sense experience, the other experiences that we have, our perhaps our intuition, you might want to put in there as well. But these are the beliefs that we are not certain about, that we can.
How do we gain
All we
first
can
tier?
say, one second, all we can say is that they are warranted, but for warrant to obtain, meaning for us to justifiably say that we have warrant, there must be certain conditions that must be met. For example, our truth-seeking faculties must be functioning reliably. They must be operating according to a design plan aimed at truth, and they must
That's
be.
again, that's a presupposition. You are
Hold
just
on.
making a
Let him-
presupposition.
Let him
on,
finish. Though.
hold on.
Let him
Craig,
finish.
I know that that's inflammatory to you, but this is the definition of what it
No,
means
it's
to
not.
have.
No, it's
Oh,
not the
well,
definition.
This is the definition of what it means to have warrants. If you want to come up with another one, that's okay. But I
Well,
will
how do you
finish
get
my
your first level
and then you
knowledge?
can
That would
try
be
to
my
rebut it.
question.
So
You're
you have
saying
to so the truth-seeking faculties, including our sense experience, must be reliable, must be functioning according to design in a propitious or a favorable environment. Now, if you want to say, oh, sure, the design is evolutionary, it's unguided, it's time and chance acting on matter over millions and billions of years, we'll still
There we
count
go,
that as
yeah.
a design plan. The point
I agree.
is,
We can't know anything for sure.
Let him
right.
finish.
Okay. So hold on, because
So I want to point out,
thing.
Joel,
One
that
second,
you
Craig.
never you've
So the
talked
point-
about 6.5
Craig,
years and you haven't answered my
thank you.
question. So maybe I can
Thank you. I'm
reiterate
gonna
my
talk
question.
Hold
just-
on,
to you.
hold
a
on, hold
little
on,
bit more,
because
Craig.
he has been interrupted continuously. So this is like the third time he's been interrupted, which is probably going to extend his time even more. So let him finish his thought, and then Craig and Flo, you can rally back behind him.
Okay, so Craig, Here's the main issue, the main problem of several that you are presenting tonight. You want to make knowledge solely about the deliverances of your sense data, but you have to presuppose the reliability of your sense data in order to test your sense data. That we call a vicious circle. Without God, that is what you are left with. And so, yes, to answer Dusty's question, and I'm glad that he agrees with me on this, you can't know anything for certain. Even that knowledge comes from your sense data.
No, even that God exists. How do you get the first level knowledge then if it's not through your senses and experiences?
Sorry, are you guys not going to respond? Are you just going to concede the point that I just made?
No, I'm going to ask the question that I was stuck on a long time ago before you flew your plane around the block.
I was responding directly to his question.
Okay, I don't even remember what his question was. Can you answer?
I do want to point out that you didn't answer my question. You just presupposed God is the reason that we have senses.
That's what you
that's literally all you've done. You've just gone, well, how do we know that our senses are right? Well, we have to have a base for that, therefore God. No, again, our senses come from the evolution and our ability to test.
Or they come from God. Wherever they come from, it doesn't matter. But how do we get first level knowledge if it's not the way we get all other kinds of knowledge?
Dusty, you keep conceding the debate. Do you know that you're doing that? You just said, or they come from.
Can you answer the question instead of like do the theatrics? Like I'm not going to fall. Nobody's falling for it.
It's a debate, Dusty. You're supposed to come.
I understand that. I understand that. And what I'm asking you is, how do you get the first level knowledge?
Okay, I so want to talk about that, but that's
it's a hard one to answer, isn't it?
It's not a hard one. I literally demonstrated it in my opening statement. But we're talking about sense data, and it would be so. I mean, if you just want to concede that sense data devolves into absolute complete and total question begging circular reasoning without God, that's fine. We can move on to primary.
No, it doesn't, because again, we can use the scientific method, which uses iterative testing to be able to narrow down what our experiences are.
Yes,
so again, let me finish. We never have exact knowledge 100% what's happening. Now, do I see blue the same as you see blue? No. Who knows if that's the case? Is it a particular wavelength of light? Yes, we can get this data and know these things without having to presuppose anything before. We can test it and we can go with what our closest answers are to what our senses get. And then we can compare that to reality. And once we compare it to reality, we can see if our senses are right or not. None of that requires a God or circular reasoning. Iterative testing is not circular reasoning.
Did I not just demonstrate to you that was circular reasoning? Would you like me to do it again?
No, I'll repeat it again.
Like
iterative testing.
My question.
Yeah. Definitely answer this question.
What is the answer to my question? How do you get level 1 knowledge? I'm not conceding level 2 knowledge. I will say that what you're making a case for is that we can't know anything for sure, and that is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
Now, under everyone's worldview, you guys give into the impulse of humans to know things, to know the unknown. The fact of the matter is, there is unknown. We don't have to know everything for it to exist. That would be solipsistic of us. That would be quite anti-Christian. That'd be actually. How do we get first level knowledge?
Well, real quick, do you know what the principle of explosion is? Because
don't real quick me. No. You guys have been real quicking for about 10 minutes now. No, I'm not. No, I'm going to filibuster the fuck out of you until you tell me how you get first level fucking knowledge.
Would you like to answer this, Joel? I can if you want.
Okay, just
neither of them want to answer it.
All right, yeah.
No, not real quick. Real quick.
Dusty, I'm trolling you a little bit. I apologize. That's fine. You troll me, I troll. I'm not Catholic, so you can wear that hat. I actually think it's great. Okay, so first level knowledge, as I explained in my my opening, first level knowledge refers to those beliefs which are certain, which we absolutely do know for certain. And I just want to point out, so hear me on this, because I know you're going to want to cut in here, but just hear me. I am going to make a complete
because
point.
You're not going to answer the question.
I just called it.
You're taking the long ass way around the block.
I called it.
Let him go.
All right, fine. I'll let you fly your plane around the block, but if it doesn't land on
you're not going to let me
what I asked, you owe me $20.
I'm in the pilot seat now. Listen, the first level knowledge these are the beliefs that we can can be and are certain about. And you just said a second ago, you said we don't know anything for certain. The fact of the matter is, which obviously that's contradictory. Like, we don't know anything for certain. And here's a fact. All right. Unless you look, if you're not going to know anything for certain, don't tell me what the facts are. But when we're talking about those beliefs that are certain, like the laws of logic, like moral absolutes, like the principles of mathematics, like our own existence, the reason why we can know these things for certain, and the reason why we do know these things for certain, is because, now hold on a second, because you're gonna want to interrupt again. I'm calling it. The reason why, that's fine. You're muted. Good. Smart. The reason why is because, this is an internal critique of Christianity now, is because God reveals those things to us such that we can be certain. And if you want to know how he does it in two ways: by his works and by his word. Look, Craig, we're not going to get anywhere if you keep doing that. And I'm surprised you haven't said Sky Daddy, by the way. Good on you for not saying Sky Daddy. You're a grown man. But look,
I mean, it is ridiculous you believe in Sky Daddy.
There it is.
Hold on.
Fell right into it, Craig.
Let him get the whole thing out so that then he can stop.
We're going to land the plane.
Joel, I'm packing my parachute up. Land that plane quickly.
Fine. Okay, I will do it. I'll say it very simply. God reveals these things to us such that we can be certain in two ways. One, by his works, which includes us, the internal testimony of our conscience and our reasoning, and by this book right here. This is called the Bible. In this Bible, God gives us a certain worldview, which includes a metaphysical and epistemological scheme with God at the foundation of it, by which we can and do know things for certain. You know things for certain. We know things for certain. We just acknowledge that God is necessary for that certain knowledge.
No, you made the presupposition that God is necessary.
Yes,
that's
exactly. The impossibility of the contrary, because as we can see, both of you just conceded the debate by saying we cannot know anything for certain.
No, that's not a concession of the debate.
Yes,
that is how science works. Science,
so if you can't know anything for certain, can you know that for certain?
I was talking.
Okay, I see. This is what happens when you define reality as a linguistic function. You think reality is a linguistic function, and so that's why you think that this is a gotcha.
I know you guys don't think the laws of contradiction
I see the linguistic trick you did, because
they apply to us.
Your whole world is linguistic. But I mean, I guess it caught me a little off guard because I thought Christians wanted to know the truth. I didn't think that they were trying to depend on gimmicks to demonstrate.
Yeah,
I guess you guys must not believe in God.
Listen, all right. Listen,
okay,
you guys
right. Let me hold on. Let me ask a question.
Is.
Let me ask a very simple question. Simple question. How do we know our senses work?
God reveals it to us such that we can reasonably, most oftentimes, rely on our senses. And if you really want to know why, hold on. It's because Genesis 1:27.
Okay, no, we know our senses work because we can test them. I.e., if I see a car coming, I move out of the way and I don't get hit. That's how I know my senses work, because I can reliably test them in the. Excuse me?
How do you know you didn't get hit?
Because I studied physics, and I can, if I know the position and direction and velocity of any particle at any time, I can predict the future with it. So I knew for a fact that if I didn't get out of the way, I would have been hit. I would have got hit. So I can test my senses by not getting hit, by moving out the way as my senses told me to.
How do you know that your sense data is reliable?
Because I didn't get hit by the car.
It's a circle. Just keep running the circle.
How do you know that the Bible's reliable? How do you know the Bible's reliable?
Impossibility of the contrary. I gave a syllogism in my opening statement that was modus ponens. And if you want to call modus ponens circular, you can. That's fine, but you'd be wrong.
And once again, I want to point out.
I must have missed it. Let me have it. I must have missed where you said, where you explained how it's impossible for the Bible not to be real. Could you retouch that point without jargon?
It's been demonstrated right in this debate. Because if you deny that the Bible is reliable or true, then you wouldn't be able to know anything. And neither of you have given
I directly deny the Bible is reliable or true.
Yeah, that's fine. And you give us circular arguments on what you know to be true.
But you don't know anything. You don't know if the Bible's true. You can claim
that
you do all you want.
I need to clarify one thing. Science and iterative testing is not circular. You're making the argument that is affirming the consequent. It is not. Science, when you do iterative testing, observation, repeated testing, it is not circular. It is iterative. It is constantly getting more and more data and basing your reality on what the data gives you.
Craig,
None
is
of that
is
is.
this a question?
I was nearly at the end of my sentence. Can you
Oh
calm
my
down,
God,
Joe? Joe,
gentlemen.
you have spoken for about 900 years, so please let other people do it. Okay.
Your sense of time.
I was okay. No, Joe. I just told
you.
you that I was nearly finished. Can you
I heard
just
you.
hold on? Can you just hold on? And when
I heard you, and I
finish
chose to
talking-
continue.
when I have
All
finished
right,
talking, Joe, you can
gentlemen,
talk, Joe, okay?
gentlemen. All of you, I will say, all of you are interrupting each other. It has been pretty fair across the board of everybody interrupting each other. If we could just be mindful, even if you have to mute yourself while the other person is completing their sentence, do so. Wait till they complete their sentence, then intervene. I understand there are some interruptions that make sense, but when somebody appeals to let them finish,
Oh my
please
God,
just
will you land
hush
it?
up and let up. Shut the fuck up, Flo. Please
Fight.
just do it. Well, you don't fight the mod. All right, back to
stop
you.
Can I explain?
Back to
Right.
you,
Right.
Craig. I think you or Craig
Yeah,
and Joel.
so
I think you were-
I'm gonna lay it out how it is. Science is built on observation and repeated testing. If our senses were completely unreliable, we wouldn't be able to develop a consistent, testable model of reality. But we do. We predict eclipses down to the second. We design technology that functions flawlessly across the globe, and we cure diseases based on observable biological processes.
You're
That
doing too
wouldn't be
much, though. We don't
possible
need
if
to-
our
we don't need
senses
to-
were
we don't need
fundamentally
to-
broken.
We don't need to demonstrate science is great. They need to demonstrate why that book is necessary for anything to be
Yeah.
known. Because obviously, lots of people in the Bible itself, lots of people have known shit without that ability, right?
All right.
Craig is actually doing what you need to do to win this debate, because the argument I laid out relies on the impossibility of the.
You want me to
contrary.
antagonize Craig?
Hold on. We've
You want to fight
given
with
you.
Flo? Come on.
I
Well, that's
listen.
it.
I think if we do have the physical, we got the physical on our side too. Anyway,
Wait,
we,
physical on your side. Have you seen the guns I carry with me?
all right,
God
all right, fair enough.
damn.
Oh my God, that was so corny. I love it. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm
I
British. That's the only guns I can carry. Okay.
I'm
that is
American, and me
fair.
too.
That is
All
fair.
right.
L for
So-
Flo.
I am losing my train of thought. Let me focus here. So over and over again, I've made the argument that unless you presuppose that the Christian worldview is true, you cannot have knowledge. And I've given you a way within which, if the Christian worldview is true, we can have knowledge. You have not given us a way under your worldview that you can have knowledge, and you keep saying science.
I got you one.
But what I
I got one for you.
That's good, but I just want to make this last point. What I keep repeating is that when you say science can give you knowledge, you admitted that science relies on your senses. In your senses, you cannot give me a non-circular argument as to why your senses are reliable. That's the
I'm going to
circular
give you the same argument that you just gave me, except I'm going to swap out the Bible for this Limp Bizkit poster. This Limp Bizkit poster is the foundation of all knowledge, and without my Limp Bizkit poster, you don't know shit, because I designed the paradigm within which we're going to talk about it. So now, how is the Bible? How is your premise better than my
conceded the
Limp
debate.
Bizkit poster? Praises
Dude, I
be
just
to
switched the Limp
break
Bizkit
stuff.
for my.
You just conceded the debate
I just
again.
switched the Limp Bizkit for my gym playlist. Banging.
Yeah.
Your poster, you just made your poster God. So now God is also required for knowledge in your worldview.
Well, no, poster isn't.
You
God.
said the Christian God.
All right. So then a poster can't give you knowledge.
You said the Christian triune God. Now explain to me how the Christian triune God is any different logically, philosophically, than me pointing at my poster. You just arbitrarily chose a beginning point.
defend the position that the Limp Bizkit poster grounds knowledge.
I mean, that's the challenge I just gave you for the Bible.
You have to defend
yeah,
it. We are
no,
defend it.
That Limp Bizkit poster revealed the knowledge to me, and then that was the basis
So
of
it's
my
personal.
knowledge. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's based on an internal testimony.
So God is required for knowledge.
Of that I got from Limp Bizkit.
Right.
Do you not see what we're doing here? We're
Correct.
pointing out how ridiculous your
Conceding
argument
the debate.
is.
No. What you're doing?
Here's
you're
right.
doing
Hold on.
two
Hold on.
things.
One sec.
You're not pointing out the ridiculousness.
Let me have this
of our
1 second,
world.
please. Can I
Hold
have 1 second,
on,
please?
hold on,
Greg.
gentlemen.
Can I have
Hold
1
the phone.
second? Can I please have 1 second? Right.
Yes,
What-
yes, you
what-
may.
Right. What Flo's doing, and what you're falling straight into, is showing how ridiculous your argument is by saying, well, that poster could be the thing that gives us all the knowledge, just as easily as God could be the thing that gives us all the knowledge. There's no way to prove that poster or God is the thing that gives us the knowledge. You need to point out how God is the thing that gives us the knowledge, rather than just saying that God is the thing that gives us the knowledge. We can say just as easily that poster gave us revelations and revealed to us what our abilities and knowledge are, just as you say God did. And it's just as ridiculous.
I know you have something to say, Joel. I'm sorry. Real quick. I love that. Could a God who does not reveal to us anything that we can know for certain give us knowledge that we could know for certain?
Could a God who doesn't, right, say that again?
Could a God who does not reveal anything to us for certain give us knowledge that we could have for certain?
If he doesn't reveal anything to us, then I suppose not.
All right,
Within
so
that
that's what we're doing
paradigm.
with the poster. You're saying that you can replace my argument with any God and anything, and they could give us knowledge. But
Sure.
I just gave you a scenario where God couldn't. I'm saying
So-
the same thing about your made up God.
Okay, so you're okay. This is like,
It's
can
just
God
ridiculous.
make a rock too heavy for himself to lift? This is one of those
Yeah.
little. Okay,
No, it's not. Look,
can he though?
No.
Let Joel go. Joel had something to say.
no, he can't. Look,
Oh, so it's not all powerful.
sometimes what wait, I got a whole argument on that if you want to talk about that. That's perfectly fine. I teach that in classes. If you want
You
to
really shouldn't teach children. That's bad.
Oh, it's bad, but according to what standard, Craig? How do you get your
let's
moral
not
knowledge?
go personal.
Teaching
Let's
religion
do
to
that
children
out.
is bad, and I will
Craig,
stand by
bad,
that.
bad according to what standard, Craig? Is
Oh,
that what your feelings
according-
tell
I
you?
would love to run
Science-
that brainwashing
we
and
can
teaching lies
get
is
into
bad.
that. It's
Joel,
bad
I believe you
because-
had
let's-
something
I
to
did.
Set up.
say.
Listen,
Let's
Let's
set up
go
another
ahead and
debate about morality. That would be fun.
we can do that.
That would be amazing. Look, what you guys are doing is this, but and I know that the Limp Bizkit poster is just a silly version of, like, sometimes you'll hear like Harry Potter or a Spider-Man comic book or whatever. Quiet down, please.
Limp Bizkit is not silly.
Quiet down.
Sorry, I was just singing
Quiet
some
down.
Limp Bizkit.
Quiet down. See, when you do that, it throws me off track. Now I got to take even longer to get the train back on the track. It's a fragile train. It's got to stay on the tracks. Look, this appeal to like some hypothetical God. Look, by the time you've defined that Limp Bizkit poster, first of all, you'd have to make it immaterial, absolute, triune, objective, universal in its applicability, normative,
Triune.
and yes, triune as well.
Why is
It-
triune
Hold that
required?
thought. Hold that thought. Let that be a follow-up question after I finish my thought, man. You got to wait. All right, get the train back. Let the train go on the tracks.
You just when you talk, you say so many absurd things, all in complete.
Hold that
Hey,
thought.
Flo,
Hold that
Flo,
thought.
everybody
Hold
shut
that
up.
thought.
Flo, I
Hold
know
that
your
thought.
ADHD is kicking
Absurd by
in.
what standard?
It's
All right?
impulsivity. I get it, but let Joel finish and at least conclude. Joel, get to the point.
Here's the point. When you try to make that Limp Bizkit or Spider-Man or Harry Potter or anything else, when you try to make that the standard of knowledge,
Superman.
you have to give it all the attributes of the triune God of Scripture. If you don't, then you don't have a parallel argument to what we've been saying, because each and every one of those attributes is necessary, and God has them all. So all you've done is demonstrate your inability to understand the argument, or unwillingness. I think it's unwillingness. And you've demonstrated that literally nothing else can ground knowledge. God, it turns out, is necessary for knowledge. Yeah, you can come and you can
Nice
say,
presupposition.
Oh, it's this.
I explained to you how
Man, you
knowledge
gotta
calling
works.
land
it
the
a
fucking
presupposition
plane. You're
is
done. You're
calling it
filibustering now.
calling it a presupposition is not an argument. Yes,
Well,
it's
it
a
is an argument
presupposition.
because
That
presuppositions
is
don't win
justified,
debates.
Craig.
Yeah, that's bad
Craig, no, it's
thinking.
not.
It's justified. It's a
No, it's
justified.
not justified.
Okay,
It's a
justify it.
presupposition.
That's all we've been
Because
doing.
your
We're talking
justification
about
for
Limp
God being
Bizkit
needed for
posters.
knowledge,
You're talking about science that tests our senses. which
your
we use to
argument
use the
works for
science
my
to test our
poster.
senses. We're
Your
talking
argument
about a
does not
transcendent
work.
God, and
Does
we're
not
proving
necessitate
God
triune God.
by the possibility
And
of the
we
contrary.
Joel, do you ever
just
stop
keep
talking?
doing
Joel
it.
is a filibuster. He just filibustering.
To be fair, poor Joel hasn't been able to actually say one full sentence without being interrupted.
does run
by
on sentences,
either.
Mom.
I
Anyone
understand,
who
but
Yeah,
he
I mean,
hasn't
his
been able to
sentences go on
finish.
forever.
Understood,
then-
but they
and then-
become.
and
but
then-
then
I
they
went and got a
become
different clone to take
longer.
over.
Plus,
It
I
was
think he's a
amazing.
cop. It's a
Gentlemen, I
trespass.
can't even finish what I'm saying.
Sorry, Sarah. I apologize, Sarah.
Thank you. All right, at least be
I don't.
reasonable, because Craig and Flo, you're getting irritated anytime they interrupt you, and I think it's fair to go across the board. If he's filibustering, I will call it out, but I can't call it out
Okay.
if you guys.
How
are
about
still
this? How about
interrupting.
Craig doesn't do the don't interrupt me thing, and we can interrupt them as well. Craig,
How
deal?
about you
Listen.
articulate
Okay.
what I just said back to me?
If you guys just want to go and
Why would I
Well,
articulate what you
no.
just said back to you? I'm trying to ask you how how would you say because the argument that you made to support the existence of God, right? That logic chain can be applied to my poster. It can be applied to this knife. It can be applied to.
What did I just say, Dusty?
You wanted me to tell you your argument for you.
What did I say? What was my argument that I just?
Oh,
gave
I don't
you?
know. I was yelling at you.
Exactly.
Your argument was there has to be some magical special properties, otherwise it's not a real God. I reject that.
Unbelievable.
This globe, I now prescribe all of the things that your God has. Every single thing.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
Look what you're doing. You're first of all, you're proving.
Please worship my globe.
You're literally conceding
Worship the
debate, Craig.
globe.
No,
It is the
you cannot
creator of
act
all
like
things.
us being childish is you winning the debate. They're different things.
If we take your childishness
But to be
seriously,
fair, we're not the
then
ones
we
with
won the
imaginary
debate.
friends, so
If we
he's the
shouldn't take
childish
it
one.
seriously, then don't say it.
Okay, use
So
the
anyway,
debate
let's
that
get-
you've laid out.
This is serious because
Use the debate that you've laid out so far,
That's all I've been
and
doing.
then explain to me why that poster cannot be substituted for the triune God.
Before
Are you
Joel
asking me to
goes-
repeat the argument I just gave you a second ago when you were yelling?
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
more
trying to say
succinctly,
is why
do it.
can't I use my poster?
And before Joel does, because Joel has a very concise answer, and it's very,
Bullshit.
very, very simple. He's said it multiple
Joel
times.
hasn't been
But
concise
the
once.
question I asked, I think it was Craig, about a
Craig.
God who could. Craig, really?
Craig, yeah, it's not Craig.
Oh.
It's
I'm sorry.
C-R-A-I-G.
We're
Yes,
Americans,
that's
man.
okay.
Anybody
no
else know
American
that?
can say it right.
No, we
Craig?
can't. All right, Craig. All right, sorry, Craig.
At least again.
The question I asked you about a God who does
know,
not
I'm
reveal
retarded.
things for certain, being able to reveal things for certain, that God could not be used in our argument, and you conceded that point.
I did. No, I didn't.
Well, Craig.
Okay, but I'm saying that
So,
poster
but then you're saying
can reveal it though.
anything
that
can.
that poster
For the same
it has
reason.
all that poster has all of the abilities of your God. That's what we're saying. Every single magical special ability that your God possesses, that Limp Bizkit poster also possesses.
It has all the same attributes,
Absolutely.
Do you like
100%.
Do you like
Oh,
corn
it's-
better?
so it's immaterial.
Yes.
Yep.
Me too, actually.
Okay. The poster is immaterial.
Yeah, that's just a manifestation of it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Jesus was material, and so is the
That-
Bible.
That poster is immaterial. Is that what
It has
Yeah,
it has an essence. Hold on, the essence of my poster is different from the poster itself.
the poster?
That is the poster's son that was sent to die
The
for our sins.
poster,
The poster is immaterial. That's what you're saying.
that's the
Yeah.
father part.
The poster is immaterial. Yes or no?
Yes.
It has an
Yes.
immaterial aspect and nature.
Okay. So the poster is immaterial.
It's an
The
idea.
poster.
Look,
Are you stuck?
poster
Can
is-
someone,
Do you know-
can someone please
The
reboot
that
Joe? I
poster still
poster
exists, right?
exists
Oh my God.
necessarily. Craig.
There we go.
Does that
Yeah.
poster exist necessarily in all possible worlds?
Yes,
Yes.
immaterially and materially.
No.
and look, it still
immaterially in
exists
all-
though.
Craig, does that poster exist in all possible worlds immaterially? Yes or
Under
no?
the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, it would
Does-
not exist in all universes.
Does that poster
Joe, if I'm in the middle of
exist?
answering the question, asking the question
It's a
again will
yes or
not
no
make me
question,
answer it.
Craig. It's a yes
And
or
I'm
no
not going to
question,
answer a
Craig.
yes or no question, Joel, to get rid of nuance that is required to answer the question properly, Joel.
Craig, it's a
Joel.
yes or no question. Does the
And I
poster
refuse to
exist
engage in
Wi-Fi.
your
necessarily
question that is
all
loaded,
possible
Joel.
Craig, the answer
Joel.
is no. And if yes,
Joel.
we will continue.
Joel, I'm not answering yes or no to a question that
That's
has
right, you're not.
nuance.
Because you know that it's absurd. Because this word picture,
Just
this
like your
metaphor
God is absurd.
doesn't
Yes.
work. If you
That
have to
poster
straw
is
man,
God.
Craig, if you have
Joel.
Craig, if you have to straw man
Gentlemen.
somebody's
Joel.
position, Craig,
Joel.
and you don't understand
Joel.
it and you haven't refuted
Joel, are you okay, Joel?
Craig,
You
you
seem
are
broken.
literally
You keep
mocking
repeating the same
it
thing.
yourself when you
Are
do
you
that.
okay, Joel?
Just
Do
so
you
we're
need
clear.
to take some time?
Craig, if you have to
Joel.
straw man somebody's position, you
Nobody
don't
is straw manning
understand it.
anything, Joel.
You literally
That
are.
It's a
poster has
parable.
every aspect
We're
that your God
speaking in
has to deal
parables.
with it.
Okay, and then what's the reality behind the parable? Because the parable is a metaphor that
The
communicates
parable
truth.
is that just maybe parable is the wrong word, but we're
Ah.
demonstrating. Parable's imperfect. Okay, you
Yes.
got me on that one. I concede the point. I shouldn't have called it a parable.
That's
But
good.
what I'm demonstrating is that just like God exists, when we're not there, the poster exists when you can't see it, right? So because it's a concept, it's an idea. The metaphysical body of the poster still exists.
The whole metaphor depends on
Thank
you
you,
being
that's
able
what
to
I'm
point. The whole metaphor depends on you being able to point to anything and for it to work. If you have to define and redefine the object such that it's no longer that object, what you are doing, and I'm just going to skip to the end for the sake of being concise.
Please do.
If you, please do. Listen, Craig.
He was just doing the
gotta
thing, and you
stop.
had to antagonize him.
You really had to do it. Craig, if you have to redefine the thing out of existence, you're no longer talking about that thing. And here's the spoiler alert. You're now actually talking about God, and you have conceded the debate.
Actually,
if you have
you're
to
talking about the
redefine-
poster. You're talking about Limp Bizkit now. Yeah.
say
No,
something real
Hail Fred Durst.
thank you for
You're making a
admitting.
poster.
I did it all for the nookie.
You're making the poster have an absolute universal mind that has
Yeah.
created everything. So God is
100%.
still required for knowledge. Thank you for conceding the debate.
And thank you
right,
for
here's the
conceding
thing,
that Limp
right.
Bizkit is God.
Can you right? I want to ask you something. So, in about 100 years' time, I give myself a mortal life, and I invent a time machine. I go back to the beginning of time and create the universe. Can you disprove any of that?
If you go,
say it again. Say it again.
In the 100 years' time, I give myself a mortal life, and I invent a time machine, and I go back to the beginning of the universe and become the thing that creates the universe. Can you disprove any of that?
Well, how would we
that's no
disprove it?
beginning.
So you can't disprove it then?
No. It was a question. How would we go about disproving it? What would we use?
No, the question was, can you disprove it?
Yes.
Go on then.
So I guess the answer is no.
The answer is yes. I'm asking you a very simple question. How would we disprove it? What faculty?
Yeah, you don't answer. You don't answer
would
my
have to
question
be
with a
eternal.
question.
We
So-
don't?
It would have to be eternal.
Yeah, is it a yes or no? Can you disprove what I have
Yes.
just said?
Yes.
Go on then. Disprove it
Okay.
then.
Because
That's
in
not
order
what
for
the-
you to make the time machine, you would have to rely on something called knowledge, which can only be had with God.
Yeah, but I went back in time and created the universe, including all the knowledge in the universe.
So you concede that you needed God for knowledge in order to create the time machine, and then you went back in
So
time.
are you-
and
are you saying
found
that
out
I'm
where
my
God
God?
entered the
But my
universe.
God. Yes, we can see,
Are you
but my
saying-
God. We're only talking about my God. It has to be the Limp Bizkit poster.
You have redefined
Or
that
me.
poster such that it is not that poster anymore. Think about this. I
and
really
just
gotta
like the
hold
triune
on.
God redefines
Rusty,
Father and
Rusty,
Son entirely.
If you have to redefine the poster, one of the attributes of God is that he is not that poster. If you have to
Just like
redefine
in
the poster,
What
so
the
that it
attribute
has
of God
all
is
of
that
the
he's not
attributes
human.
Of God, one of the attributes of God is that he is not that poster.
So you're Jewish
congratulations,
now.
You have just
Oh,
again
God.
Joe.
conceded the debate. Craig,
You're
Joe,
Joel.
can I-
You're Jewish now
Yeah.
because you said that you can't redefine things to make it something that's not. So God is not a human, right?
Yeah. Can I
So
point out, Joel, how
you just disproved Christianity.
the
Congratulations.
The
Yeah.
verse.
Go ahead,
I
Craig. I
think
think
Joe-
Craig.
verse you're
Hold on,
reading.
hold on, hold on.
Joe-
I think Craig wanted to get in there, but Flow State,
yeah.
you keep interrupting your own partner. Craig, go ahead.
I'm interrupting
okay.
everybody today.
Go ahead, Craig.
I think Joe is missing the point of what we're doing. We're just pointing out the ridiculousness of his stance, how something that is completely immaterial can be the thing that gives everyone knowledge, when we have already stated that knowledge comes from our own observations and experiences, and that can exist separate of God. So when you keep going, oh, you've conceded the debate, no, we're not. We are simply making the ridiculousness of your position known by taking it to ridiculous extremes. That does not negate the fact that both Flo and I have already stated that knowledge can exist separate of God.
You keep repeating the same circular argument over and over again after you've been.
But you
debunked
don't know
multiple
what a
times.
circular argument is, because iterative
Okay.
testing is not circular.
Do you use your senses for the scientific method?
Yes, and you can
Okay.
you can use
And
the
then
scientific
how do you
method.
use
tested that
what do you use to observe the
By
conclusions of the
testing
scientific
reality.
method, Craig?
by
What do you
testing
use?
reality.
No, yeah, and how do you
By
test reality? You
testing
use your
reality.
senses.
By continued testing, iterative testing.
You're in a circle and you literally can't even
It
see
doesn't
And I-
matter.
I've
It is
said like
not
4 times
circular when it is iterative and
Maybe-
tested.
all right,
Craig,
real quick.
hold
I
on.
don't
Can we have a
understand
huddle?
the
Can we have a huddle real quick? Craig, we can win this by not appealing to science. Just say it's through divine revelation, and we got him.
No,
Yes, say that. Say that, Craig. Say it's by divine
All-
revelation.
Right. All praise.
Craig, say it.
Well, I
Wait,
mean,
the
I
divine
know where it
revelation.
came from. It was the flying spaghetti monster, or praises noodly appendages, who
What's the
is way
problem?
better than your God, because my God actually created the universe in 5 days whilst
Craig.
drinking heavily.
So what we've done is we've regressed to the point. We've regressed to the point where we're just making claims. That's
Yeah.
it.
No,
Dustin,
I've proven
Dustin,
everything. I've
Joe,
said.
I want to point out
Let's
that you are
move
now
on.
banned from saying my name. Just to be
Let's-
clear, you said it.
let's
You,
move- I'm
you have
saying
now
it-
That's
you
gonna
have
be hard to
used all
enforce.
of your Craigs.
No, Craig, I don't accept the
Okay.
authority.
I'll sell you
Alex-
more Craigs.
Alex, did you have a thought in here? Looked like you were trying to squeeze in.
I don't have something to squeeze in, but I can go back because I had a few things.
That's a bummer, man.
About I have a few
I got many
things
things to squeeze
about
in.
the opening statement because I was cut off. I got one in and I had three.
Three
Craig
what?
said
Craig.
three things about Craig's opening statement. You said that nobody has proven that God exists. They just use philosophical word games. So how do you
Yes.
prove that the laws of logic exist without using philosophical word games?
You can
There
test
are a
them.
philosophical word.
Oh,
game.
you can
wouldn't
test
be
the
able
laws
to.
of logic. Go ahead. How do you test
Yeah.
the laws of logic?
See
You
if they're
don't.
consistent.
They're
Oh,
defined.
does
They're
consistency
defined already.
presuppose the laws of logic?
Excuse me.
No,
Oh, consistency doesn't. So I can be consistent and not consistent at the same time when I test the laws of logic, can't I?
All you're doing is
No, that
testing a
wouldn't be consistent.
definition against a definition.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
You guys need to
I will
figure out
I
your
will
position.
challenge. Yes, there are different positions here, which is fine. You guys
I know that
feel
you
free
I know
to
that you
debate.
guys
I
teamed
can
up.
get both
You
of you.
planned.
I can
We
get
met
both
each
of you.
other here now. You're watching it, right?
Bad decision.
And
Bad
and
decision.
and
Should've-
we're
I
still
know this
we're
contacted
gonna
each
we're
other.
gonna stomp you on this any
Listen,
different way we
I-
want to.
I will
You guys
question
can
both of
strategize all
you.
you want, and you don't
Hold
have
on.
an
Hold
argument.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
You were
I don't have an
answering.
argument.
Go ahead, Alex. Did you want to finish that thought?
Yeah, and look, I will question both of them separately if they have different positions on us. That's fine. But Craig said that you don't need to presuppose the laws of logic in order to test them. That's right.
And ultimately, you're trying to do this backwards
You're
because you're the one
answering
making an
Craig's
affirmative
question.
claim. We're the ones questioning you.
My affirmative claim is the impossibility of the contrary, like I've already said like 20 times. Please listen.
The contrary of what?
Can Craig answer the question, please? And then I can get to
the
you.
laws of logic are a human concept that we have come up with.
Ah, there it is.
Okay.
So
and
the
now,
lo-
are concepts mind dependent, Craig?
Yeah, and our mind
And
is something
before
that
human,
evolved without.
before human
I was
mind
asked,
existed,
answering your
you said-
question.
yeah, and
Do
you
not
said yes.
talk.
You
I am in the
Calm
middle of
down,
answering your
Craig.
question.
My God,
Allow me
all
to
four of
finish
you.
what I
Calm
am saying.
down, Craig.
Go ahead,
Joe,
Craig.
you're banned from saying my name.
No, Craig.
Guys, when
Look,
you
I've got
ask a
I've
question,
got Craig's for sale. Extra Craig's.
when you ask
I'll
a
take
question,
some of those extra Craigs. I need them.
no,
Joe,
you're
send me
banned.
10 bucks,
from
and I
saying
got
my
you.
name.
I got
No,
you 20 of
Boys,
them.
I bought Craig
enough,
indulgences from
enough,
the.
He did. He bought
enough,
20 of them.
Enough.
Thank you.
I don't care about what he bought. Craig, please finish your statement.
I forget now what it was. I mean,
Again.
this all comes down to just presupposing that God exists, and we cannot get past that point unless you can show us that God exists and is something that is able to prescribe logic and laws and knowledge. Then you don't have an argument. Show me God or shut up.
Here you go.
That's not God. That is a
This
book.
is a book that God has given us, and the worldview that is
Prove it.
presented.
No,
by this book-
there's a nice presupposition that God gave you that
Pause for a
book.
minute.
That
Pause for a
book
minute,
came from a
Craig.
print.
You
no,
need to
no,
calm
that book
down,
came from
Craig.
a, that
You
book
need
came
to
from a
listen.
printing press.
Craig,
Joe, that
you are
book
a
came from a
grown
printing
man.
press. That book was
Don't
Gentlemen,
send all those Craigs in one
gentlemen.
place.
The Bible. I
Joe,
bought
that book
my
did not come
ability
from
to
God.
say
That book
Craig
was
is
written by sheep herders.
Craig, what is your deal
Joe.
with sheep herders, Craig? There is nothing wrong. Many
All I had to do to have you was sign up for tier 2 of your Patreon. 'Cause you're my Patreon girl, and your love for me depends on how much money that I pledge to you monthly.
Okay.
What just happened?
I doggy prawn bombed you. Now listen, gentlemen, you've been going all night back and forth, interrupt. I'm okay with playing
I like
that
going all
game.
night.
It can be entertaining, but at the same time, the viewers can't hear any of what you're
Fuck the
saying.
viewers.
There's like
Well-
700 of them out there, probably more at this point, but I'm pretty sure they actually want to hear the arguments, or even they want to hear the insults you're making, but they can't hear shit because you're going over each other. So let's at least try to give each other a little bit of vocal space here, be mindful, and play properly. Alex, did you finish your thought there, or did you want to dive in a little further? Because you've been a little quiet.
I asked Craig if and the reason I can't say is because I'm in East Coast. We speak fast, so Craig takes me a second to say. Sorry.
A lot of syllables there.
He was he was saying that that the laws of logic are mind-dependent concepts. I got that right, Craig?
Correct. They exist because humans made them up.
Okay. So did they exist before human minds existed?
No.
Okay. So how do you have a universal
We are
concept?
the laws of logic. We
Are
made
the laws of
laws
logic universal?
Aliens might find laws of logic different.
As we have
Sorry, I couldn't
defined
hear
them
him.
when we created them, sure.
So yes, so universal
No,
mind.
that wasn't a that wasn't a
concept
universal
did
yes.
not
That was
exist.
a qualified yes.
Yeah. Nuance is lost on you, isn't it?
It has to
No,
be.
it's not. You
Craig,
should really
really
look at what a circular
Craig,
argument is.
That's an
No,
ad
you two really look
hominem,
at what
Craig.
nuance is.
All
Joe,
right, Craig,
Joe,
listen, I'm
Joe,
gonna
let me
try to
get
set
Joe.
you straight
No,
here.
no, Joe, wait,
Quiet,
Joe.
quiet down. I'm gonna try to
Joe,
get.
no, Joe, I have a question for you. No, Joe, we get the questions.
No, Craig.
Joe, we get the questions.
down.
Calm down.
That
Miss
is
Joe,
fair. The
Joe.
question should be coming from Flo and Craig.
I'm
Technically,
going to answer
I already
what he
came.
said earlier.
Joe,
If I can.
if you
No,
want
Joe,
to,
wait, I'm going to ask you a question, Joe, and you're going to be quiet and listen.
Craig,
my.
Craig,
Joe,
But he has to
Joe,
answer.
the
be
laws
quiet.
of logic. Craig, that's
Joe,
not how you.
Joe,
Craig,
no, I am asking you a
Craig,
question,
compose
Joe. You
yourself
be
like a
quiet
man.
now.
Mm.
If the
Joe,
laws
this
of
is
logic
where I
are a
talk, Joe.
human
Joe,
convention-
this is where I talk and ask you a
Craig,
question.
this is
Joe,
where I
be
respond
quiet,
to what you
please.
said earlier.
No,
If the
Joe,
laws
I'm
of
asking you a
logic-
question. You can't respond
Okay,
because I haven't
hold
asked
on,
you a question
hold
yet.
on, hold on. Joel, what were you responding to?
Thank you. I was responding to Craig's claim that the laws of logic are merely a human convention. He's trying to move on because he's afraid of the answer to
Well,
this.
no, I'm
point.
trying to go back to the thing you've already
Yes,
moved
yes,
on
sure.
from.
You're trying to go back to whatever. Okay, listen, Craig.
Yeah.
If the laws of
I'd like
logic
to ask
are
my
merely
question
a
now that I've been
human
trying to ask for a few
convention,
minutes.
That's okay. I'll let you wait a little while longer. If the
No,
laws
I'll
of
tell you what we're
logic
going to do.
are a
If you're going to
merely
stop
human
now,
convention,
and as we are the
then
ones that are asking
real
the
world
question,
does
the
not.
question.
Craig, Craig.
No, Joe,
The
no,
laws
Joe,
of
I've
logic.
got a question for you, Joe.
Stop for just a
If the
second.
laws of logic-
Joel, you've got exactly 30 seconds to finish that up.
I can do that. If the laws of logic are merely a human convention, then they do not reflect the way the world really is, and the world is illogical and incoherent. If logic were merely conventional, it
agree.
would be
Cool.
false and contradictory. Human experience shows that logic is discovered, not invented. If logic were a convention, it wouldn't exist where humans do not exist, and skeptics contradict themselves by appealing to logic while denying its objectivity. Logic is a reflection of the way reality actually is, and using it presupposes that logic is real, and the only worldview that accounts for that is God. You know it, and you are presupposing it when you argue against it.
Incorrect.
You want to
logic,
take it? Okay.
Yeah, like I've been trying to say for ages, no, logic is something that we came up with as humans. We have now decided that it is universal. That is something that we decided as we came up with logic, not something that was prescribed beforehand. Now,
We can
back
decide
to
they're
the
not
question that
universal.
I asked you that you kept running away from. I said, show me God, and you showed me a book. A book is not God.
That's
A
not what you
book
said.
is something. A book is not
That is
God.
just-
It is a book. So I'm going to ask the question again. Can you show me God? Because that is the foundation of this. Show me God.
With your eyes, you want to see God with your eyes?
Yes, please.
You'll see him in about 100 years.
No,
Can you
show
me
me
a law of
God. now.
logic?
You want to see God?
Show me a law of logic?
Yes. No,
You want me to
sorry.
show
Sorry to the
We
question.
invented the laws of logic as well.
You have to right now prove that God exists. Otherwise, you have no argument.
You want me to show you using your sense experience?
No, I want you to prove to me that God exists.
You want
I
me
don't
to
care
show
how
you?
you do it, Joe.
You-
I don't
you-
care how you do it, Joe. Just show me that God exists.
Okay, if knowledge is possible, God exists. Knowledge
No,
is
that's a
possible, therefore God
presupposition.
exists.
Show me that God exists without
No, it's called an
presupposing that God
argument.
exists.
Oh, that's
It's called a logical argument, Craig. I know you don't like logical arguments.
presupposition. It's
but
not a
that's what we're
logical
doing.
argument. It's
Oh,
not a
man.
logical argument.
Is
It's a
modus
presupposition.
ponens valid?
It's a presupposition.
Is
it's not a logical
Modus
argument.
ponens is a presupposition.
It's a
What is
saying
that?
God
What's modus
exists,
ponens?
therefore it's
Thank you.
knowledge.
Right. See, when Flow State doesn't know a term, he asks for the definition. You just confidently assert, like you.
Well, can you just answer my question and not take the opportunity to scumbag him?
If P, then Q. P,
Mhm.
therefore Q. It's a form of a syllogism.
Okay, so what
Yeah,
you have here
you
is
didn't do that
basically
with God.
mathematic equation as defined by the person presenting the equation,
Kind
right?
Kind of.
So
yeah.
so yes, it's a reflection. So you could say you could say that logic is reflective of reality, but logic is really just how we've decided to define our experience of reality.
Now
we
we're getting
define-
somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Logic, the words that we use to describe and define and use logic, is reflective of reality. Absolutely right.
But the
And we have
logic
to
itself,
presupp-
the logic
we have
is
to
a
presuppo-
human.
Go ahead.
Is a
They ran away
human
from the
creation.
question.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. You cannot
The
contradict
language.
itself because we define it.
Ah, yes. The language is human created. We're speaking English right now. We create our own
Okay,
notations, but the reality behind the logical notation, Dusty,
patterns.
is real. It's not just a pattern. See, this is the difference. This is what I'm trying so hard to help you guys understand it. I don't mean that kind
You
of.
don't need to help me, Joel.
I do-
You're
yes,
not
yes,
intelligent
okay,
enough
sure,
to
great,
do
great,
that.
great.
Joel,
Quiet down. Craig,
Joel,
good.
you
Wait,
Joel,
hold
you
on, Craig,
avoided my
Craig, I
question.
believe
Oh,
you are
Jesus,
acting
Lord
like a
have
child.
mercy. I'm going to start playing
If-
really stupid videos to interrupt you guys. If you
He
keep
wants
making
that.
me have to do it for you, it's going to be hot, sexy, steamy firemen, and none of you are going to want to watch it.
It always is
So,
when me and
if
Craig
you
are on a
keep-
team together.
If you act this way, I will treat you this way. Let's go. Joel, finish your thought. Craig, respond.
Harder, mommy.
What we are trying to show you, and man, I know I lost my train of thought. Let me see if I can get it back in 1 second. What we're trying to show you is that we're using a logical argument. Modus ponens. There we go. Modus ponens. The ability to use modus ponens is, or any valid argument, is an entailment of the laws of logic. And the laws of logic, much like the preconditions of science, which Craig loves so well, are assumptions that you bring to this kind of engagement. They are not a posteriori determined through experimentation. They are a priori or a priori assumptions or presuppositions that we bring. So as much as Craig hates presuppositions, he's been making them all night. And that is what we're trying
I
to
haven't
show
made
you.
a single presupposition. I've not made one.
But
That's
they're not.
false.
But they're not presuppositions.
getting clipped
They're
right
not, and they're not just God-given knowledge. They're defined, right? The reason it's a
Yes,
function of language itself. When you tell me about your charging block, I know that it can't be this knife because I know what a charging block is as we've defined it. So we all have to learn language. Thus we would have to learn the laws of logic too.
Yes. We would have to learn the laws of logic in order to understand why what you just said is coherent.
But you can't say that
But
those
they
come from
pre-exist.
God.
Just because the law of logic pre-exists me doesn't mean it pre-exists everything in cosmos.
Oh, okay. So now defend, what are the laws of logic? Because now you're saying that the laws of logic.
I'm not
pre-exist
defending
me.
shit. Hold on. You've had this debate flipped around all night long, and I've let it go on that way because our position is so much stronger. But
Yeah.
you can continue the question. But before, I just want to let you know in advance, I'm probably not going to defend shit.
Okay. You do have.
But
a
this breaks down to the fact that you guys have to have an imaginary friend for knowledge to exist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
And it's
break,
Sky
tell me
Daddy,
what
right, Craig?
just yeah,
And it's
Sky,
that-
exactly a magic Sky
You guys
Daddy.
need a poster.
You can mock it all
But
you want,
that
but that's
belief
what it is.
rests
You
in the
have a magic
assumption-
Sky Daddy.
There's also an implied assumption there that something doesn't exist unless we know about it.
No, that's the exact opposite of what we're saying.
So what is wrong with saying we don't know where everything came from? There are some things we don't understand.
Well,
Which
then
is
why
the
are we
best way to be.
Then you don't have knowledge.
right?
Yes, we do. You can have
agree that
knowledge
there are
about
certain
knowing
things-
everything.
Here's
No,
the
you
reality.
can't.
You don't have
You can't.
knowledge. There are certain things you do not have knowledge of, like where
Certain
everything came from.
Right.
Certain things.
So
Well,
making an
that's not
affirmative
knowledge.
claim as if it's knowledge, that's actually lying.
Yeah,
You're not. You
you
don't
can have
yeah.
knowledge. You can
No,
have
yeah,
knowledge
it's-
about knowing
you're not
every
gaining.
single
You're
thing
not
in the
gaining
We don't
knowledge
know
by making
everything.
a claim. You're losing
God does.
truth.
Flesh that out.
When you make the claim, when you make the claim
Yes.
that you know something, even though you don't know it, you are not actually gaining knowledge. What you're doing is you're obscuring truth and blocking yourself from gaining knowledge. So
Okay. So
Right.
I misunderstood you. I thought you were trying to say that because we don't know some things for certain, that therefore we don't know anything. And
No.
and that was lying. Okay, no. So, but would you at least agree that we do know some things for certain?
I
God doesn't
would think.
exist.
I mean, our own existence. The thing. I think. Therefore, I am. But ultimately, there's nothing that I can say or demonstrate that couldn't conceptually be undone.
Is that certain? Are you certain about that?
No, I'm not even certain about that.
Okay, right. So you see,
I
so-
mean, because we don't know what we don't know.
right, exactly. So
You
this
said
is
that
the
matter of factly.
Okay, see, so you're gaslight artists, but just because you have this knack
Wow.
for gaslighting
be
and
my
second
new
guessing
channel name.
every single claim on Earth or any foundation
Your
fraction
claim.
of knowledge,
This You know what the cogito
Just because
is, right?
you're gaslight artists, as most religions are, doesn't mean that they're for God.
No,
Okay.
my argument does
No.
though.
But your argument
Could
doesn't
any of
stand
you
up
repeat
to any.
the syllogism I've
Your
given
argument
10
doesn't
times tonight?
stand up to any kind of scrutiny.
Can either of you even repeat the syllogism I've given 10 times tonight?
I
What's a
don't really
syllogism?
want to.
Is that like a
No,
sermon?
you can't because you don't understand. You're not even paying attention at this point.
Okay, that's
we
what
have been
every
paying
yeah no
attention
that's
to you.
wrong. We understand
Both
it.
of you-
You keep
You
you
can't
keep
even
trying to
repeat it.
smuggle in presuppositions, like you said a bazillion times, and then just stand on those claims without ever dealing with the issue that you have.
I do want to make one thing clear real quick. The principle of explosion means that through one contradiction, you can prove anything to be true. This is a very well-known law in logic. Through this principle, if the laws of logic did not exist before humans' minds existed, that means there could be a contradiction. If that's true, then the world
That's an
before
assumption.
human minds existed literally could not even make sense.
Lovely
That's-
assumptions there.
And
That was a whole bunch of assumptions.
I
filled with
gave you your
Let me-
position right back.
and let
to
me
you.
point
No,
out.
you
Let me
didn't.
point
You
out.
just made assumptions.
Let me point out. The something existing does not depend on us understanding it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
Unless it's the laws of logic, then you must know about it for it to exist.
Well, we
according
have
to your
it's
worldview.
the rules of the game, right? We have defined these things. So if I
Then
lay
can
out the
we
rules of
define them
Monopoly,
differently?
if we're all
Could we have
playing
defined them
Monopoly, and I said this is
differently?
how you play Monopoly, and you're like, no, Uno. Well, okay.
Right.
That
Oh,
doesn't
so I can
that doesn't
define the
mean
law of
that-
logic however I want to.
It would not be the law of logic then anymore, not
Oh,
as
so
we know
don't
it, as we
define
defined
we
it.
discover it.
Okay, you know what? If you want to bring Uno cards into Monopoly, you can confuse them both
okay.
up.
So
But we've
my
already
law
got
of
Monopoly,
logic
we've already
is
got
that
Uno.
God exists.
And I second that. So now we've defined logic as that.
Okay, so it's democracy. Reality is determined by
No,
democracy.
that's not.
That's what you're
Listen,
saying.
Dusty, that's not our view. That's your view repeated back to you.
No,
see?
I told you already what my view is, and you keep acting like this is not a real God.
You define that.
Craig,
You define that
Mr.
as the
Craig.
God of the Bible. So you again. That's
You guys
the
are just
debate.
spinning Craig's left and right just for its own
Well-
sake. I see you over there.
Well, he
You're just-
disappeared. I was just wondering where he went.
Oh, he froze.
Oh.
It's a fake freeze. He's doing the
Yeah.
fake.
Is it a
Yeah,
fake
He's
freeze?
really
Holy
good at
shit,
it.
he went
Impossible.
catatonic. Uh,
we'll give him a second to.
now,
Dusty, what,
now,
sorry, go ahead.
let
You're
me-
gonna say something.
okay. Do you have something fast, or is it going to be
I
another
thought you were
another
doing a fake
Joelism?
freeze.
No. I mean, I want to respect the fact that I want you to be able to ask questions, but I do want to point out that what you said a second ago about we don't have to understand something for it to be there. That is exactly what we're saying about logic. Logic does not depend on our ability to understand it. Logic is discovered. It does exist in a transcendent way, and so that's what we're saying. We're proving that God is necessary for knowledge by showing that if no God, if in an atheistic scheme, it is actually impossible that you can have any knowledge at all. And you said yourself, I think a few times in this debate, that without God, you can't know anything for certain. That's exactly what we're trying to say. But
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying with God, as you presented it, you still don't know anything. You just claim you do.
well, I think we've done a little bit more than just make a bald-faced claim. I think we've actually offered an argument. And
Yeah,
I,
you have. You've constructed a neat little logical riddle, a conceptual riddle.
I mean,
but
calling
it's
it that doesn't refute it. You know that.
It
That's
does.
just a-
It does refute it.
I mean,
It
that's a
refutes.
word game.
Okay, I'll concede. It's a word game to a word game. Fight fire with fire.
I mean, you're just doing it again. You have
Get it
to
with
actually
fire.
refute the argument.
What was the
The
argument?
argument is that what you're pointing out is that we actually don't know everything for certain. There's basically nothing. There's nothing that we can say conclusively except that we exist, right? I think, therefore I am.
Well, you can't
That's-
even say that. Sorry, go ahead.
Sure, I can. I mean, I sure I can. How could I not say that?
Well, because to do that, you have to presuppose the laws of logic. Because to say, I think, therefore I am, that's a logical syllogism. And that is
So
presupposing the laws of logic.
the tool of conveying the piece of knowledge is dependent on the laws of logic. It's because it's language. It's also dependent on grammar. I can't say banana fart poodle.
Right.
And even though I'm thinking about I think, therefore I am, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So we're
Correct.
we're using language of pre-existing rules. The fact that the medium doesn't deny the reality, though. The reality is we can all experience our own existence You can't demonstrate that you exist to me without any way of, you could be AI, but we as individuals can each know for sure that we exist, and that cannot be taken away from us until we stop existing.
If you presuppose the laws of logic, you can articulate that. But
No,
you just-
no.
laws.
That's just wrong.
Did you contradict your earlier statement that you couldn't know anything for certain?
I qualified it. I added some nuance. I've been trying to speak quickly because I know that y'all don't like nuance. But
we've been
Yeah,
sorry, dude, we've been
nuance
given
is just completely lost on you guys.
it's quite
No, you
inconvenient,
guys
nuance.
don't have nuance. You have like black and white, and that's it.
Well, if you don't contradict yourself,
you don't have anything.
This is why you have to teach children about religion, because adults are a lot harder to gaslight.
Yeah, I teach adults.
Same with evolution, right?
I'm not a fan of evolution either. I'm not.
Sweet. We can all gang up on Craig. All right, let's change this debate.
All
Let's
right,
all.
here's
Really?
what I'm
We're
gonna
on the wrong side of
do,
this debate,
gentlemen.
though.
Here's what I'm gonna
I'm
do.
not.
You have exactly 2 minutes to.
That's all I need. I only need about 30 seconds.
Listen, I'm just.
I'm done.
I'm just using the ladies' room for a moment, but
Okay.
please behave, okay? But you have 2 minutes to get out whatever stupid shit you want to untouched.
All right,
You
so
guys are
here's
fucked now.
real quick. The whole argument tonight is that God is the necessary precondition for knowledge. And if you really want me to spell it out, God has all of the attributes that are needed for logic and moral absolutes and the principles of mathematics. He is immaterial, absolute,
Moral
unchanging.
absolutes. Can we?
Well, real quick, God has all of those attributes. Nothing in the godless worldview.
You're saying
has
that,
those
but you can't
attributes.
show me that God's real.
You explain from your worldview how you could possibly account for the laws of logic. Go ahead. You've got the
Language.
floor is
I've
yours.
done it.
Yeah, we developed them.
It's been like the crux of my argument. Is that
Your argument is that
Do you guys really not understand any of the words that we are saying?
No, I don't understand contradictions.
No, we don't have contradictions. The thing is, you guys
Or
have been
circular
brainwashed by
arguments.
religion so much.
Ah,
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's
Jesus
really-
has
The fact that
washed
you
my
have to,
brain
the
in
fact
his
that you
blood,
have
and
to
I
defer
am here
to
for
a
it.
random magical deity that 2,000 years ago people thought other magical deities were the things that.
Yeah, but Craig, do you know that for certain?
I'm
You
in
have
the
to
middle of
refer
talking.
to a poster to have.
Sarah's
I'm
not
in-
here to save you now, buddy? Get in there. With,
I'm in the middle of talking.
you
Craig,
need my knife.
Craig, do
Joe,
you know
Joe,
that-
I'm in the middle of talking. Joe, I'm in the middle of
Craig,
talking.
did you
Joe.
test that?
Joe, I'm in the
lab?
middle. Joe, I'm in the middle.
Is
of
that a
talking,
real
Joe.
library behind you, Alex? I don't think
Is
it's.
that-
a
Uh,
library.
he's-
Is that
I've
a
read
scientific-
every single one
Joe-
of those books, by the way.
Is that a
You
scientific
did time too.
Joe,
conclusion?
Joe, Joe.
Is that a
You-
scientific conclusion?
Joe,
Craig?
Joe, you first have to show us that God exists before we can get anywhere in this conversation.
By according to what standard? Says who?
Well, you
Well,
are
we-
saying
we
that
both-
God is
we
what
both
gives us
made-
knowledge,
Says
so
who,
you
Craig?
have to show us that God exists.
Says who?
I've made an argument
Says
for
the
that. but
debate
you guys
title.
can rip-
Do you know that God exists?
Yeah.
Yes, I have shown you
Okay.
that God is necessary for knowledge.
No, you haven't.
That-
You've made the presupposition that he's necessary for
And
God's
I've
knowledge.
justified that
That's all you've done.
presupposition, Craig.
No, you haven't. No, you
Then
haven't.
how
You-
is it? How is it
you
that we
tried to
know how
justify it
words
with more
work?
presuppositions.
How do we know shit, but
because
we
God
don't know
exists.
that God exists?
Because you are
you
denying
do.
the obvious truth that God exists. That is the
Okay.
entire point of this debate.
It's like,
Okay.
and
so-
look, it's
see,
not
but
like
there
we're
is no-
saying you're lying to us.
But it's not the truth.
But
You have
look,
to
you
show
know,
us.
you
It's-
all know
it's-
people who their girl cheats on them and they refuse to acknowledge it. Right?
Son is a thief.
Right? I've
Okay.
probably even been there myself.
Let's
But it's the same way.
okay. Let me hold on. Let me engage that. And this is just a thought exercise.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's say, okay, I'll agree to intelligent design, right?
Right? I don't- you
Can
tell
it be
me.
Buddha? Can it be Allah? Can it be
No.
why?
Okay, because
Can it be
there's
the
only-
poster?
Well, because if the God of the Bible is the necessary precondition for knowledge, there can only be one necessary precondition.
But your precondition doesn't have anything to qualify it as the God of the Bible. It
Okay.
just is basically a
Dusty,
an organization, really.
Dusty. I'm gonna really try and explain this. And
Okay.
since you directly asked about like other gods, this is
Okay.
the whole crux of the argument.
This will be a tangent argument. Then I'm not conceding anything for this.
I understand. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Look, we're here. We enjoy this. We want people to know the truth. Ultimately, I want people to know the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe that He is the truth. Okay, so I enjoy this, but only the God of the Bible has all of the attributes that are necessary for knowledge, for truth.
Because one of them was triune nature. So
Yes,
you actually, it's not because your argument has any reason that it would be that way. You just have chosen to arbitrarily make it that way.
No. That's good. So I'm
There's a
glad you asked about
philosophical-
that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
So one of the biggest, hardest philosophical questions to answer is the problem of the one and the many. Which takes priority in life? Is it plurality or is it unity? And every philosophical system that tries to answer that question either puts all their chips on unity or all their chips on diversity. It's only Christianity with the triune God of Scripture that can adequately account for the equal ultimacy of unity and diversity. Allah can't do that.
All
Buddha
you're doing
can't
is
do
talking
that.
about values, though. That's just a value. There's no reason that
What?
a value, the one or the many.
No. That I'm not talking about. I'm talking ontology, not just values or like I'm not talking value theory. I'm talking ontology. In life, there are categories and there are instantiations of those categories. I know this is getting very philosophical, but this is a debate. And I don't go this deep with my classes. Okay.
Pause.
But what's that?
So you're going extra deep. You're going deeper than normal with us.
Is this like some kind of a weird?
Yeah,
like,
it is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. No, I don't want to go down there. My point to the impure, all things are impure. No offense. That's what the Bible
None
says.
taken.
Okay. So there are instantiations and there are categories. Only the Christian God is both one and many in his essence. God is tri-personal ultimacy. So no, that's why it can't be another God. There is no other God. That's why it can't be a poster, because the
Hold on.
poster is not the ultimate tri-personality.
So
Allah
in
is
order
your
to
God, this is
demonstrate
your God.
that you were just leaning really hard on the laws of logic to then reference back to a God that breaks the first law of logic.
Can
Great
you
question.
show us how?
Yes. How so?
Because as we've defined the language, which is an important part of this, a father is that defines a relationship or a role that is
Right?
exclusive of it being its own son, because fathers are in relationship to children,
Right.
and you can't be the same thing.
Can you quickly define the Trinity?
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Like, I don't know what sort of definition you're looking for, but
Well,
No,
I think
I'm
that's where
pretty
the
sure it's
confusion
Superman,
comes
Batman,
from.
Wonder Woman, actually.
Yeah, that's great, Craig. We're actually having a real conversation. So yes, you said Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And are we monotheists or polytheists?
well, polytheist, but you're going to say mono.
No, we're monotheists.
I see. I knew that was going to
Yeah.
happen.
Okay. Right. I would.
It's not
I would hope
because
you- I would hope you would know
the
that I was-
Trinity is like still one, right?
There is
that-
one God, and that one God has eternally existed in three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So, Dusty, you articulated that
Nice
correct,
contradiction.
but you forgot. Yeah,
It's
right.
literally not.
Sure. It
It
is.
actually exactly breaks
It's the
the first
difference.
law. of-
Really?
It's the
Oh,
difference between
so
identity
close.
and predication.
Yes,
That-
we're so close. Look. The Father
It's
is not
magic.
the Son. The Son.
Wait.
Craig, we're trying to have a real conversation. The Father is not the Son is not the Father is not the Spirit. God is three in person, one in essence. You have
Yeah,
to
okay, we
use
really don't need a religion lesson. We need to know
The
where
car
where
is
did
red.
it
The
go?
house is red. The apple is red. Is that a contradiction?
Okay, so what is God then?
Identity
What
and predication.
what does it mean to be God? Because if God is just a characteristic that three different entities have, first of all, that's polytheism. But what does it mean to be a God? Because Jesus
Not three
clearly
different
didn't fit the
entities.
bill.
It's one entity, three persons.
What does it mean to be God?
well, you mean just in general, or the
No,
specific
in your belief, because I assume that the definition of God, as far as I'm concerned, is immortal. Jesus wasn't.
How was Jesus not immortal?
Did he die
He
for our
died.
sins?
With
Was
respect,
he fully
to-
man and fully God?
Yes.
Are those two definitions exclusive of the other? Yes.
Yes. So what's the problem?
Law of identity has now been broken by the Trinity.
No. God is not man. Jesus is not man and God in the same sense at the same time. Jesus is not mortal and immortal in the same sense and at the same time.
But also, you guys are okay with contradictions. Anyway,
Magic.
right?
Yeah, I don't mind
I mean,
contradictions. They're cool.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
all right.
That's fine. I can see you trying to deflect.
They,
off.
they released a good album in
No,
2006.
We just
actually.
explained it.
So there's one God,
Wait, just
Yes.
I just want to. All right. I mean,
and
I
he became fully human, which means he could die.
The Son of
what is
God.
death?
So that's a different. So we got a creation
What
of
is
it. See,
death?
this is polytheism.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. These are very, very low tier arguments against Christianity.
I don't give a fuck.
Well,
what tier
no,
they are. This is
you
low
say
tier
they're low
logic.
tier.
This
Yeah,
is
you
not-
say they're low tier, but
Hey,
Christianity
I can
is
define
fucking low
logic
tier
however I want
stupidity.
to. I can
All
define
right, well,
logic
then-
however I want to.
That I guess that's true, but then we're not communicating with the same medium anymore. So now what you're saying is gobbledygook. We understand what logic is. We understand what monotheism is. We understand what one is and what
We understand
three is. So yes, you can say that 3 no longer means 3.
But that's not
But-
what we're saying. We're the ones who aren't saying that.
What you're saying is that 1 doesn't really mean 1.
That's literally the exact opposite of what we're saying. Who's gaslighting who, man? Respectfully, in all seriousness, you're talking about word games and gaslighting. You either truly have not understood a single word we're saying, or you are intentionally straw manning us. And either way, it's not good.
It's neither of those things.
Okay,
You
then
are
maybe it's just
gaslighting
My
us
shirt
because
really that bad?
you're coming at us with an argument that does not make sense logically, linguistically. The way that we understand these things, our means of communication does not allow for a triune God.
Okay. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's step into the Christian worldview for just a second, and let's see if it makes sense. We're going to run an internal critique on the Christian worldview. In the Christian worldview, there is one God who has eternally existed in 3 persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Father is not the Son is not the Spirit is not the Father. There is no internal contradiction in the divine nature. And so there, and that one God sufficiently and necessarily grounds the 3 laws of logic, which, by the way, are equally ultimate to one another.
What
There
does-
are 3 laws of logic, and they all exist necessarily. The
Question
only
about
God
the
who can
Christian
ground that is the
worldview.
God of the Bible. What's that?
Question about the Christian worldview. What is the Christian definition of 1 and 3?
1 means there is not more or less than a single one of these things.
Okay.
And 3 would be there's not more or less than
but
3.
So if there's one thing, it can only right. So if Jesus
What's
is
the
here
thing?
dying on the cross, which I
What's
don't
the
know how
thing?
God can die, but if Jesus is
Is
dying
the
on the
thing a
cross,
being or a
but
person?
God is also over here charging my phone. How many things do we have?
Is personhood attached to being?
The question was nonsensical.
No.
Like,
is a
refine
dog
it.
a being? Is a dog a being?
Sure, a dog can be a being.
Does a dog have personhood?
Depends on how you define personhood. It's got consciousness.
Exactly.
It's not a
Yeah, but
human.
It's not a person. Exactly. It's not a person.
It's not a human. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's not a person. Human
What's a
and person are
person?
different.
Because yeah, what's a person? A corporation. It's not a corporation. It's not a human.
Self-aware
Alright.
consciousness.
Okay. Well, it
No,
has
I
that.
wouldn't use them. Yeah, I wouldn't use. Well, it's a dog is self-aware and has.
That's debatable, but a
yeah,
chimp
that's-
is.
We don't have to go.
I
on
mean,
that.
my dog's
My whole
definitely
argument was-
self-aware. Have you met a border collie? They are definitely self.
Oh, you got one of those?
My-
Those are self-aware.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't think you can make the argument that personhood is attached to being. You don't have like.
I mean,
a dog has
But
zero
again, this is
personhood.
this
and
is just
one being.
semantics. That's why I asked you.
Well, no,
Depends on
it's
how
not
you're defining a
semantics.
person. If you're using a legal definition, then
Yes,
corporations are persons. If
No,
you're using a semantic or a colloquial definition, you're
A
referring
human
to people.
being regarded as an individual.
Okay, well then God wouldn't fit a person, so it doesn't matter. So God doesn't have
Well,
personhood.
let's ask the Constitution, shall we? Because according to the Constitution, not all humans are people. Because
That's also
according to
true.
Slaves only classed as 3/5 of a person for voting reasons.
Okay,
I mean,
so
children
we're not
and
actually basing our argument
don't
tonight
use
on the
prayer.
Constitution. So that's okay, Craig. But back to the serious conversation. No offense.
Well, you asked how do we define a person,
I did
and that depends who's trying
How-
to define it. There's my point.
Yeah.
Okay,
How
so
did you define it?
I said a self-aware. What did I say? A self-aware consciousness.
Okay.
Okay, so
And does everybody agree with that?
I don't know. I came up. That's an iterative. That's a stipulative
I'm okay with going forward with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So God would be 3 centers of consciousness, 1 essence or 1 being, and there's no contradiction.
What is
there
a
because
being then?
A being is an entity. God does. There is no.
So
contradiction.
God's more than one entity.
Hold on. There is no. What?
Okay. So a
What?
person,
Craig,
a person
seriously,
is a person.
All right,
So how is it?
my personhood definition was bad. That's the only point you've gotten all night. Just saying.
Okay, but no. We're using Joel's anyways. What's a person?
I say a person is a self-conscious. What did I say? A self.
Oh yeah. What's a being? What's a being?
Self-aware consciousness. A being is an entity. It's a, maybe let's call it a self-contained essence.
So there's three. Okay, so these are synonymous. You're using different words. You're making a difference or a distinction without a difference.
Well, respectfully, not at all. There's literally thousands of years of theology and philosophy that have unpacked these definitions. There is,
but there's more history showing that the world is flat.
I'm not in. I don't. I honestly. That's a.
So my point is that the age of something is not reflective of its goodness.
No. What I'm saying is this isn't something I'm just like when we're talking about the difference between essence and person, or being and person. This isn't like something that we're just sort of just pulling out of a hat.
So I understand that. Can you explain to me what the difference is?
Have knowledge.
What's the difference between a person and a being?
Yeah,
I think this is very off topic, but
it's not. It's exactly on topic, and you fucking know that. That's why you want to say.
I'm literally looking at the chat. Literally, dude just said I'm falling asleep listening to this. So I'm looking at.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of Christians coping right now. Go ahead, Joel, please.
Yeah. Right. Sure. No, we love talking about God. We love God. We know God. God saved us from our sins. I could talk about God all night long.
God. How can you love such an evil thing?
Yeah, sure, Craig. Sure. Evil by what standard, Craig? And how do you
do really good on God is
anyway? God is. Look, we might just have to leave it here, and you don't have to like it or agree with it, but we have to use typal counting. We have to count things according to their type. God is one God, eternally existing in three persons. There is no contradiction there, and that's the only theological concept, the only God that can. Oh my gosh!
What is the difference between a being and a person? We were almost there.
That can sufficiently and adequately ground the three laws of logic. That's it. That's the argument. If you
presupposition.
What is the difference between a being and a person?
I've literally just given you that. A being is a self-contained entity. A person is a self-aware consciousness.
So but those are, you basically said the same thing twice.
No, I didn't.
How do I know if I'm looking at a being or a person?
Well, how would you know? Ask it a question. I mean,
which one would answer me?
And how would they answer?
It's a person.
Craig, are you a being or a person?
I think I'm a being and a person.
Yes.
How can I prove that he's only a being?
What? He's not only a being, he's a being and a person.
Can you give me an example of a being that's not a person?
A dog.
Or a person. I'm sorry, a person that's not a being. Let's do that one. No, exactly, because they're the same thing.
No,
have you met flat earthers?
A
person is just a subcategory of a being.
All persons are beings, not all beings are persons. This is
right. All narcissists are psychopaths. Anyways, we're saying the same thing.
Well, almost, but ours can ground knowledge and yours can't. And I think that there's a pretty crucial difference.
Well, no, we can ground knowledge in our shared experiences and observations.
Not this again.
Yes, this again. I'm sorry, but you can't get
I've
around
debunked
that.
it like 4
That's just
times.
a presupposition.
No,
Craig.
just saying you've debunked it hasn't debunked it.
That's just a presupposition, Craig.
Are circular
No,
arguments
it's not.
okay?
It's not a presupposition.
Is it okay to use circular arguments?
It's not a circular argument. You can say circular argument, but that's just what.
How do you know your
Yeah, I've
senses
already
are
done
reliable?
all that.
Yeah.
Yes,
we have.
because we can test them.
So, if we're
How do you-
let
how do
me
you
get it
read
back
the
on track a
observation- how do
little
you
bit.
observe those
Let me
tests?
get it back on track a little bit. You guys, as you just demonstrated, the Christian God does not abide by the first law of logic. So you're at a crossroad now. What is the higher authority, the laws of logic or God? Because you can go with faith or you can go with reason to support the claim that you don't actually have knowledge of.
That's a form of the Euthyphro dilemma. But I want to rewind 30 seconds because you said we just conceded that the Christian God violates the first law of logic. What is the first law of logic?
Identity.
So we're saying that God is not God.
Well, the exercise we just went through was me asking you basically to explain the difference between the being and a person, and that's exactly where you fell apart, and we went back. So I'm taking that as a concession, even though I know you're going to say it's not, but you're also not going to explain it more.
Well, I respectfully, I think I've explained it pretty thoroughly. I think everyone watching has seen me explain it, and I gave 2 different definitions. They weren't identical.
I mean, you said a lot of things.
They weren't mutually exclusive.
Okay, then one more time. Can you give me an example of a person that's not a being?
Hear me on this. If
in
I
10 words or less.
if I
God.
say no, that proves my point, not yours, because all persons are beings, but not all beings are persons. Those aren't identical concepts. So there's like
How do you
that's
not
very
understand
important.
that defeats your
Because
argument?
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just one's a little bit more refined.
If
Your
God is
failure-
completely unique, should I be able to give?
It's
you
like saying a
something?
car and an automobile, right? Not all cars are automobiles. Okay. But if we're all sitting in the same thing, moving down the road, we're all in one car. That is a monocarist view, right?
I love that. So we have
You can't say that there's
Ride sharing is
actually three-
monocarist.
We're not actually driving in three vehicles just because you happen to own a vehicle and I happen to own a vehicle and they're in the garage at home.
It's a terrible analogy. I agree.
It was fan-fucking-tastic. Praise Limp Bizkit.
I mean, you know, it's a terrible analogy. I mean, you
Okay, it was a really bad analogy.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll concede that point.
Okay. So we count things according to type. We count persons according to person. We count deities according to deity. There's one deity, three persons. That's not a contradiction, and it's the only grounding for the.
How many gods are there in the Greek?
Pantheon.
Zeus. All that shit.
There,
How many?
A lot.
I don't think there's an ultimate creator god in the pantheon, but
Because in the
probably
pantheon,
thousands.
you have a lot of gods, which is what you're referring to, right? The difference between Zeus and Poseidon, they're both gods, but they're two different gods.
Correct.
Jesus and God are both gods. They're two different gods.
Nope, incorrect. That's a categorical error. Do you know why?
Mm-mm.
Okay, would you like me to explain why, or would you like
I
to just?
sure would.
Okay, when we're talking about the Greek gods, we're talking about non-ultimate beings. Remember, I said that God is ultimate tri-personality. The Greek gods, the Norse gods, the Roman gods,
What's that
the Hindu
mean?
gods. What's that?
It means he's got a split personality.
I mean, because you keep bringing in jargon into
I'm
the
sorry.
conversation, and I got to stop you because I don't know what an ultimate personality is.
Understood. I understand. That's helpful for you to say that, because then I can try to translate what I'm saying into language we can all understand. Okay, the God of the Bible exists. Let's say this: He exists necessarily. He is higher than all. We literally call him God Most High. We sing songs about God Most High. One thing that
Songs about Nookie.
great. One thing that stay focused, man. One of the things that the Greek gods were not is none of them was existed necessarily. Okay, you can read about the birth of Zeus, the birth of Athena. You can talk about, there's the
birth of Jesus.
Yeah, with respect to his human nature, yes, but that's categorically different than Zeus. Zeus was not an incarnate ultimate god who became man. Zeus had an origin. Do you see?
So Jesus then would not be God it's the same way you just excluded the Greek gods. I can exclude Jesus.
Why?
Because he isn't necessary. He was born. There's a birth story. There's an origin story. The universe existed without him, right? He died for 3 days, and I don't even get into the Old Testament. He wasn't in the Old Testament.
He was.
But regardless, we could just say that we can just point at the 3 days in
Doing
hell.
a debate on that soon. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And say that the 3 days that Jesus before Jesus rose is enough to show that he didn't, right?
Well, no. First of all, when Jesus died, he did not cease to exist. That's very important. The Bible is unbelievably clear about that. And two, prior to Jesus' incarnation, do you think that we believe that Jesus didn't exist prior to the incarnation?
No, I know that you try to insist he did, but there's nothing really there's nothing in the Old Testament that says that. And
isn't that nothing like Genesis 18?
I don't know which one that is, but like I've heard the Christians go through and say, look, it talks about the Lamb of God. Jesus was a lamb, right? Like this is the sort
word of God. It talks about the angel of the Lord. But Jesus, but regardless, we are Christians. If you're going to do an internal critique of the Christian worldview, you have to actually attack what we actually believe to show that there's a contradiction.
Well, I don't know which variation you've got in your own head.
Well, I'll tell you which one. Let's open up to John chapter 1, verse 1. It's right there. First verse of John.
This is a trap to Bible study.
Yeah, which just to be clear, which version of Christianity are you, Joe?
I'm one that believes the Bible.
Yeah. Which one though?
He's a Protestant. He's a Protestant.
I'm the one that believes that John 1:1 says that in the beginning was the Word, and that's referring to Jesus.
Yeah. So give me a name.
He's a Presbyterian or a Methodist.
Which particular sect of Christianity are you? Can you please tell me?
Real quick, Craig, you're trying to divert the conversation. I'm not ashamed of what kind of Christian I am.
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely asking so I know what your argument is.
I understand that. I'm talking about the Bible. You're trying to sidetrack, and you gotta.
No, I'm not. I'm asking what is the name of your sect of Christianity?
Why don't you pause for a minute and let's see if the answer that I just gave was understood by the person who asked it. Your partner, who you're supposed to be helping.
He is helping me.
Can you just answer the question? What is the name of your sect of Christianity?
So are we going to say asked and answered on that question then? Do you concede? You understand that Christians believe that Jesus pre-existed the creation?
I'm just going to ask it again. What's the name of your sect of Christianity? I mean,
I don't know why I have to answer this question for you guys. He's an Orthodox. He's not?
Are you an Orthodox, are you?
I thought he said he was Catholic earlier, but
I
thought I could be wrong.
No. If you want to go down the look, I'm just, before I answer it, since it's so important to you, I want to just say we are now moving on to a new question. I did correct the false understanding that Dusty made, where he was trying to say that we believe that Jesus did not pre-exist the incarnation and that Jesus ceased to exist.
That would be your false understanding that you corrected it, but we can move past it.
We took Joel's plane and flew it way past the debate prompt a while ago.
That's okay. We're gonna conclude here in about a minute, and then we'll roll into closing statements. So if you had a final thought to that, I would say go ahead and finish it up.
Closing statements or final thought?
Or just the final thought to what Joel and Craig were going at, if you wanted to conclude that notion of it.
I mean, I was asking a genuine question and no one was answering me.
Well, it's because you have a British accent and they sound sarcastic even when they're not.
No, it's because I was answering.
I mean, it kind of...
So Joe, genuinely, what is the name of your sect of Christianity?
Well, I don't belong to a particular sect. My church is a non-denominational church, but I am a, Protestant, Baptist, Calvinist, New Covenant theologian, loose amillennialist.
All of them. You're an omelet.
You like collecting all the Pokemons then?
Okay.
Have you considered Limp Bizkit?
Yes, we just did, and I showed you why you had to read
you know what? You can integrate Limp Bizkit into your Sunday services, I bet. There might be copyright issues, but
how do you know that?
I was just assuming. I don't know. I haven't looked at the copyright issues.
No, that's right. Because you don't know anything, Dusty.
But see, you don't either. You just deny that you don't.
Okay. Should we go into our closing statements?
I'm going to go ahead and call it. So what we'll do, gentlemen, we'll go into our closing statements. We'll read some super chats, and then I'll go into open panel, and then we can get some more questions up here and maybe prompt some further thought. I think it'll be great. If you are a member of the Raging Tomato, I'm going to go ahead and post the link now in a community post. You will have it in advance. You feel free to start piling up backstage. If you want to go ahead and start popping backstage now, and then to the general public, Gen Pop, you will be getting the link dropped here shortly. All right, so let's start with Flo. Powder Dusty, go ahead with your closing thoughts.
I want to go last.
You are going first. You had last thought on opening statements.
I always come first.
I can just remove you from the panel and let the other gentlemen continue.
I'll go last.
You guys are cute. This is awesome.
You're cute.
Flow State, you can either forfeit your closing statement or go ahead and give it now.
I'll just barge in at the end.
Craig, to you, closing statement.
The foundation of the argument was never really addressed. We have to prove that there's a God to say that knowledge comes from God, and just assuming God to show that knowledge exists is never showing that there is a God. I can never prove there is or isn't a God, but I can show how knowledge exists independently of God without assuming something. And I don't think that they ever really addressed that point. They accused me of circular arguments, but asking for evidence isn't really a circular argument. Well, all they had was circular arguments. So thanks for that. It was fun, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Joel, to you.
Okay, is God necessary for knowledge? You'd never know it, but that was the topic of tonight's debate. But tonight you've seen how the atheism of our opponents, or the exclusion of God of our opponents, utterly fails to account for even the most obvious of transcendental certain truths like logic, the preconditions of science, the reliability of cognitive faculties, et cetera, et cetera. Now, by their actions, our opponents show that they really do believe that they can know certain things for certain. However, their position does not affirm that. It doesn't ground that. And that's because they've ruled out God from the beginning. So you've got a contradiction between their actions and their claims. Which one should we believe that they actually believe? Well, as we say, actions speak louder than words. The godless worldview cannot account for anything called knowledge, not certain necessary beliefs, not uncertain contingent beliefs. Atheism undercuts knowledge on every level. God, on the other hand, is the necessary precondition for knowledge. We showed that. We proved that transcendentally. And I think that that was very clear. I appreciate the opportunity to show it. It is God's revelation that justifies our ability to rely on our cognitive faculties and the intelligibility of experience, including the laws of logic, which came up so many times in this debate. The proof of God is that without him, you couldn't prove anything at all because God is necessary for knowledge.
Presupposition.
Thank you. Alex, to you.
Yeah, so I gave a very simple syllogism in the form of modus ponens. Craig thinks that's apparently circular. Multiple times tonight, I gave this simple syllogism, and at the end, I asked either of them if they could repeat it to me, as I said it multiple times. Neither of them could repeat it to me, nor could they refute it. I made the argument for the first premise by the impossibility of the contrary. Neither Craig nor Flo could give me anything that they knew and justify how they knew any of that. One of the justifications that was given to Craig, from Craig, was that science. And I asked him if he needed his senses for science. He said yes. I asked him how he knew his senses were reliable. And he just said, well, I can test them with science. I asked, how do you observe the conclusions from that testing? He said, I use my senses. So basically, my senses are reliable because my senses are reliable. There were so many circular arguments made and contradictions. Both of them said they can't know anything for certain. When asked if they know that for certain, they said no. So they don't even know if they don't know anything. It's kind of crazy. At one point, they said that the laws of logic can be defined, that we defined them. I asked if I could define them however I want, and I'm pretty sure Flow State said, yeah, I guess that's true. I also heard, and sometimes it's hard to tell with the sarcasm, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure they said there's nothing wrong with contradictions. Now, if there's nothing wrong with contradictions, that violates the law, the logical law of the explosion principle, which states that if there is a contradiction, then you can make anything true. Now, even if the sarcasm did go over my head for that last one, like I said, sometimes it's hard to tell. They said that the law of non-contradiction could have not existed or did not exist before humans existed. So therefore, the explosion principle would be violated right there anyway. So that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll bring Flo back up here in just a minute. But let's get to the
I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick.
Sure. Take your time. If there is a question that I think, Joel might not be able to answer, then we can wait for Alex to come back. All right. Alejandro comes in with the Big Ten and says, with or without God, what is this? Solipsism has no solution. With or without God, you can't know if your beliefs are true or just an illusion. Presupposing God wouldn't reveal lies doesn't solve this. And gentlemen, you are welcome to respond to any of these. Feel free to just jump in on them. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving forward.
Alejandro is a very wise man. I
think that's a fantastic. Yeah, we should be paying him for that comment.
Fair enough. Cole Marshall with the Big Ten. Much love, Craig. We might not agree on everything, but I respect you coming to the table to hash things out in the free marketplace of ideas.
Yeah,
thank you, Cole, and I appreciate the messages on X as well.
I would like to say fuck you, Cole, because he didn't. Yeah, I guess he doesn't respect me.
Can I go back to that one?
Sarah, did you see what I was doing backstage when you had me in the dungeon?
I did. Yeah. You're pervert. Go ahead.
I know it.
Hard solipsism is an entailment of atheism. My syllogism that I gave is a proof that hard solipsism is not an entailment of Christianity.
You never demonstrated P, therefore you never demonstrated Q.
What do you mean? I said by the impossibility of the contrary. And here, let me ask this. Is it possible that God could reveal things to us such that we can know them for certain?
It is possible, but then it would not. It would. Sorry, you.
No, you go. You go.
It is possible it is possible for me to know something, but if we're talking about God's revelation, it is not possible for God to reveal something to me and then for me to be equipped with enough for you to know it.
So
that revelation would not be. I couldn't pass it on.
So would that be a no? No, it's not possible.
Well,
Again,
I would say
this is
it's
another
not
one of those-
possible because I have no evidence of God existing. So the question is comes with a
lack of evidence means logical impossibility.
Actually, I don't know that it would be possible because I can't foresee that. I don't know that there's a way that you could ever say you know anything that can't be refuted. So I could get revelation, and then I could be like, "Oh shit, it was demons."
Logical impossibility requires a contradiction. Can you give me P and not P?
Sorry, say that again.
The logical impossibility requires a contradiction. Can you give me the contradiction?
I don't think it's
P and not P?
so the logic, but we can know something, right? We can be aware of our awareness, and that's about the only thing that we can know, and not.
How do you know that you're aware of your awareness?
See, you're gaslighting.
I think, therefore, I am.
Nah, I'm asking you how you know.
You absolutely are. This is an exercise in gaslighting knowledge, because
I think,
because it is
therefore, I am.
imperfect, and because we are able to conceptualize
Cogito's been
ways.
disproven by atheists. Look up Bertrand Russell. It'd be a
Say
good
that
read. I
again.
know you're trying to get into philosophy.
I
All right,
wasn't at all.
gentlemen,
Actually.
and
I was trying to get
I
on YouTube, and I found myself here.
Gentlemen,
Let's talk
I have dropped the open panel link to the general public. You're more than welcome to drop them on your sides as well if you so choose.
Put it in mine too.
Okay. Alejandro with the big 5. The laws of logic are not prescriptive. They are not prescriptive. They are descriptive. They describe what we see and how we think. They don't dictate how the universe must be. Q-Tard, somebody have a thought?
Yes, I do have a thought about that. They're descriptive because
50 words or less.
Quiet.
Greg?
They're descriptive because that is the way the world works. And we all presuppose this before we even engage in argumentation of any kind. That yes, they are authoritatively descriptive. And we've never denied that at all. If they are just merely human convention, then they're not true. And the universe actually is incoherent and illogical, which means
Is that possible?
When we engage, no, it's not. Which means that if we try to debate them or discuss them, we actually couldn't even get off the ground because the laws of logic could be violated all the time because they're not real, and they should be.
Which is what we've seen here today, actually. Ironically,
Sure.
Okay.
I was going to ask you to reiterate, like you're saying, there is no possible way in which we can conceive of that being the case.
Correct. You literally.
But there is, because we're doing it right now. We're conceiving of it.
No, we're not.
Oh my God.
Are you conceiving of a universe in which the law of non-contradiction is not real?
Yes.
Describe that world.
Sure.
The absolute
it's
universe.
it's just like this one, but we don't have language.
So we do have language.
All right. Q-Tar coming with the big 5 says, oh, nice. The Pee Wee Herman defense. Anson Knowles with the big 5 says, God is required for knowledge only if you deify the actual universe. The God of the Bible is a myth that required knowledge of words to construct. Anson coming back again with the big 5. You win this argument by getting the theists to demonstrate how their God isn't a myth. They think all the other gods are a myth, so they are close.
Yeah, I'm frankly these guys here are almost as atheist as me, because the only difference is they're
more than me.
Well, I believe that there's not 3,000 gods. They believe there's not 2,999 gods. So they're basically as atheist as I am.
You know that there's some debate.
Are you a pantheist, Phil?
There's some what?
Sorry, two of
you
you
a
spoke at the
pantheist,
same
Flo?
time. Am I what?
You said, well, no, Flo said that we're more atheist than him. I don't know if that was just a funny
Oh,
remark.
no, I'm an agnostic.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's a lot of debate on whether or not William Shakespeare actually wrote all those plays. Some people disbelieve in 3,000 different authors. I go one further. I say nobody wrote all those plays. So, those people are Shakespeare, people who believe in Shakespeare are almost as Shakespearean as me. I just go one further. Nobody wrote
That was a dumb. I mean, you do realize you just said that on the internet where people saw it, right?
Oh, did I, Craig?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Craig.
It's gonna be there forever, and that was a really dumb thing that you just said.
Craig using the word atheist wrong.
Hey, Craig.
So
Craig,
let's
explain why that's a bad analogy. Go ahead.
It's a bad analogy because we have lots of examples of plays, and always they've been written by a human. We don't have any other examples of universes or cosmoses or the
We
world,
don't
all
always
right,
know the
creation. We don't have another comp where we can say, well, we know that in other cases, Marty created life over there. There is no comparable.
Okay.
All of my chat agrees that was a really dumb thing you said, Joel.
Why? Why, Craig?
I mean, obviously, because
if I have to explain it to you, that's kind of a you problem.
Yeah, okay, it's a me problem. Fix the problem. Go ahead.
You're not fixable, Joe. I'm sorry.
Come on, Craig. Fix it, Craig.
I'm going to be the problem. The sarcastic saying with the big five says Craig is the biggest fanboy of the Scottish rock duo, the Proclaimers. Craig sing I'm going to be 500 miles, but I would walk 500 miles. Come on, Craig.
I'll sing it with you.
No, that's I'm sorry, but a $5 super chat to Sarah, that's going to be at least a $50 super chat if you want me to sing.
And if you want to duet, then I'll have to get some cheese too.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. Smoking Auditor with the big five says knowledge comes from Satan since he convinced Eve to eat the fruit of knowledge. God forbid us to have because he did not want us to have knowledge.
Yeah, God's an asshole if he's real.
Quiet down, Craig.
What's wrong with being an asshole, Craig?
Quite a lot. Yeah. Don't be an asshole.
By what standard?
Mine.
Oh, are you God?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, Limp Bizkit is that. Stop it, Craig.
So
I'm sorry. You're right.
So far, we've got Craig being God and Limp Bizkit being God. It sounds like there's going to be a battle of the gods over here.
No. Hold on. The entity is God.
You should go.
We're just different.
No, hold on. Let's work this one through. Okay, I agree. Craig is not God.
You don't agree with Craig. Craig's your partner. He says he's God.
No, I'm agreeing with you right now. Craig is not God. I reject that. I did that based off my own preferences. How did you decide what you believe?
My parents taught me when I was very young.
So you didn't even use your own preferences.
Are you asking why I know Christianity is true or how I came to believe it?
Bad parents.
How you came to believe it?
My parents evangelized me when I was very young.
Okay. So you were brainwashed and I used my own preferences. But even if you weren't brainwashed, let's say you became a Christian as an adult, it still comes back to I preferred that one. You are the decider here.
How is my parents evangelizing me with the truth? How is that relevant to whether or not Christianity is true?
Not the truth.
It's not, and that's not what I said. That's a tangent.
Truth is probably another one of those concepts that we define, though, right?
No. Your parents brainwashed you because they taught you your belief system before you were old enough to have rational, critical thinking.
Parents teaching children things is not the definition of brainwashing.
When kids are under 5 years old,
kids teaching them religion is brainwashing.
Kids under 5 years old, I can't remember if it's theta. They're in one of the brainwave states. They're basically hypnotized for the first 5 years of their life, and they just absorb things without being critical about them. That's why it's important to teach kids religion young, because an adult is going to have a hard time with the Trinity.
Is brainwashing wrong?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it morally wrong? Why? Who told
you that? I'll answer this, but you got to let me get all the way through. It's wrong because it violates the free will of another person.
Oh, free will. I don't think your partner agrees with that one either.
I've been violated. CMDR
not yet,
with a big 5 says if a schizophrenic man who doesn't know it kills someone, believing him to be a monster, should he be held responsible? He was following all of his senses.
God told him, so of course he should not be held responsible because obviously God told him. See,
Rude Mud Crab with the big 5. God being required for knowledge without knowledge of existence of God is some circular mental gymnastics that only a believer could rationalize.
Yeah, that was my entire point. How they cannot see that they have this circular argument is it's almost like talking to a flat earther.
You're an epistemological flat earther, Craig. You don't even know what a circular argument is.
Anson Knowles with the big
When
10.
you were the one with the circular argument, that's incredible. You can say that.
That's just your presupposition, Craig.
Your mom's a presupposition.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me. Anson knows with the Big Ten, if knowledge depended on God, it would be contingent on divine will, making it subjective and potentially unreliable. Secular epistemology, by contrast, seeks objective standards independent of any deity.
Nicely put.
Absolutely.
I have a thought about that.
Is it really a
Brainwashed
thought?
thought.
Go
Wait,
ahead.
no, it's a
Are you still
brainwashed
here?
thought.
Dusty, are you still here?
Yeah.
Oh, you're
He's getting ready to do something crazy.
Oh my
I
God, I
think.
turned into a. Yeah. No, I'm just taking a hit real quick.
okay. The
What you smoking?
if knowledge depended on
Crack.
God, it would be contingent on divine will. Yeah,
Okay,
that,
no, never mind.
that is correct. But there's a category error to say that something being contingent on God's will, God who is absolute and who definitionally is truth, is the same thing as it being, subjectively contingent on the human will or something like that. God's truth is rooted in God's nature. God knows all things. So truth is what comports and conforms
You're-
to the mind of God.
So,
So
it's weird
this
that
is-
you.
This is definitional to biblical
God knows
Christianity.
all things, huh? That just proves that it
It's
is really
weird that earlier you said that you can't redefine words, or that you so this we shouldn't, but to redefine truth as God, right? So I guess if we accept the Christian worldview, just argumentatively, then for sure, you can't know anything without God, because nothing can be true without God, because God is truth.
God is truth. Jesus Christ.
But really, truth is a concept, and it's a feature
How
of a
come-
claim. Truth isn't even its own thing. It can't even stand its own right. It is descriptive of something else.
Can we define?
And how can
truth
God
as
be truth when
something?
God lied a bunch?
We should define it.
Anson knows with the Big Ten, human civilizations have developed vast bodies of knowledge through trial, error, and innovation, often in the absence of or in conflict with religious frameworks, showing God is not necessary.
That just shows that belief in
Facts.
God is not necessary. That just shows that religious belief is not necessary, or religious adherence. It doesn't show that God is not necessary.
Fair enough.
You still got
Atticus-
proof that God's real.
Atticus Finch with the Big Ten says, this woman is far too strikingly beautiful and intelligent to be hanging out with you losers. She must be AI.
Flow Rider is not a woman. That is
No,
no way.
Alex, don't say that about Alex.
Alejandro with the Big Ten, holy Christian dishonesty. No, you can't presuppose the conclusion of the freaking debate and then claim you won because you presupposed it. It's incredible how dishonest Christians can be.
Yeah, that was the whole
Impossible,
argument.
because God is truth, so it's impossible for them to lie.
Well, this was
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
mistake that Craig made by calling modus ponens circular. Modus ponens is not circular. I did not make a circular argument.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
never
yeah,
did we.
You
Never
really
did we-
the way that you
Never
did
did
it.
we make a bald-faced presupposition without justifying it. We justified all of our presuppositions, and we showed that without God, you can't justify them.
We're
So
going to need a spreadsheet to keep track of all these words. What does justify mean now? Because they're all
justify-
changing rapidly.
Yeah, they've got their own moon. Hey, Sarah, my chatter's saying more Sarah. She is awesome.
I'll get you in
Are
on
you sure
some
about
more.
that, Craig?
Sarah does do a great
How are you going to
job. Thank
diss
you for
Sarah?
hosting
She's
us
the only
all.
one of us.
No. I was dissing Craig and his lack.
Oh, watch this. Look at that. Look at that.
Sarah, I
She's a
was not
tyrant. I
dissing
could have
you.
told you that. She left me downstage for a long time earlier. It's
That's
terrible.
what you get.
Although my chat is saying less Joel.
Craig, you sure about that?
Oh, poor Joel.
Yeah,
What are they saying about the powdered zesty?
they're saying he's awesome. Lots more of him.
They're awesome too.
I've been debating with him the whole night, Craig.
Poor Alex. Poor Alex just got left out of this whole debate.
What? He got
Well,
called
they're,
out.
they're asking Alex
To
if he
be
can change his
fair,
shirt.
To be fair, it does.
Yeah,
it
dude,
does.
is my
Somebody
my
said
shirt
it
that bad?
somebody said it looked like
It
you
looks
just
like
left
grease
work.
stains.
Yeah, somebody said you just left work from Five Guys, and I can't help but to agree with it.
Bro,
I'm gonna have to
they're-
burn this. I usually
Just
wear
put
a
the
black
price in the bag,
sweatshirt,
bro.
but with the green screen, it doesn't work well. I was like, oh, this works. This is like lighter.
no, it looks
I-
terrible.
Someone
It looks
someone
terrible.
even sent in a super chat telling me how bad it is. This is bad fashion.
Just
taste.
using,
Well,
I've
take
been
it off.
married for 8 years, guys. Come on, give me a break.
just use NVIDIA broadcasting. You don't even
And
need
she
a
didn't
green
say
screen.
anything like, Man, you better get divorced."
Like, this is what my
She's
house
sick
actually looks
laying
like
in
at
bed
the
right
moment.
now.
I have no green screen behind me. I'm in the middle of moving home.
What are those
You don't need a
boxes
green
for? Are
screen.
you moving?
Yeah, the roof of my home was removed by Storm Eowyn, so I now have to
Oh, man,
change
sorry.
house
No.
because apparently having a roof is an important thing.
Jeez.
They can't get another
What
roof.
happened to you, man?
All right, Tiki Tack with the Big Ten says, "I'm
Because you don't
loving
have
this
any Mexicans over there.
Ticky Tack with the Big Ten says, I'm loving this debate. I haven't laughed this hard in a while. Anson with the Big Ten says, their God-dependent epistemology includes divine deception. God could mislead us. Knowledge becomes unreliable. Secular epistemology avoids this by grounding knowledge in verifiable evidence and reason.
It's
Speaking
not an
facts.
internal critique because it's not an internal critique on the Christian worldview. But secondly, grounding
literally
it
is,
in
though.
verifiable evidence and reason, we already went through that completely. Circular.
That was the whole opening statement.
Fair enough. Alejandro with a Big Ten says, since these Christians like presuppositions so much, I can have knowledge without God because I presuppose I can have knowledge without God. There, I won the debate according to the Christians.
That's incredible. That's great. Good job.
Well done, Alejandro.
You did it. Don't justify your presupposition, just assert it.
Answer
just
with a
like you
Big
did.
Ten.
Limp Bizkit poster.
God's handing out knowledge.
Like
Awesome.
them.
Oh, wait. He left it in a 2,000-year-old Aramaic text that everyone disagrees about the interpretation of so much that they fight wars over it. Seems legit.
There were wars
It's Greek,
all
too.
over the interpretation of Scripture.
It's also Greek.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to know the reason why I'm not a Christian? I read the Bible.
No.
It's because you hate God because you believe in him. 'cause you're
You
actually
know why
Christian.
the reason I am a Christian?
Because
I
I
read the
didn't read it
Bible.
properly.
No, you did. Christians don't read the Bible.
Is that a real statement?
It was tongue in cheek, but
you didn't
but
know
yeah,
what Genesis
Christians-
18 was,
it-
man. Come
people who
on.
They
are
like certain
crazy.
passages, that's for sure.
way
Is
more.
this real? You guys are saying Christians don't like the Bible or don't read the Bible?
Most
that-
of
that
the
is-
vast majority,
What
vast
do you
majority
think-
of them.
In all seriousness, have you guys ever met real Christians? Do you know Christians at all?
Yes. A lot of
mean,
my best friends are
I
Christians.
don't. I think that that's for God to determine who's real Christian or not. So all I can do is take them at face value.
Totally. I agree. But you understand that if you actually follow this book, you'd be reading this book every single day. You know that, right? So is your argument just
I'm
like,
actually
hey,
reading it
Christians
again
ain't
tomorrow. I do atheist reading the Bible on my channel on Tuesdays now.
That's
Um,
good.
You
But
should
that's
go
not what
over
I'm saying.
Genesis 18.
Certainly the reason why I'm an atheist.
Oh,
You
Lord.
read the Bible and you judged it according to your godless standard.
Answer with the Big Ten. God is the ultimate knowledge tutor. He's the type to ghost you before the exam, then claim it's part of the plan when you flunk. I'll take a human teacher who actually shows up. Thanks.
hmm
Romans
Ants-
9 would apply.
Anson again with the Big Ten. Relying on God for knowledge is like waiting for Sarah to slide into my DMs. Endless waiting, divine beauty, but no real connection. at
Anson, just
all.
keep the faith, keep sending in super chats, and one day,
He
He's
is
trying-
You're all
that
jealous
crazy.
because Sarah's been sliding into my DMs, so I guess I win, right?
Ticky
it.
Tack with the Big Ten. To
Don't
Wi-Fi.
don't
Burn
cuck the
that
donors.
shirt. This is the chat I was talking about. That's hilarious. I love
I
you, Ticky
figured
Tack.
it was some kind of like a tie-dye thing, you know? Like I figured it's like a pattern or something. I'm trying to give him
Yeah,
the
it's
benefit
it's
of the
the
doubt.
grease trap, the tie-dye grease trap edition.
That's fantastic.
Poor Wi-Fi.
You do the same to me, believe me.
Jeff with the Big 20. Evil is a religious belief, Craig.
When he
Incorrect.
gets back, we all have to be like, "Why'd you change your shirt? It was totally fine."
The concept of
You
evil
think,
can exist
oh,
without.
no, he did it.
He put on a
Gaslight him.
black one. Like I'm not gonna and black pants. He's like, I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
now I get a free plug. If you're in New England,
Man, we were just messing with you the
Take
whole
him
time.
out.
The other shirt looked fine.
It looks great, man. What was the
Can
what
I
was the,
burn
what was
it
the issue?
live?
Gaslight him
Is that
some
TOS?
more.
That's
Speaking
all.
of
That's most
gaslight,
of what this conversation has been, right?
Yeah, that top's not working on camera. It's freaking out. You should get the other one back on. Sorry.
All right, let's finish up. We got more backstage waiting. Answer with the Big Ten. If knowledge requires a first cause, then who had the knowledge to create the God that created knowledge for all us lowly humans? The
Ooh,
theists are
good
doing their usual infinite regress. Cope fallacious.
Alex, do you want to address that?
If knowledge requires a first cause, that wasn't the argument.
Yeah. Let me explain. Anson, God doesn't have to abide by any laws at all because God pre-existed them. So we can say literally fucking anything about
argument.
God, and it's true because God.
That's not an internal
Yeah.
critique.
Mm.
That's an
Nor is
external
it the argument that I
comment.
gave at
Yeah,
all tonight.
completely.
You just ignore the internal critiques by saying it's not internal critique. It's
If they're not an internal
it's a
critique,
sneaky way
then
to-
they're not an internal critique.
Can you
right?
define internal critique?
Yeah, the thing we just did.
Oh, good.
Can you define
Oh,
internal critique? I don't know what it is.
Okay. an internal- Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, just very quickly. I will try to be concise. I know it's hard for me. An internal critique is when you, for the sake of argument, step into a worldview in order to evaluate it given its own terms and try to see if there's an internal inconsistency.
Okay, so aside from being a little cheeky, what did I say about your perspective that's wrong?
Remind me what you said again.
We don't believe that God pre-exists the laws of logic. We believe that the laws of logic are a reflection of God's nature or God's mind.
So I mean, but they
magic.
popped into existence at the same time. See, this is what I'm talking about, though. God does not have to abide by our worldly rules, so we can
You're
say there's
gaslighting.
one God and three gods at the same time.
You're
We can say-
gaslighting.
I
Religious
am.
person saying we're gaslighting. is
Yeah,
hilarious.
a religious person is saying you're gaslighting. You need to deal with that because that's what you're doing. That's not what he just said. They popped into existence at the
You
same
keep
time.
using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
That's gaslighting, Craig.
Okay, so
Look,
did
you just
God
made up
create
gaslighting
everything?
because you're crazy, okay?
Did
Oh,
God
thank
create
you, Craig.
everything?
Craig, crazy according to what standard, Craig?
Did God
Oh my
create
God.
everything?
Did you not really get that joke? Jesus. Am I going to have to explain every time I be sarcastic?
Thank you,
when
Craig.
use
Now
joke
let's go
on
have
you?
a real conversation.
No,
Dusty, go ahead.
you're not
no,
worthy.
not
of it.
you, but Dusty.
Can you say it's just a flesh wound?
Oh my God.
Yes, I did get the reference.
Um,
I've seen Princess Bride many times. Go on.
that's Monty Python, isn't it?
It's Monty Python.
Oh, the flesh wound is, but
Yeah.
you keep on
Okay.
using that word. Yeah, I do not think it means what you
I don't
think.
even remember what I was saying. Probably for the best.
Next,
Keep reading
next
them.
super chat.
All right, we got two more, and it's real quick. Robert Demita with the Big 10 says, "Thank you for the stream, Sarah. You're welcome to you, Robert." And Just with the Big 10 says, "Craig is looking especially lesbian tonight."
I
Fair
do
enough.
like women, so yes,
That's
there
fair.
is that.
That is fair. All right,
Well played.
gentlemen, let's go ahead and go to open panel dumpster fire. We're going to have some fun with this. I've got a full backstage lined up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and hit it off. All right. Rules of open panel. You shut the fuck up whenever I start talking. Outside of that, we will continue on having the conversation. I still have more people backstage. So what I will ask for the most part is let's try to get through some questions and prompts from the guests and try to inquire as quickly as possible. You can always still hang backstage and let somebody else come on. And then we will, try to rotate people in and out so that we can get to the questions that everybody has. If you're an asshole and you interrupt me like so, I just hit this little button and you guys disappear. It's beautiful.
Can you do that to Furby?
Only people pay. So anyways, I have a question. I'm going to build a bridge, and it obviously requires knowledge to build a bridge, right? When I write out all the knowledge required to make a bridge, when the hell do I mention God in any of that?
Saying that you have something doesn't ground it.
That's true.
So
What
I
are
can build a bridge
grounding
with that
relations?
knowledge, though, right? Yes or no?
Yeah, because God is real. The Christian worldview is true.
That is not a logical argument.
Okay,
No,
building
but
a
what
bridge-
you're saying is, I can drive my car. See? And I ask you, do you know how it was made? You know, but I can drive my car. See?
Is it working?
Which knowledge on driving my car depends on my knowledge of God?
Let's go back to
No,
building a
you're-
bridge. If you're going to build a bridge, you have to presuppose uniformity in nature and the power or the possibility of inductive reasoning. Is that true?
No, I can test for my assumptions if I really need to.
You have to test, but you have to presuppose uniformity in nature and induction.
But that presupposition is based on experience.
Actually, yeah, no, we don't presuppose uniformity in nature. We found it.
We have to presuppose it in order to trust our senses when we find
So
it.
you said logic was discovered, not created, right? Isn't that not the same thing for things that we consider to be uniform in nature?
Uniformity in nature. I'm not talking about natural laws. I'm talking about the principle of uniformity in nature is a necessary.
What's something in nature that's
we're going to build a
considered to be
bridge.
uniform?
What?
What's something in nature that's considered to be uniform?
Physical laws.
Like thermodynamics. Yeah, we had to actually do experiments to prove that those were unalienable, that you couldn't just believe something else and then that would become true. Empiricism is a process, and it was brought to us by the Enlightenment. People like Immanuel Kant, right? They realized, because they're smarter than you, that you don't need God to know things.
Okay.
You mean David Hume, not Immanuel Kant, for empiricism, Melanie?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Kant was a rationalist.
Yeah, you mean
Kant
David
also
Hume
advocated for empiricism. Kant
No,
also
Kant was directly against empiricism. David Hume was the empiricist.
Corinth is correct.
David
And
Hume also gave us the problem of induction.
that's right. Hume completely obliterated cause and effect, and he admitted that there's no possible
Hume
way.
didn't
that we can
obliterate it.
assume- Well, he did, and
Hume just said this is an issue with the thing.
it's an issue because there's no reason to presuppose it, and there's no way to prove it. So you have to actually presuppose uniformity in nature to build a bridge. You have to presuppose inductive reasoning. When someone says we test
Yeah,
it,
and then you
unless
justify
you
it by
test
testing and
every
seeing it's all
possible
true.
instance of something, you have to assume
No.
that unobserved cases are going to be like
No,
observed.
that's not it. Joel,
That's-
you're not even holding to your guys' own definition of knowledge.
Yeah, much like how you guys justified your presuppositions later
I
on,
was-
we're justifying that presupposition by testing.
Justified
it.
reasonable
That's cool.
justified reasonable belief.
Justification requires God. We've
So
already
you
shown-
don't justified reasonable belief does not need to test every single fucking thing possible.
Why is your
Really,
theory of
that's the
justification
debate.
true, Joel? Why is
Say
your
it
theory
again?
of why is your theory of justification true?
It's not my theory. It was revealed in God's word
Okay,
To
why is
who?
that one true?
because of the impossibility of the contrary.
To
I
who?
can give you a possibility. Can you tell me why phenomenal conservatism is false?
Define that.
Phenomenal conservatism is that things are justified if there is a seeming absent a defeater for the thing.
Who's talking?
Who established that rule and who enforces it?
This is David Hume in 2000 that gave the possibility of that described this as a justificatory theory.
And is
Now
that
you
your
said the impossibility of the contrary. You're just saying this is abductively implausible to be the
It's
case.
not what I'm saying.
You said the impossibility of the contrary. Everyone heard you, Joel.
Can phenomenal conservatism give you false knowledge?
Yes.
No, because it's only one leg.
It wouldn't be knowledge then, would it?
So-
it's
so
only one leg
illusions
of
aren't a
knowledge. It's only
thing.
describing the thing.
Illusions aren't.
I have a
Alex, you don't
question.
understand what you're talking about. I'm talking to the one that's above 80
Uh,
IQ and you're half right.
Furby, you're going to the back. It sounds like you got 20 minutes backstage. You got 20 minutes back there. I'm going to bring up someone else, okay?
So
I got
Joel,
a
you said the
question.
impossible. Joel, you
Shut-
said the
shut up,
impossible-
Corinth.
Joel said
Nobody
the
wants to talk to
impossibility of
you.
the contrary. Joel, I want to know the impossible contrary. We had a good
Yeah,
talk.
nobody wants to
on
talk
there.
to
We
you.
were in talking.
Yeah,
the
we-
I
lobby.
like
Have a
talking to
good
Joel. You
conversation.
leave Joel alone.
I know.
He
I
might
like
get
Joel.
caught.
I had a
Can you
good
start
conversation
insults
with
then?
Joel.
Everybody quiet.
This
One
is just a
at
free for all.
a
Is that what
time.
I had a
Kind
good
of.
conversation
Sure,
with
Brenda's
Joel. I
trying
liked
to
it.
say something.
Well, I don't know the rules.
Can we,
I
can
don't
we
know
get
the rules.
if
Do we
Andrew
take
Wilson's
turns
around?
or
Can we get him
what?
up here so Corinth can call himself gay? That's
Right.
one.
Okay.
Do we
I
take
Okay,
turns or
let's
not?
everybody shut up for a minute. Brenda,
Yes?
so our open panel runs as so. We're going to obviously Furby had a question and it prompted a further discussion. Then it ends up in kind of a free for all. This is what we call open
Okay.
panel dumpster fire.
So-
Typically, people are going to be stupid and interrupt. But what I want to try to get to is get everybody to kind of pose a question and have
Yeah.
a thought, and then I'm going to rotate everybody in and out.
I'd
Okay.
like to pose a question to the theist.
I'd like the answer to my question rather than having
Let
Brendan
him go
interrupt.
first then. If he
Joel,
Yeah,
so
that's
can you tell
fine.
me
The impossibility of the
phenomenal
contrary is what I-
conservatism?
Go ahead, Joel.
Okay. The impossibility of the contrary was the entire crux and substance of my opening statement. I don't know if you were here for it, and that's okay if you weren't, Corinth.
I
But
was.
Okay, good. Then you understand that the impossibility of the contrary is demonstrated when we show that the triune God of Scripture is the necessary precondition for the laws of logic. The laws of logic and the laws of
And you're demonstrating these through the impossibility
the
of the
laws.
contrary, which
Quiet
is done
down.
through the
Quiet
impossibility
down.
contrary to this
The
thing.
laws of logic are immaterial, absolute, universal.
That's just a claim.
3 in
This
1.
has nothing to do with the
They are
question of that.
revealed.
Let
to us. Quiet
him
down.
finish.
Only the triune God of Scripture has those same attributes. He is ultimate tri-personality, and he communicates to us in such a way that we can be certain. And one of the things that he communicates is that he cannot deny himself. The laws of logic are grounded in God. If you want to try to make a logical argument, you must constantly presuppose the God of the Bible. That is the impossibility of the contrary, and that's what I've been talking about all night.
Okay, so Joel, your lovely mentally disabled partner over here said contradictions.
Can you put on heels next time you want to
the
stop on
only
me?
thing that showed impossibilities in logic. Can you show me the impossibility, aka the contradiction, according to your team's standard for phenomenal conservatism? This is called an internal critique because I'm using your standard against you.
I'm not an internal conservatist. I don't even know what that
I'm
is.
a phenomenal conservatist. I'm using your standard against you. That's the internal critique.
A phenomenal conservatist. Didn't you already say it? Phenomenal conservatism can yield uncertain.
It's a theory
belief?
of justification. Yes, it doesn't require certainty. It's an epistemic.
That's not my view.
I'm just talking really fast, like you're on
using
Adderall. That's to make your point stronger.
I'm using your standard. I'm not using your standard on your view. I'm using your standard on another view.
Corinth, my epistemological standard is the God of the Bible.
I'm not asking about your epistemological standard. I'm using the standard for falsity, the standard for contradictions your team put forward, Joel.
Internal critiques don't need to accept as truth the premise. It just needs to work with it logically.
For the sake of argument, they need to step into.
I'm not seeing where this is an answer.
I don't have to be a Christian to do a Christian internal critique.
And Corinth,
you have to assume the Christian
Corinth, you're being sent to the back for 10 minutes. Enjoy.
So I've got a question. I've got a question for the theist. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
I'd like to ask the theist a question.
Hold on, Brenda. Go ahead, Anson.
Yeah. So I've posted a lot of super chats in here, and y'all coped your way through them a little bit. And I wanted to kind of touch on the infinite regress problem that I brought up, and the fact that you required a special pleading to remove the universality of the nature of knowledge and logic, to not apply it to God, because that's your code. Your entire worldview doesn't work if all of the constraints of the entire universe that apply to everything else don't apply to your God. So address your special pleading.
It's not a special pleading. That's a category error.
Yeah, you're calling the special pleading something else to avoid discussing. Why don't you just discuss the special pleading that you made? Is that the kind of special pleading it is? Category error?
It's not special pleading. It's a category error.
Yeah, God can't special plead because God is God, right? So this is what we run into.
Yeah. Okay, so it's cope.
It's not cope.
It sure sounds like cope to me.
It's absolutely coping. It's absolutely coping. If God doesn't have to comply or conform to any of the anything logical, reasonable, or rational at all, then why are we describing him in language?
What worldview are you addressing?
Special pleading.
Yeah.
Taylor,
I just heard 4 people, but nothing.
Can God assert a contradiction?
No.
Is God the author of confusion?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
No, that's the devil.
So he doesn't send deceiving spirits to people.
When he does, he reveals that he's doing so that we know what's going on, and there is no.
Well, then they wouldn't be very deceiving, would they?
It actually worked very well. God is an incredibly good planner.
It seems like if I tell you I'm lying, that doesn't really excuse my lying.
That's exactly what happened. God did not lie. God sent a spirit. Well, give me the chapter and verse for what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, but the spirits are doing God's will.
That's right. They are doing God's will, and exactly
God wants them to lie.
Exactly what God wanted to happen had happened. If King Ahab had listened to the true prophet who had demonstrated himself to be a true prophet, instead of choosing lies, instead of choosing the obviously false worldview, he would have lived. So that's a great argument for listening to God's word as opposed to false prophets.
I still have a question for the theists in here about your first premise. What is the justification for your first premise?
What's the possibility of the contrary?
You don't know what the first premise of your argument is?
I didn't say that.
I didn't make the argument.
Why don't you just add? I don't know what it is, so you could.
The contrary.
Yeah. That's a cheap gotcha.
What is the justification?
I really want to know what the first.
What is the justification for the first premise of your argument?
What is the first premise?
You weren't the one of the theists that was in the debate. It was
sure, I'm a theist, but
okay. Can you explain what the fucking first premise was? No, we don't know.
It
The
was that God is
syllogism.
the
We know
is
you
the
don't know, Phil. You
necessary.
weren't paying attention.
It's the premise.
We
is
don't.
that
I don't
God
know
is
what
the
this person is
necessary
thinking of when they're
precondition.
like, you know.
Could you like
do you-
pipe down maybe a little bit? Let other
Well,
people talk,
I don't know why. What
Sorry,
your words
I
aren't
took a
valuable.
shot
You're
and you
just
guys
you're
were
just
talking to me.
soapboxing with cheap gotchas. Hold on, Christians.
It's
Let me
not a
get this.
cheap gotcha. It's very simple. God is the necessary precondition to knowledge, right?
That's the whole prompt. That's not the first premise.
That's a premise. That's a premise. That's a first premise. Syllogisms have premise, dot,
Ask
dot,
your
dot,
question.
conclusion.
I do want to
I'm
apologize.
asking you, you're not a theist. So the
That's not the
question
first
is,
premise.
what is the justification for your first premise?
That's not our premise.
Did you just ask them
So
to
you
do
do-
the whole debate over again?
No,
I
I
can-
want them to give me the justification for their first.
You're
premise,
actually
which is-
fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a reply.
It is. It's a perfect
not.
reply.
Yeah, and
What
it's
is the
coming from someone that
justification?
disagrees with us.
How do you justify your claim that God is a necessary precondition for knowledge?
I think that we can all agree that God has revealed to all of us, even the atheists here today, that you are retarded. Next question.
Yeah. Insults and abuse are not a reply.
I haven't begun to start abusing you yet.
I don't care. So the point is, what is your justification?
Well, what did we say in the
Otherwise,
debate?
That's not our
otherwise,
premise.
otherwise, your argument fails.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
That's why we had a debate.
Yeah. What is your justification for premise one?
What did we say in the debate?
It's not our premise one.
I don't recall. Maybe you could fill me in.
That's a great song. Shout out Lil Woody. I don't recall.
We're
What
not
is
going to
your-
relitigate the entire
Yeah,
debate.
you-
have something-
yeah.
What is your premise? What is
you're
the
either
justification?
you're
It
either
seems like a
here or you
fair-
are. Well,
See,
we're not
praise
gonna-
God.
Seems
Shut
like
up
a
for a second.
fair-
We're not gonna keep like rehashing what they've already stated. The point is to watch the whole debate,
Okay.
hear what they say, and then come up and
Okay.
actually challenge the
Okay,
prompt.
Craig-
And hold on a second, please. Jeremiah with the Big Ten says these are the two lowest IQ atheists Joel and Alex have ever debated.
He's
I've seen
seething.
randos. I've seen randos on TikTok give them tougher competition, though the debate did get better when Craig stopped talking. That's not
Well,
very
come up
nice.
here, Jeremiah, and come
homs.
taste this athist dick.
Ad homs
Yeah.
and
It's not
Jeremiah
ad homs.
Just hope against me as
All right, Brenda, I think you need to go backstage and learn how like ad homs here are okay. You'll survive. Get over it. We don't appreciate.
We hope you don't
deep
survive, though. If
spin.
you don't survive, we're okay with that as well.
I'm not okay with that. I want that person to have eternal
so
life.
harsh.
Just for the record, let the record show.
I'm okay with it.
He's
Jeff
okay. I'm
Horn's
not.
alt
Trust in
account.
Jesus.
Can I donate $10 to drop him again?
Yeah,
Running.
absolutely.
It's running.
You got to send it in just like the rest of us.
Send
Yeah,
it
but
in.
day
Make,
schedule, nobody's
make
It's okay,
Sarah
though.
more
She's going to
money
split it with us
right
4
now.
ways afterwards.
Make Sarah more money right now. Do it, Alex.
Make grifting great again.
Grifting is great. By the way, thank you to the
I
people
still haven't seen how
Photos
any
on
of
my
that
side.
falsified or gave a
Plumpy,
contradiction to
Smoking
logical
Auditor,
possibility
Ticky
that your
Tack,
team affirmed
Imba.
earlier. Your
All
team
right.
affirmed logical impossibilities are what it's counting as showing that. Isn't that requires a contradiction?
What?
What's the contradiction on phenomenal conservatism as a justificatory theory?
Say it again.
Your team affirmed that impossibilities are giving a contradiction. I've not seen the contradiction on phenomenal conservatism yet. Can you show me that so you can give the impossibility to the contrary to justify your argument?
I'm not very familiar with phenomenal conservatism. You're going to have to talk about one of the premises for it or one of the
Sure, I can,
tenets of
give you,
it, and
I
we'll
can
try to.
describe it to you really quickly.
Nominal conservatism gives you
Phenomenal
knowledge.
conservatism.
Phenomenal
Phenomenal conservatism is a justificatory theory. It doesn't give you knowledge, Alex. Again, I'm talking to the smarter
then
half here.
Grid one, send me $100
Talking
and I'll get her to
smarter
do it.
half again.
I would have a conversation with you, but you're just an idiot.
I don't want to have a conversation with you on this because it's a little bit too above what you can handle.
Oh,
That's why I'm
Corey,
talking to
come
the
on,
smart
man.
one.
Look,
But you want to debate me. So why do you
So
want to
if
debate
I'm talking to you about a
Is it a
portion of
fetish of
something,
yours to beat up on retards?
yes,
Corey,
it is. I love
oh.
beating up on retards. This is widely
you're
known
lucky
by
now,
me.
right?
if your
You can ask
world,
anyone in
It is
these
fun.
spaces.
It's
if
a lot of
your
fun.
world, Craig, you know nothing about that. Get serious. Corinth, if
Beat up on
your
retards, so I know a lot
worldview-
about that. Don't worry.
Oh, very good, Craig. Very good.
Been doing it
retards
this
by
whole
what- by
debate.
what-
I love
All
the
right,
liberalness of
Corinth,
it.
you got 10 more minutes backstage, and I'm going to go ahead and wait. Grid one was wants
Boy,
to talk
they really don't
basketball.
want to hear Corinth.
They don't want to hear
I,
Corinth.
I have a possible debate upcoming with Corinth. That'll be fun.
I'll-
He's really annoying.
I'll respond to that. Look, if Corinth wants to come in here and talk about an epistemological theory or justificatory theory that doesn't lead to knowledge, that has nothing to do with this debate. The purpose of this debate is to talk about, is God necessary for knowledge? That's what we've been talking about. And so if he wants to come up and talk about a theory of justification that doesn't actually justify
That doesn't give knowledge.
beliefs, that doesn't actually lead to knowledge, that's completely immaterial and it's totally irrelevant. That's why I was trying to figure out what the heck he's talking about, but it sounds like he's trying to do what I call philosophy shaming, which is when you throw out a theory with a lot of syllables and you try to say, if you don't know what this is, you're an idiot. Now, he did try to unpack it a little bit for us, but when he unpacked it, he revealed that it had nothing to do with our debate anyway. So, Corinth, maybe come up with something.
Yeah, I can explain to you how it's relevant to the debate. Now, your team proposed JTB as the knowledge theory. This is a justificatory theory, as in it's explaining the justification part of JTB. It doesn't itself lead you to knowledge, but it's a part of knowledge. Do you know what necessary versus sufficient conditions are, Joel?
I think so. Yeah. Why don't you
This is
explain
a
it?
necessary condition.
Okay.
You need to have justification. Now, that's not in and of itself sufficient.
Yes,
You having
okay.
justification for a belief doesn't mean it's knowledge.
Great.
So when your stupid teammate over here is saying, well, does this
Shut
itself
up.
give you knowledge? That's
Don't
why
you
I'm
say that about
calling him
Alex.
stupid.
Can we-
He
can we
doesn't
turn this debate
understand the
into a
difference
boxing
between it,
match?
Joel. You and
Alex,
I
keep the
understand the
brakes off
difference.
tomorrow. That'll be
He
fun.
We can do better than that.
Yes.
All right, Corinth, what's your question, man?
What's the impossibility? And your team affirmed that impossibilities are contradictions on phenomenal conservatism as a part of JTB.
What phrase did you get that hat from?
For the certainty theory to
Got it from Walmart, bro.
Does your
That's
justificatory theory ground
Do you want
the
one?
laws of logic?
Do you have another one?
But justificatory
Probably.
theories aren't
I would
required
make
to ground
one.
the law of logic. Certainty doesn't ground the laws of logic. This
We
is
can
a
wear sunglasses
non-sequitur.
and our matching gay
I don't
pride
say
hats.
certainty grounds
is
the laws
not
of
you in New
logic.
Jersey.
The laws of logic are presupposed.
Yeah, that's why saying do these justificatory theories ground the laws of logic is a non sequitur. I don't understand why you're asking, does this do this thing?
Well, because logic is necessary for truth, which is necessary for justified true belief.
It is, but that doesn't mean any given part of knowledge has to be able to justify those laws of logic.
So your question is there another way to justify a belief other than what we presented?
I'm giving you a way to justify it. I'm giving you the leading theory right now in most
Hey,
epistemology. by the
your
way,
camera's going to be
as
on when we
phenomenal
debate, right?
Allow
Yes,
me
it is.
to, ladies and gentlemen,
wanna see you
Craig
spit
is,
all over the place as you talk.
who the fuck? I have one rule. Thank you. Craig is going to
What
make
is
his
it?
eggs. Craig is going to make his exit. If we could kindly give him the floor for his final thoughts.
Craig,
Well,
buddy.
thank you very much. It's 4 o'clock in the morning for me, and I'm going to the gym in about 4 hours and then moving home. So I do need to go to bed because apparently sleep's important. So thank you very much, Sarah, for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you, Flo, for being my partner. That was fun. And thank you, atheists, for having an imaginary friend that I can argue with. That's always not atheist. I'm tired. Theists. Thank you, theists, for having an imaginary friend.
Hey, Craig,
No
it
worries.
was good
It was a
to
lot of
see
fun,
you again. I haven't, I enjoyed talking to you at DebateCon.
Yeah, man. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I recognize you from DebateCon.
It's a different hat. Hang on. I got it
Yeah.
here. Wait, hang on.
But hey, good talk. Had a good time.
Yeah,
it's a
Craig.
different hat.
Coming out.
That was a lot of
Thank you very
fun,
much, guys. And then hopefully I'll be around a lot more. So yeah, thank you very much, and
Yeah.
I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Craig. We appreciate
Craig.
having you on, Craig.
No worries. Catch you later. Bye bye.
Pip pip cheerio.
Pip pip cheerio.
He's used to arguing with the flat earthers. Nothing phases him.
So I've got a question for the theists, if you have the time. It's somewhat related to the knowledge information so far, but it's more related to how your book was constructed and the specifically the Christian part of it, not the part of it that's Judaism that y'all still have, not the Old Testament but the New Testament. The Greek virtue ethics are almost identical in terms of the concept of sin in the New Testament. Why did y'all borrow so heavily from the pagans if God is your truth? I mean, couldn't your Christian people come up with something different, or was it just that the people who wrote the Bible had those beliefs?
How do
and
you know
so
that they
when they
borrowed
were
from-
writing the book, they just took what was handy and used
You'll
it.
have to ask the Romans who wrote it.
Yeah.
Give an example.
All of the concepts of sin that Thomas Aquinas wrote about, he connected these dots together too, and it wasn't
Thomas
controversial.
Aquinas wouldn't demonstrate that we borrowed from pagans.
Okay, Well, I can pull up some
Obviously you
sources
did,
for you to
though.
stick them in the
Yeah, you
back
can
chat.
pull up whatever the fuck you want. That doesn't demonstrate anything.
Do you deny that you borrowed from pagans?
You didn't borrow from pagans, no.
God damn.
I hope God doesn't damn you. I hope he
But
saves me.
Effigy, did you make a Jeff for Truth argument? Do you believe the Romans created Christianity?
It could go either way as far as I'm concerned. What I like to say is it is more likely that the Romans completely invented your religion than any supernatural claim in the Bible is true.
That's unbelievable.
Okay. Yeah.
It is way more likely that all that shit is made up than any supernatural claim
Likely
is true.
according to what standard of probability?
That's a naturalistic presupposition. But if
Under
anybody's
the standard
interested, I
that
did a debate on
supernatural
that
shit
topic
has
on
not
my
been
channel.
proven to be true.
Yeah.
What standard is that?
We can do this. We can say it's probably invented because we've never seen a virgin birth, right? The probability of that being true is relatively slim.
Is that an internal critique of Christianity?
It incorporates reality into it. So I don't know if you consider it an internal or not. Probably not,
Well,
because
by reality would have to be external, right?
Right. So if by an internal critique of Christianity you mean that I have to believe with the impossible shit you believe in
For the sake of argument, yes. If you want to internally critique
okay,
and show a logical
so see,
contradiction, of course.
then you're not doing an internal critique either. You're saying I have to accept your belief
For the sake of argument.
Grant the paradigm in order to critique
This
it.
is
Yes.
this is a
That's
justification. What is knowledge? Alex, what is knowledge?
Belief.
Justify. I'm addressing the justification of believing in Christianity versus the justification of believing that it was probably just invented.
Go
And
ahead.
we can reference particular tenets within Christianity, like virgin births, and say this is probably a good reason to believe that this is make believe.
You think that the virgin birth is a logical contradiction in Christianity, in which God rules over all and can do all that he pleases? You think that's a logical
No, it's not an
contradiction within
internal logical
Christianity?
contradiction. It is a
Correct.
contradiction with reality, our shared
That's
experience.
an external critique. You're assuming things about reality.
Okay, that's
that we
fine.
do
It's an
not believe.
external critique. It still
We don't-
supports the point he
It's
made.
not internal, so who the fuck cares?
Well, Joel, you could
So
make the
you're
same argument
solipsistic then,
supporting
is
the,
what
all
you're
the
saying.
Why
pantheon
would
of Greek
would
gods.
anyone who doesn't believe in it give a shit about an internal critique?
Because of the impossibility of the contrary. Because if you don't believe it,
Demonstrate
you
the
can't believe it at all.
impossibility of it. That's what you've been
That's
asking.
Oh,
what
you
we've
guys
been
are
doing.
solipsistic.
Demonstrate the fucking
That's
possibility of
solipsism.
it.
That's
That's what we've been
solipsism
doing
right
this
there.
entire debate.
This is perfect
Can you
solipsism.
tell me what you did against phenomenal conservatism then?
Corinth,
Fifth time
hello.
I'm asking. Fifth
Corinth,
time I'm
I'll give
asking
you the
for the
PNL.
impossibility
What's
of it in this given debate.
Phenomenal conservatism gives you justification. Phenomenal
Phenomenal
conservatism doesn't
conservatism
give
is
you
a
justification.
justificatory theory.
You gonna listen or no?
Does it give
Yeah,
you
I'm listening.
justification for
I'm listening
knowledge?
right
Yes, I
now.
know.
The P and not P is phenomenal conservatism gives you justification. Phenomenal conservatism doesn't give you justification. P and not P.
That okay, so God exists and not God exists.
Focus
Therefore,
on the-
that's a
Well, no,
contradiction
that's
on
what
God
you
exists,
believe about
retard.
phenomenal conservatism.
No, it's not, you stupid retard.
So
this is why I
can
said you're
phenomenal
the 80 IQ one.
conservatism-
Shut up.
Stupid
Ask
and
Joel.
retard.
Shut up.
Jesus.
I'm asking Joel because
Good thing you're back.
retard, Alex.
This message is sponsored in part by.
Pretty shut the fuck up. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. For starters, everybody in the back fucking stage, if you're messaging in the private chat, stop. I will just boot you the fuck out.
Yeah,
I said
bitches.
logistics only back there. It's getting on my fucking nerves with that little bleep thing going off. Stop doing
Bitches.
it. All right. Secondly, if you are if you're watching on Raging Tomato, I'm going to drop a link for the gauntlet. You need, if you're not a member on the Raging Tomato, you need to go ahead and start heading over to the gauntlet. You can still watch the same stream. You can still chat over there, but it's going to be members only over on Raging Tomato. And then anybody that's not a member, watch from the gauntlet. We're trying to boost that channel up. This is where the open panel portion of things will soon be living. So you might as well get used to going over there now.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we're just going to leave it as members only on this side. So I'm going to just keep dropping it in the link. If the wrenches can go ahead and do that, I'll give you a few minutes to start heading over there. And then the Raging Tomato will be just members only. Okay.
I will leave it. I was just gonna say that I'll leave it here, and me and Corinth
How are
can
you
have a
tonight,
discussion
Sarah?
during our debate. That way, we can have an actual moderator. You might have to do more hands-on moderating during that debate, but obviously we can't have a conversation without a moderator, it seems.
I think
Could
that's
this be a
fair.
after? Yeah.
I think that's fair. Corinth, did you have any other question?
Yeah, I have the
to-
same question I've been asking originally to Joel.
Good luck.
Can you show
Well,
me the
it doesn't
contradiction on
sound
phenomenal conservatism?
well. Again, I don't think you're going to
They've been
get
doing it on panels, Sarah.
Well, hold on. Okay, Corinth, I'm going to remove you. You can wait until your debate with them and let me bring somebody else up. I think, Furby, you still have 10 minutes back there. Brenda, let's try again. And again, ad homs are okay here. If you're going to spend your time worried
I
about ad
understand.
homs and all of that other shit, then I'm just going to boot you again.
Brenda's got a
all right.
but Brenda's barely got a brain.
I understand
Evan
that
Lord.
ad homs are okay with you.
Evan Lord, I wanted to know your thoughts. I think you've been pretty quiet here. Can you go ahead?
All right. On the entire kind of like topic on this, it seems like it'd be socially useful to go and have the basis of all morality and the basis of reality, considering there's a lot of philosophical uncertainties there about it, where having a god is useful and it helps keep society together because it makes it
Could
so
other things keep society together?
no
Only God?
religion is something that every society
So
has 'cause
Islam could keep
otherwise
society
Are
together.
there religions without gods?
Islam could keep society together. then,
Yes,
right?
there are lots of them. Atheism is one, I believe.
Shinto.
Flat Earth is one of them. The Mandela
Yeah,
effect.
Shintoism. Yeah.
I
All
knew
of
I
those
liked
could-
you.
Why don't you just
folks.
list
All
Buddhism?
of those could keep society together.
What's the question?
Can you have a religion without a god?
Yeah, Buddhism.
Yeah, atheism is one for sure.
No, you believe in a bunch of shit too.
I'm not an atheist. I'm an agnostic.
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter. Atheists believe in a
And-
bunch of shit too.
If you're an agnostic, you are an atheist.
Okay.
No.
Point made.
Belief is a true dichotomy. You either do or you don't. If you say I don't know, by definition, you're saying you do not affirmatively believe
Well,
something. Therefore,
You
still
It's-
believe
so
it's a true
I-
dichotomy.
but that's why atheism, I think,
There
is
are
a
no
religion
such
because
things
it
as
has a
agnostics.
positive.
It's just atheists who don't want to admit it.
Atheism is a
No, because atheism is a positive belief in no God. What I'm telling you is,
No.
you have a religion. You have your atheist religion. I don't have that.
Atheism is not
I'm
a
saying
religion.
I don't know what God is
Atheism
here.
is just the disbelief in a claim. That's all
Okay.
it is, literally.
That's all it
I'm not
is.
an anti-theist.
I'm not-
I don't go out of my way to be a
Okay, so we're being
Gnostic,
persnickety
you
with
know,
the definitions. Okay, that's
anti-theist.
fine. My point is that I don't.
With their
posit-
definitions,
I don't
you have to
a
be persnickety about it, man.
disbelief
Just one at a
in a God.
time.
If the God of the Bible is there, then everyone has sufficient evidence to already know him. And so any denial
What
of
the
him,
fuck is that?
quiet, any denial of
Absolutely
him
not.
is a
Hey, you don't
positive
know me.
claim that God does not exist.
It does
So
not exist.
Gnosticism is.
Are you a
is
cop?
to-
Are you a
to,
cop?
anti-theism.
Hold on, Flo.
Quiet.
Let him finish.
He told me to be quiet. Is he a cop? I want to know if he's a cop with that mustache.
I just made a
That's
really good
porn
argument.
stash. That's a porn
made a really
stash,
good-
not a cop stash.
No, you made a really circular argument.
Are you a porn star?
No, that wasn't a circular argument, I don't think. But even if it was, what's wrong with circular arguments in your worldview?
In your worldview, like anybody likes circular arguments.
What's wrong with circular arguments on
Wait,
your
hold on.
worldview?
Does God dislike circular arguments?
God dislikes fallacious arguments.
He likes fellatio.
You're in trouble,
It's always
then.
so funny when
You
Christians
hear
like
everything
claim
you hear.
logic and they're like,
Yeah.
logic cannot exist outside my
Logic-
worldview.
Logic presupposes God. Yes, that's right. That's what this
No, it
debate is
doesn't.
about.
Logic is simply a property of the universe.
My
Oh,
God,
and
my,
you know that because of God. Yes,
my God is the one that has.
No,
the
I know that
knowledge
because
to
the
make
universe
your God.
exists.
you know
Like,
that
because
and
we're
that's
sitting here in it
because of God.
having this conversation.
Does
Account-
God know all
account
true
for God
propositions?
or account for logic without God.
Okay.
Does God know all true propositions?
Yes.
So he knows what it's like to suck a cock.
Oh my God.
All right, I'll move it on.
Okay.
So, Joel, would you say that you
Would he-
said earlier
would he-
Very low bar.
Would he know?
hold that we're all
Would
atheists,
he
even if
know?
that we all believe in God, even if we deny it because of our behavior?
Tacitly, yes.
Yeah, that's just
But-
a begging the question
but-
fallacy.
Hold on. But Dusty, it's possible to hold a belief that you do not believe in God. It is possible to be self-deluded or self-deceived. Alex mentioned that earlier. So by your behavior, by the way that you live your life, you reveal what you do believe. You also hold a superlative, a super, what we might call a superrogative belief on top of that, which is the belief that you don't believe in God.
But
I'm
I
not
really
saying
do. I really like this.
That is some tying yourself in a fucking knot shit,
not
man.
tying myself in,
logic
I'm
thing
talking about
again.
iterative
A belief that you don't believe.
That's correct. That's called an.
That's what you think.
Belief. It's called believing. It's called thinking about your beliefs or believing
lack
about your
of
beliefs.
belief.
So which one do I believe?
Well, you believe both of them, and you need to only believe the one that's true.
So
which
is the part of me that believes in God? Does that mean I'm saved?
No, you do not believe in. Well, let me ask you this: do you believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins and rose again on the third day?
Well, I should ask you, do I believe that? Because
No, I don't think that you believe that. But I mean, if you do believe that, you shouldn't have been.
But
on
you
that-
said that he believes that he doesn't believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But therefore, he would be believing,
this
right?
is why
I
you
mean,
have to get young people. You have to start teaching them young.
What I'm saying is not contradictory. It's confusing.
It simply begs the question.
It doesn't
It's
beg the
literally what you're.
question. No, it
Yes,
doesn't
it
beg
is.
the
You're
question. This is an
presupposing the truth of your conclusion. Your
Yes, I'm
conclusion is
presupposing the truth of my conclusion, and I'm
Yeah,
justifying.
that's called begging the question.
Breaking the third
It's
law.
literally called begging the
the
question.
presupposition. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with
presuppos-
presupposing something. You presuppose things too. You actually presuppose
no, I-
God.
I
Every
don't,
time you use
actually.
logic. The
No, I have
question is,
axioms
can
I don't
your
presuppose.
metaphysical scheme justify your tacit belief in the laws
Can
of
we
logic,
can we
moral absolute,
justify
and transcendentals?
can we justify our axioms?
I don't deal with axioms. I deal with presuppositions. Some
So
axioms-
that's what Craig
can't.
was saying.
They're the same thing, moron.
No, they're not. They're not.
Yes, they
always-
are.
No, they're
An
not.
axiom. Yes, they are.
No, they're not. They're not the same thing, Brenda.
They're not.
A
the
equals
same
A
thing.
is an
Correct.
axiom.
You're
We
displaying your
presuppose
ignorance
that
and
it's
nothing
true.
more,
Yes.
respectfully.
That's incorrect, Brenda. So when we're talking about presuppositions, we're talking about the necessary thing for having an axiom. You couldn't have an axiom without
That's not what a
an
presupposition is.
Yeah, it is. We're talking about prior to logical systems. Axioms are within logical systems. We're talking about what is necessary prior to have a logical system in the first place. So we're talking before axioms.
Yeah, that's not what the definition says.
So I've got a question. So the
Well,
chimpanzees
very
that know sign language, do they have that knowledge because God gave it to them, or did they learn that from a human?
They're going to hell either way.
They learned it
Yeah,
from
for sure.
Oh, okay. So they didn't need God. They just needed another human to teach them.
You're confusing our argument. Our argument is not that you must be a Christian. in
No,
order
I'm
to
making
logic.
fun of it. Is what I'm doing.
You're doing so in a confusing way that reveals your ignorance. So
No,
you should-
no. I'm
Yes,
being
that is what you're
ridiculous
doing.
because your arguments are
saying that
ridiculous.
you can learn language.
You can be ridiculous.
I'm mocking you.
Language or use logic
It's not
from
doing
other
anything.
sources without being a Christian is not the same thing as saying that God is necessary for knowledge. You should really know that. And I'm not shaming you for not knowing it, but you
Can
shouldn't
you
make that argument.
prove that God is necessary for knowledge? You
That's what
still
we
haven't
do.
done that.
Yes, because knowledge requires something absolute, unchanging, and eternal. How are you having logical consistency
What-
without like a concrete
What's
universal?
the argument for
It's
that?
semantic.
Imar?
How the fuck does
if there's
it
no-
follow? Like
because
all
if there's
knowledge
no-
is a belief held to such a degree that it would be world changing if you lost it. It doesn't even say whether knowledge doesn't even by its own nature mean
what
that it's true or
knowledge is.
false.
Okay, but knowledge requires logical
Knowledge-
consistency, and where are we getting logical consistency without an absolute, unchanging God?
Knowledge
You
just
can have
requires
knowledge that is
justification.
incorrect.
I
Knowledge-
realize that, but knowledge is
How do we
universal.
determine if it's right or wrong?
It's just a warranted belief. That's all.
Do you,
it is.
do you accept that there's logical consistency? Because if you do, you're going to need a concrete universal to account, metaphysically tether
What's
your
the
logical
argument for that,
consistency.
Mars?
No,
What's
you
the
don't
argument
need
for that?
You don't
What?
need-
Yeah,
The
what's
universe
argument
is
that
the
we
concrete
need
universe.
logic?
The laws of logic that are built into the universe that necessitate the way it exists
No, they
are
don't.
the concrete. Yes,
No,
it
they
does.
No, the,
Well,
They
logic
already
doesn't have
exist
anything to do
within-
with the
One
way
at
the
a
universe
time. You're
operates.
all
It absolutely
like,
does.
Well, I was told this is a dumpster fire, so
yeah, but nobody
It's
can
like
hear
a dumpster
anything
molder.
of what anybody is saying if you keep like talking over each other.
Molder.
So just be
Right.
reasonable.
not to mention, Brenda, when you ask for an argument for P1, that's a loaded question because you're assuming arguments are possible without reference to God. We're saying that God is necessary for arguments. So when you ask for an argument for that, you're assuming that arguments are possible without reference
Right,
to
and this is
God,
the
which
kind
is
of-
what's in question.
That's
the
just
kind of
you
rot
begging
brain
the
thinking you have when you
beg-
think things like logic comes from God.
Calling it rot brain is maybe rhetorically powerful to some
Mars.
people, but it does absolutely
I was
nothing
impressed.
to rebut or
It's just an
refute
ad
the
hoc.
argument. What we've been doing this
Good one.
entire time is explaining how God has the necessary attributes
It's
to
just a
ground
stupid way to
logic.
negate everyone's
You can
argument.
call it
That's all it is.
stupid. That's just an ad hominem.
You're not a Christian,
It just
therefore
throws
you can't argue
stones
with me.
over the fence. What we've
Why
done is
does-
You're not
highlight
using an internal
God
critique where you're already
has the
wrong.
necessary
Guys,
attributes
guys,
in order to
guys,
ground logic.
guys.
That's the argument. You can't
You
just
guys-
say it's stupid. You have to provide an argument, a justification for
You
your
haven't given an
presupposition that
argument
logic
yet.
is possible.
This
You
is
have to
this.
give
You're not understanding. We all bring metaphysical baggage to the debate. Everyone does. Now the question we're asking is, whose metaphysical baggage can make debate like possible? Do debates make sense according to your own metaphysics? And we can demonstrate that only on the Christian metaphysics could we actually debate, and it's like makes sense. It's
Okay.
totally inconsistent
All right,
and,
Mars.
and
Okay,
contradiction
okay.
to debate
I
on any
hear you.
non-Christian metaphysic.
I hear you. Go ahead and make that case.
Right, because arguments require
ahead and
something
make it.
absolute. We
That's
need
you're
something.
just restating the claim. Make your case for the claim.
Yes, debates require
You're just
objective.
restating the claim.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the
Oh,
argument
okay.
has to do with the presuppositions to make a debate. So to make a
yeah,
debate,
so
we're going to
make
need.
the
Hold on.
argument.
Is
Oh my
it
God.
possible for us to have a debate or to have an argument about which Pokemon would win?
No, we need objective truth to have in a debate. If there's no
I hear you
objective
stating
truth
that.
that we share, there's no point. If we're all in our own little truth
Can
bubble,
I ask you a
right,
question?
all right.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah.
'Cause he's
We
angry.
can literally
Um,
all hear everything of what you're saying, but because you're
I'm just
yelling,
too
it
close to
comes
the
out
mic, my
even
bad.
worse. Well, maybe you should chill the fuck out.
Because he's
too
pissed
close
off
to
because
the
he's
All right.
crying little bitch.
Sarah,
Mhm.
Sarah, I'm actually gonna call it a night. This is entertaining, but it's not that
not
entertaining. I'm
informative.
sorry.
I would
All
love
right,
to
well, I
talk
guess I better go to bed
Look
too.
like a cool guy.
No,
Stay
di-
long.
Now you stay and argue with your little friends.
Okay, you don't want you say you don't want me to come to bed now?
Oh my
Don't
god.
this is what a proposition
You know,
is in atheism.
Flow State has this
Well,
weird
Get
obsession.
your jammies and your toothbrush and toddle along.
Who said that?
What?
I don't know. What's your name? Grid One.
Little bubbles
Motorsports?
light up. So the avatar.
Yes, I am Grid One.
I would love to talk to you sometime. You look like a cool guy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Normally, I would. It would be great if we could actually talk, but you guys are just yelling at each other, and you're saying the same
That's
things
a-
over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
And that's not.
It's a
I
defense
support your right
tactic.
to do so. I think you guys are having. I think you're all great.
Who do you think won?
It's
the
really
debate?
interesting. It's really interesting to me that we have so many atheists up here at one time. That's really impressive.
Who
Plug
do you
my
think won
channel.
though? Before you go,
None
I'm
of
sorry?
you won.
Yeah,
You're
I'll-
all white belts.
Can
You're all
you
white
just
belts.
listen? Shut up, Grid. Who do you think won?
Who do I think won?
The guy who's cool.
I mean, look, I got to be honest. Flo and Corinth have made some pretty solid, and Anson have made some pretty solid arguments. I haven't heard animated effigies arguments, but I don't know. I think the Christians are, and look, and I'm on your side here. Your arguments need to be a little tighter. They just need to be a little tightened up. I think you're right.
Who are you talking to?
The Christians.
Yes.
I don't know all of your names. I'm sorry.
It's all
Did
right.
you
I
understand?
apologize.
Did you understand their argument? Guy in the hat.
I'm sorry. Who said that?
I did.
Brenda.
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 Guy in the
Okay.
hat. I've forgotten your name. I don't know people's names. The first time here.
yeah,
Did you
Sarah leaves the
understand-
comments all the time.
Did you understand the theist side of the argument?
I understood both sides of the arguments. I've heard these exact same arguments over and over for the past 2 years.
What
so
was
I'm
what
really
was
familiar.
their justification for their first?
It's the same as it always is.
Which is what?
That if you without a eternal existing reference, God, you can't even have a discussion because you need that reference. You need that.
But
Otherwise,
that's the
it's just
claim.
your opinion. It's
That's
just
the
you know
claim.
your preferences. And I'm condensing this a lot. On the agnostic or man, it's late.
Right. So they
atheist
didn't.
side. Thank you,
Yeah.
atheist. On the atheist side, you make the same arguments to logic, and the interesting thing is it's really ineffective to talk about paganism and all of that. Although I liked Anson bringing that in, that was great. But it's interesting. It's a good sidebar, but I personally, it doesn't sway me.
Right.
Theist,
Thank
tighten
you.
your arguments up. Atheist, you guys got it pretty good.
In what
Got it
sense?
down pretty
So,
good.
It up in what
according
sense?
to you, dude, and the red hat, they didn't justify their first premise.
I don't
That's all
have a
you-
red hat.
It looks red
It's
in my
just because
monitor.
you're lighting. That's all.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's because
Yeah,
that's
so-
not our first premise.
Well, he said it was.
No, he never did.
Yeah, he said it
that's
was.
no, that was the.
Can we hear
topic.
the rest of Grid's conclusion while he's leaving?
Yeah, can just
Or was
Grid
that it?
finish up without
Right.
being
He
interrupted.
He
5
said that
seconds.
God is a necessary precondition for knowledge, right?
What
And
he said is the
that was
atheists won the
argument.
debate, but Christianity relies on faith, so it works.
Right.
It works. It actually works for us to win the debate.
What is-
This is actually the
No,
conclusion that never
faith-
ends. I'm just going to jump in and say,
work for it.
yet again, that the laws of logic presuppose the exact God, the triune God of Scripture. He is the only God. He is the only possible
Assertion.
grounding for the
There
laws
are
of
no
logic
laws
because
of
of their
logic.
attributes. The attributes of the laws of logic are that they are immaterial, universal, absolute, knowable, unchangeable over time, universal, and they are three in and
Those are-
one in nature.
Those are
Without
claims.
That is-
God, we do
Back
not meet
up.
the laws of
Those are
logic.
claims.
I love
Now,
that you
can
keep
say
smuggling
that's
that in there like
claim,
it's
but
not
that's
an
just a
issue.
position. Look how everybody gets so upset.
Well, no,
because they know
no, we get upset
this
because you just
argument
make
is
like assertion
airtight.
after assertion
They
after
know
assertion
they're
after assertion.
I'm actually trying to
Can't even-
leave, so you guys. can
All
continue
right,
this
everybody,
for a
shut up.
minute.
Go ahead,
Take it easy,
Grid.
Grid.
Hey,
All
Grid,
right,
nice to
so
nice to meet you.
yeah, so
Shut up.
I honestly would
Grid
call
wants
this one a
you.
draw. I think
Yeah.
the theists I think they have a better argument, but
You're
tonight
Christian.
the atheists actually made a cleaner argument. That's what I'm going to say, and if you don't have to agree with me.
Actually, what
That
you
was
had-
diplomatic.
Yeah,
A very
what you
reasonable
actually had-
man. He's a very reasonable man.
No, he's
I'm not.
unreasonable.
I
Oh,
am
shit.
unreasonable.
Yeah.
He's unreasonable as hell.
You guys can find me on on YouTube. And Unreasonable Man. It is at Grid1-Motorsports.
Oh my god!
And you can come find me there. I don't argue religion because I'm not qualified, and I don't judge religion because I'm not qualified. You folks have a great night. You're all beautiful people, except you, Flo. And
I'll be to bed after this or whenever you say
Which
you're
one
ready.
Which one is Flo? Which one is Flo? I don't know.
anyway,
Powder, me, the powder,
there-
Dusty.
you guys have a great night. Enjoy
You too.
all of it. So
Nice to meet you, bro.
see ya.
Good to see you, Grid.
Thanks,
Good
man.
night.
Take care.
Good night,
So,
Grid. And
Brenda-
let me actually, Furby, your timer has come out.
I have a question for
Brenda-
the non-Christian theists.
It came out.
Can I ask that?
Can I just say something real quick? So, Brenda, when you say that's just a claim, you're predicating, and predication requires something absolute, unchanging, and eternal. So, what's absolute,
Assertion.
unchanging, and eternal?
Yeah,
That's
but
not-
it doesn't
Begging the
though.
question. You're just begging the question, P. Mars.
I'm not begging. You predicated when you predicate, you're assuming, presupposing something absolute, unchanging, and
No,
eternal.
you're not.
In order
I don't
for you to
Get
predicate,
any? I don't.
So
think
how
we're
are you
gonna get anywhere
predicating?
with this?
how are you predicating? If you're
Because
not
you made a
assuming-
claim.
You're like a
being
scratch
parasitic.
CD or something.
Mm-hmm.
Your view is parasitic on our view because you're predicating without
No,
a.
it's-
No,
Okay.
your view is parasitic on human behavior and interactions. It's parasiting logic. It's parasiting morals. It parasited Christmas. It parasited Judaism. Get the
Are you
fuck out
talking
of
to
here with
Brenda or
parasiting.
P. Mars?
He's talking.
He's trying to say that about
Mars and I
Christianity.
are talking.
Okay, because you cut off Brenda to say that, Flo. Like maybe
No,
let
I
her
don't. I don't give a fuck about Brenda
Here's
either.
history.
Brenda's no better.
Yeah, you have that kind of bias.
I'll
I've
be right
noticed
back.
that.
All right. I have a question for the non-Christian, non-theists here in the room.
Non-Christian, non-theist.
If you are a fallibilist, if fallibilism is true, fallibilism says that you can set the threshold for what is considered knowledge at anything less than 100% certainty. If knowledge does not require certainty, what principled reason do you have for setting that threshold of justification at any particular percentage? And why not 1%?
And before you answer that, Furby, you got another 10 minutes backstage.
Cool transphobia.
20 minutes now. All right, timer. And let me get you out of here.
Mel got extra 10 minutes for being.
And actually, stand by because I do need to do a overlay and a voice confirmation. Brandon, are you with us, darling?
Yes, I am back with you.
Okay. What's 7 plus 3?
10.
10. And we're not going to show anything on screen that we shouldn't, correct?
No, absolutely not. That's why I had my cam on.
Well, all right. That sounds
Kidding,
good. Thank
but,
you.
You know,
Why do you
Also,
ask
it's
the
not
number
like-
question? Like, are you
You
weeding out
can-
chatbots that can pretend to be human but not do simple math?
Well, you can change the question every time so they don't have a prepared answer. If I ask the same question every time, it would be easy just to prepare the
But
answer.
if they could navigate the answer, then they can do the math on the fly.
It's a lot harder, though, right?
I don't know.
Well, Sarah, I've been on your panel before.
I
just
thought
wanted to-
you have. I thought the name on there looked familiar, but I never know.
Yeah. That's okay. Is my mic okay though? I know sometimes like it.
You
crackles and
are
pops.
kind of glitchy, actually.
Gotcha.
not-
I'll go on mute until I'm able to hop in.
Okay. All right.
So I just
Jeff.
asked, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
are we free to go now? What is it? What is? How can you possibly say that logic is like this transcendent, immaterial thing?
Wait, how does this respond to my question I just asked?
You didn't ask a question. Sarah was talking.
Did you not hear my question about fallibilism?
Oh, that was.
Could you say it again?
Before she started talking.
Yes.
I'm
it was-
not a fallibilist, so you're talking to somebody.
Well, then
else.
if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. I specifically was talking to fallibilists. All right, I'll ask it again. If fallibilism is true and knowledge does not require certainty, what principled reason do you have for setting the threshold of justification at any particular percentage, and why not 1%? And
Well,
Alex,
what is-
this might have been a question that you came up with, or at least it was based on something that you said.
What is the threshold?
100%.
Yeah.
It wasn't that in the beginning, both of your opening statements, it doesn't have to be 100% to be knowledge.
If you listen
For after
carefully,
the debate.
Reasonably, or was it justified?
So there's first order knowledge and second order knowledge, which Joel got into in his opening. And
What
first
was
order
your
knowledge.
definition?
Well, the definition
Justified
of knowledge-
reasonable belief.
no,
Well,
no,
no,
justified
justified
true belief. Justified
But
true
then-
belief. Go ahead.
Guys.
Alex. Okay, so just really quick, just to clarify, in my opening statement, what I did was I defined knowledge. I agreed with my partner's definition of knowledge as justified true belief, and then I offered an option for a second tier level of knowledge, which is warranted true belief, which a fallibilist could assent to, but only with certain caveats. So my question is, for the fallibilist, and I wasn't saying that I agree with fallibilism, but I was saying that I think it can be reasonable in some cases to say I have knowledge based on the deliverances of my truth-seeking faculties, only because of my prior belief that I have reliable truth-seeking faculties that are operating in a propitious environment according to a design plan. So that's more of a colloquial definition of knowledge. But what I'm asking is, for a fallibilist, why would we say that something is considered to be knowledge that is less than 100%? And why couldn't something that is only 1% certain be considered knowledge? And if it can be or can't be, isn't that just an arbitrary limit?
So now that you're done spurging, let me just
Come on,
correct
man,
you.
that was a very reasonable
Let me
question.
just
Just because you didn't
correct
understand it doesn't
you
mean I would
because you've
spur
just done a
you.
big word salad and you buried
It wasn't
the
a
lead.
word salad. Those were
Right?
words.
Yeah.
That was
No,
a word buffet. That was a word gourmet.
Stop.
That was
You're
a
right.
word buffet.
Having a justified true belief is not 100% certainty, man. It's just having sufficient evidence or reason to believe whatever your proposition is. You're confusing 100% certainty with a justified true belief.
Oh, really? I know
you
you
explained fallibilism with that. because the level of justification is where infallibilism distinction comes in.
Look, if you just have good evidence and reason to believe a proposition is true because you've gone through the process of studying it and you have a brain, right? And you do all of the what was it, syllogisms or whatever it is you philosophy fucks like to do, right? Then you've got to justify true belief, right? But it's not certain. Like, people are wrong.
So
people are wrong. People make mistakes. You're people. And even your belief in God is fallible, right?
So answer my question.
But Anson,
I can answer it.
As long as you have good evidence, how do you qualify good evidence?
Oh, okay. I'll give you an 82%. There. Are you happy? It
That's
doesn't matter what number I use. It's irrelevant.
Right, so it's arbitrary. That's what Joel's point was. It's fucking arbitrary.
Yes, but having a justified true belief is not 100% certainty, and it's also not arbitrary. And you can have justified true beliefs and not be 100% certain, and that's okay.
You literally just said I'll give you 82% as a number.
I was messing with you because
hold on. Brandon, your mic is popping. I'm gonna give you like 2 more minutes to finish,
and that pussy ain't.
No, you're good. I'm gonna try and fix it. On the StreamYard, for some reason, my mic is always
Popping mics dries women right up.
Let's maybe try turning off echo cancellation and reducing the mic background.
Or
Sometimes
just
that works.
Solve your audio issues somewhere else.
All right.
If you're using something other than Chrome, Firefox sucks on.
Okay, we can. Why don't we all just tech support him right here? Let's go.
We did that.
Have you tried turning off your computer and turning it back on?
Try blowing in the cassette.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you're showing your age there.
I am.
They quit blowing in them by like Nintendo 64. That shit was done.
Yeah, and it never even worked, really.
Yes, it did. Yes,
Okay, but would you ever do the tap on your head thing too? You blow in the slot and then you tap it on your head twice?
No, I didn't
The
know
real
that.
trick when it can't load.
Tech supporting me. Can you tell me whether or not my mic is?
Hold on. So don't do anything. Don't do anything. All right. Now try talking.
Oh yeah, I was saying, Dusty. Since you're tech supporting me, can you show me whether or not it's better, or tell me whether
It's
or not
still bad. It's still bad, homie.
Well, maybe I'll just have to turn my earbuds off and then come
You-
in my.
It sounds better now.
It sounds
It's a little bit better. It's 10. Actually, it's tolerable now. Let's just roll with now.
82% better.
Yeah, I'm 82. I'm afraid that if you
82% better.
yeah, but knowledge. I mean, knowing something, right? When somebody says they're knowing something, that's really just an emphasis. Because ultimately, if we're being real, none of us can know in that sort of a pure philosophical sense anything except for basically our existence. Hold on. Yes, even with a Christian worldview, you could be wrong about your religion. So this is what I've realized that Christian debaters do. They gaslight the fuck out of you, and then they supplement after they've gaslit you. They bring in a paradigm that is internally consistent, but it has no attachment to reality. But it's not attached to reality at all.
Wait, how do you determine whether or not it's attached to reality?
No, see, if I may, like, this is my problem here. Like the hinging on knowledge, right? And of course, these guys probably consider that their religious beliefs are knowledge to them, right? So if other people have just as ardent religious beliefs, they would say that those people's knowledge could be false. So in the same turn, your knowledge that you hold the most certainty in could be absolutely false.
Defend that.
Because certainty is not knowledge.
That's real quick. That's an assertion. You have to defend that assertion.
No,
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. You guys keep. This is why you have to keep adding on the qualifier of
Not
true
adding,
knowledge,
you
because
need to
knowledge is just a belief that has some certainty in it.
Real
So you
quick.
keep adding true, and I think it's disingenuous for Christians to add in truth, because in my in my worldview, true is that which comports with reality, and I know you guys believe that truth is that which is.
See,
comes from God.
Effigy, what they're doing is a word concept fallacy. What they mean is dogma instead of truth. They have dogma.
Well, no,
Study epistemology.
Make a
truth is an
claim
important
and then
concept.
not defend it when someone says defend that claim. If you make an assertion, you have to defend it. You said that functionally all religious claims are epistemologically equivalent. You have to defend that claim. And if you want me to put that in a way that's not quote unquote word salad, which is actually a word steak because it's so nutritious and good for you, amazing.
You get a W for that one because that was
Thank
funny.
you. What I'm going to say is this: back it up. You made a claim. Back it up.
Back that ass up.
I'm still eating that steak. That shit was good.
Well, no, my example is simply that people who have religious views consider it knowledge. And then from your own worldview, you would consider everyone else's knowledge to be not true, even though they hide to just his degree.
That's because they confuse certainty with knowledge.
No.
When you say certainty, we're
Well,
not.
this is kind of FPG's whole MO. He'll assert a bunch of things, won't actually back them up.
And here I feel that's exactly what just happened.
Then back up.
You asserted something and then you didn't back it up. Exactly.
All right. And let me read a few more super chats from earlier that I didn't get to. I had to actually kind of skip through some of the $5 or less, only because if not, we would just be sitting there reading super chats.
I'm taking up.
Personally feel like came in with the $5, said Joel, feeling like a freight train, first one to complain, leaves with bloodstain. Aisha's go with the big 7. I love the raging tomato. A Q-tar with the big 5 says, since knowledge relies on your senses, would knowledge exist if you personally did not exist?
That's about the dumbest question you can think of.
Why?
No, he's asking about whether or not knowledge is mind dependent or mind independent.
You can know things without
pretty simple question.
them being. You can know something without it being.
I mean, our knowledge
empirical.
wouldn't exist, but somebody else's probably would, right? We know that because when somebody dies, we don't stop knowing things. So
God's knowledge would always exist,
the defenses of the Christian worldview become increasingly more solipsistic the further down that rabbit hole you go.
Well, no, Dusty. They're asking whether or not knowledge relies upon a mind. I feel like
I would say that it does.
Sarcastic Saint with the big 5 said, second worst panel ever, Sarah. Please change Craig's adult diaper and give him his bottle so he shuts up. Now I see why Craig is losing all his hair. It's quite the
Boy,
hit.
that was a hard seed. That was a lot of seething packed into one.
He didn't really talk that much. He didn't really
Flo
talk that
kept
much.
interrupting him.
Yeah, so he
Steve?
didn't really talk that much.
He was taking. I wanted to go in a different direction.
That's fair. B Twix with the big 5 saying, show me God exists entails presuppositions. LOL. Does Cringe Craig really not understand what he's even saying?
What's the presupposition?
I'm pretty sure
entails.
Craig doesn't know what he's saying.
But I mean, okay, that's
it
fine.
doesn't
But
know
what about the
presuppositions.
first
For example, here I can
Consciousness,
show you
logic,
Dusty.
knowledge. These are all
Me entails that there is a self. Exists entails existence itself. You're making presuppositions. This is actually why I came up on the panel, because I wanted to talk to Craig, because he said, "I think, therefore I am." Right, and this
That was me.
presupposes the self in the word "I." It presupposes that you're able to have thought in the first place, which is think.
You understand that language is derivative of reality. It's not reality.
You
itself.
also understand that it presupposes that logic. I mean, not logic. Language
the map
is
is
able to
not
be
the
comprehended.
territory.
Logic too.
Right.
has nothing to do with
Here's what I'm saying, Dusty. Here's what you're not. Here's not what you're not catching this, Dusty. Listen. So the words "I think, therefore I am," this argument, right, presupposes multiple things. It presupposes the I, which is the self. It presupposes that language has meaning. Otherwise, you couldn't give the argument to begin with. It presupposes that existence is actually a thing because I exist. Right? You're presupposing.
And all
a
these presuppositions
kind of
could be wrong. It is possible that I'm a
Right,
crazy
but I'm showing you
person
the same
and
thing.
you're all figments of my
Sure,
imagination.
but when you say the fundamental, the fundamental grounding for your position is "I think, therefore I am," you're not actually giving a grounding. You're just making another claim which has more presuppositions baked into it. It's such as the super chat that just came up. Show me God exists. It does have presuppositions as an entailment. Me means that there is a self, and I.
The presuppositions don't. Then that doesn't demonstrate God.
B.
Oh shit! I'm not.
What's the
disputing
guy's
that.
name with the purple B? What's your name again?
Brandon.
Right. So the cogito, yeah, you're talking about Russell's interpretation of the cogito, right? So there's another interpretation, which is that it's not making an argument. It's simply an experience.
No, it's a self-evident. It's
Right.
an
Well,
attempt at
well,
a
you would have to presuppose existence in order to have an experience. You would
That's
presuppose a
Russell's.
mind or a brain in
Not a
order.
presupposition. You're just
Russell's.
here.
That's
Yeah,
that's
but okay,
Russell's.
great. But I'm not even
That's
talking about
Russell's critique.
Bertrand Russell. I'm not even giving
Yes,
Bertrand
you
Russell's
are.
argument.
I
All
know.
right, all right. Next question.
I know the
Good,
arguments that you don't even know you're
good question came in with the big five. There were
Russell said it's circular.
good question came in with the big five. Says there were people 60,000 years before Yahweh created Yahweh. Dyslexia.
Is that like a
created
new
the
Australian beer or something? What the fuck is that?
Yahweh.
drink it.
Yahweh created the
I'd try one
Christian
too.
universe. So God is unnecessary for knowledge.
He tries this on my channel. Yeah, he tries to say this. No, there weren't. No, there weren't. Because to assume that the biblical timeline is incorrect is to cut off the limb that you're sitting on, the limb of the tree that you're sitting on.
you
It's
a
literally,
young-
it's
are
a
you
man
a
climbing up
young
into a tree, taking a saw, sitting on a tree branch, and sawing off the branch that he's sitting on.
Okay.
Your
Are you
whole
a young
worldview is
Earth
going to collapse.
Can we address this?
If somebody wants to say that the Bible's timeline is wrong, you're attempting to disprove the Bible's epistemology, but now you've lost the grounding for the
That's
laws of
just
logic. and all the
your
other
your
truths.
interpretation of the Bible's timeline. Are you
Yes,
a
it's
younger
my
creationist?
interpretation. Of the
Where did
Bible.
all the
Yeah,
water
it's not
go
like I
from
just
the
pulled it out
flood?
of my, it's
Yeah,
not like I just
so,
made it up.
so we know for a fact that the Earth is in fact 4.5 billion years
Are you
old.
certain about that?
We don't know that for a fact. Don't
You're certain about that,
overreach.
according to
Don't
what standard of
overreach.
absolute certainty?
What?
Don't
Science-
overreach
You know what?
with your claims. This is how they're going to fuck you up. You're going to make a claim like that you can't support, and then they're going to fuck you up.
Dusty, you're not far from the kingdom of God, man.
I am the kingdom of God. That,
Well,
and I learned
no.
it, and I learned that because I read my fucking Bible.
Dusty, you're not far from the
Did you
kingdom
do
of
a
God.
Bible
You need to
study with
repent
Billy
and trust in the
Carson?
Lord Jesus Christ.
I am doing Bible studies every Tuesday night now.
So
No, but you should
again-
invite Billy Carson.
Again,
Hey.
to answer his question, to answer
Dusty,
his question,
invite me to
you
one
know,
of your Bible studies. sometime.
science
No problem.
doesn't give you
Every
absolute.
Tuesday night, he has one.
Tuesday
He
night.
reads the Bible.
Every
I wanna-
Tuesday night at 8. I normally don't open the panel until after a couple hours. But tomorrow, if you want to join me, you can join as a special guest.
I appreciate
So,
it.
to
I'm gonna check
answer
my
the
schedule
plaid
out. I
guy
really
in
want to
plaid.
join you.
Yeah, so to
Uh,
answer the guy in plaid, right? Science doesn't have certainty. It doesn't give you that, right? So we know to a considerable degree
What
of
degree?
confidence
What
that
percentage?
the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. To a
What
high degree,
percentage?
a very high degree. I don't know,
Uh,
right? So we know
higher than 50%.
because we know because our physical laws about radioactive decay would be wrong.
This is the same person that said they weren't a fallibilist, by the way.
This is the same person that said that's the first premise. Was
Good
a premise.
question
Reliable.
with the good question with the big five again. Says ravioli, penne, lasagna are consubstantial and share in the glory of pasta. God is pasta and Jesus is ravioli.
I love comments like this because it shows the absolute inanity and folly of atheism. Yeah, okay, yeah. If that's your comment, you're not helping your cause at all. You're making yourself look foolish, not the Christian.
What's wrong with
It's
what he
not
said?
a
though?
cause.
Oh, there's nothing
Atheism
wrong
is
with
not a
making
group.
comments like that.
Dusty, get him. It's a religion.
So the issue is that it's not wrong. It's just it illustrates something that's good, proper to point out. It just does it in sort of a tacky way. Like, at least be creative with the insults. The spaghetti monster's played out.
No, so what he's
I couldn't
saying,
disagree.
what he's
Yeah.
saying is that if God's nature, right, is part of the Trinity, then all of the parts of the Trinity share the same essence, which means
There aren't
they
parts of the
into
Trinity.
one.
There aren't parts of the Trinity.
That's his
That would be
criticism.
partialism.
How did
partialism.
Brenda? How did you determine the margin of error?
I want to hear this argument.
Yeah,
How
there
did you
aren't
determine-
parts of the Trinity. Oh, my
No,
bad.
they're not parts; they're persons. But okay, we corrected
No, not
that.
part. No,
Go ahead.
yeah, parts is partialism.
Andy
Not to be
with the
confused with
big
beings.
Andy with the big five says death is the separation of the soul from the body. It is not the cessation of existence. Therefore, God can die when he takes on human nature, soul, and body.
Correct.
Q-Tard with the big five. Hey, Britbong, don't bring up the 3-5 clause when you have absolutely no understanding as to why it was implemented that way. Aisha's go with the big 7. Craig is a presupposition to assume something is evil. Andy with the big 5. Craig, science proves the laws of logic exist before we put language to them because it its ever test leans on a coherence we don't invent.
Which science? Can you refer me to the science that was used to prove the laws of logic, Andy?
There are no laws of logic, dude.
Is there a science
Laws of
issue that
logic.
you have in mind?
I'm just asking for support for the claim.
I think he's saying that the laws of logic have to
Yes,
exist before we do science because we need them to observe the world.
All the
So we
laws
need to have a language that we can communicate our science in
It's
to do
not- the
science.
laws of
Agree.
logic they're not a language.
are-
They're truths about
There
truth.
are no laws of logic.
Well,
So
then
there
you're
are
saying
laws.
if you don't
refuting
think logic,
yourself,
you shouldn't-
so get
why are
out
you
of here.
debating?
What?
Logic is based on axioms, not laws.
Okay, well, you're contradicting yourself if you
Well,
don't believe
they're
logic
not.
in your
They're
debate.
based
All the
on
laws of
axioms,
logic
not
are really
laws.
defining is distinctions. We're
No,
just
look, no.
distinguishing
You
between
have no
things.
idea what you're talking about.
No, the laws of logic are
I know exactly what the fuck
truths
I'm talking
about
about.
truth.
Listen to me and learn something.
No, Dusty, you don't. You're
Dude, have you
you're
ever
saying
read a
that
book?
logic. You're saying logic itself is the second law of logic, which is the law of identity. That's what you're
So
trying.
That's the
you're
first
saying
law
is
of
the
logic. Let me teach you
That's the
something.
second. That's actually the
first
second.
law of
first law
logic is the law of
non-contradiction.
identity.
Those are
The first law is actually the law of non-contradiction.
Axioms, you dummy.
axioms. They are
No, the
not
third
not
one is the law
fucking
of exclude the middle.
axioms.
But however you want to add, however you want to number them, doesn't matter.
Okay, and so are they all referring to distinguishing between things?
You're all
No.
going to
No.
hell.
No,
No,
we're not.
only
They
the
are.
law of
Yes, they
identity.
fucking
Like
are.
I said,
Only
you
the
don't
law
have
of
a
identity.
fucking
does.
clue
No,
what you're talking
the
about.
non-self contradiction. This can't be that. If this isn't that,
Yes,
all we're
that's
doing is
called
drawing
the law
distinction.
of identity. That's called the law of identity.
No, the law of non-self contradiction says that two things.
No, it's not non-self contradiction. It's non-contradiction, and it would say that X cannot be X and non-X at the same time in the same
Right.
sense.
Right.
You're cooking
So
yourself.
all
at this
that is
point.
a distinction between X and non-X. These are three ways of making distinctions.
No.
No.
Q-Tard with
Okay,
the
so
big
what's the law?
5
Sorry.
says, someone explained to me logically how Blue Flannel Mustache Man time traveled from 1984 to beat Craig and Flo. Thanks.
That's a
He got
cop.
rid of the
Cop
Indian.
right
He got
Reveal
rid
that.
of the Indian and the construction worker. That's how.
Made by Jim Bob with the big 5 says, Flo, is it wrong to teach kids that it's wrong to brainwash kids?
It is wrong, but unless somebody wants to sit around silently for 5 minutes while I explain what morals are and why they're important, I'm not going to argue.
I can't wait to hear how you get morals absent God.
Real quick,
Jim
I do have
Bob-
to
Is
run.
Jim Bob tired of being humiliated yet? I would think so.
When has he been humiliated? When?
Repeatedly.
Oh, by me for sure. Yeah, he
Yeah.
ran from me. He kicked me from his Discord. He's scared of me.
I don't think he's scared of you. I just think that you're retarded.
Yeah, that's a convenient excuse.
I mean, you're
If I were a coward, I'd call
Yeah,
everyone I don't like retarded as well.
basically
Yeah, I don't
nobody
like other
except
people
for
either.
Jared. It's not because he's scared of you.
He can't figure
Actually,
out
a lot of
Jim
smart
Got
people tend to
embarrassed by
love me.
Max too. You saw that, right?
Smart people tend to
Jim
love
Bob-
me, actually.
Sarcasm.
That's a claim without evidence.
All right. Joe Cool with a big 5. The show is not complete if you don't let Craig roast a flat earther. I don't think we didn't have any flat earthers come on, did we?
No.
Craig would have to be able to have knowledge in order to do that.
So I do have to run.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if I have any last words. I think I said it in my closing, but I hope I run into you at an event somewhere, Flo. I'd like to have a beer with you. You're a fun guy.
But if you ever come through Kansas City, hit me up.
Cool.
Flo doesn't
Shout
even
out Jeff
claim.
for being here. I met Jeff.
Hey, good to see you, Wi-Fi.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate having you on, and we'll finish up for your next debate, getting that set up.
Triple
too.
X, I just want to say that you're welcome for carrying the debate for you. And, you know, I'll continue your lessons and hopefully someday you'll get it. Okay. God bless
Yeah,
you.
sounds good.
If God uttered a contradiction or a lie, would we stop knowing?
If a square had only 3 sides, would a pizza fly swiftly under the much?
If God's, for instance, said you had a jar and there's 500 marbles in the jar,
The circles were
and God,
squares and
God leans
pants
over to
have
you. God leans over to you and he
shorts.
whispers in your ear. He
Could
says,
shorts be
"There's
pants and
500
the squares
there's
have
500
circles?
Could you stop? There's 500.
Yeah, can you stop asking stupid questions?
Right?
I kind of agree with
Everybody
both
who I
of
wanted
them.
to talk to left.
Would knowing stop?
I'm so
Would
sad.
knowing stop?
Yeah. if there was, what you're saying is if there was no logically coherent foundation for logic, would we be able to know truths? Obviously,
Would it stop,
no.
right? So
Obviously,
like
we
they-
wouldn't be able to know anything. God does not lie. That's not an internal critique of Christianity.
Right. So consider this hypothetical.
I mean,
God
right?
leans
So
over to
you just got your
and-
answer.
No, God leans over to you and tells you
Which
a
God?
fib,
The God who necessarily tells the truth at all times.
How many gods are there?
right? And so he leans over you.
Well, I've got my true one, and he's got his false one.
whispers a fib in your ear. On the other side of the United States, a waitress asks a man what sandwich he'd like, and the man only hears wah, 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 because he can't know anything now, right?
Those
Is
were
that
good
what happens?
ones.
Yeah, they go,
Yeah, Brenda, if you're trying to give an internal critique, I think what Joel,
What in the
I think
world was
is
the
trying to say is that it's
was
a
that? Oh my God.
One,
It's metaphysical
one,
concept.
one.
Is the loneliest number.
Sarah, I'm about to get off the panel. I just wanted to say something to kind of bring people together a little bit because there's something that most atheists can learn from theists and something that theists can learn from atheists. And I think that one of the things that the atheists can learn from theists is that we don't view knowledge or beliefs in the same sort of dogmatic way that y'all do. Skepticism is a integral part of any belief, right? Even what I consider to be a justified true belief, in order for it to still be a belief, I have to be able to question it. And with dogma, you can't say, well, is God real? Right? Is this person that wrote all this Bible, is this stuff actually real? No, you have to actually just believe it on faith. And that's the component. And as for the atheists, from my perspective, we can learn that not deifying ourselves and looking to something higher than ourselves is actually necessary for the human condition because we are terrible guides of our own life.
Hey, Knowles.
And generally
Hey,
create
I have
nihilistic
a
society.
question. I have a
So
question.
I'm gonna go.
I have to go.
See you later.
Well said, Anson.
As well, but can I jump in on that? 'Cause that was-
Are we trying to
and
read
then I'm gonna
super
head
chats
out.
right now?
Everybody, shut up. Joel, would you like to make your exit?
Yes, I do need to make my exit. And I just want to say that I've really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the channel. I really enjoyed getting to know my interlocutors quite a bit, and I am actually hoping that I can make the Bible study tomorrow, and if not, then hopefully soon. I gotta figure out my schedule because I'm doing a lot of these things lately, and I got to make sure I spend time with my family too. But no, I really enjoyed this, and to the point about not deifying ourselves, I think that that's such an important point, and I would be very remiss if I didn't leave you with this. The very same Bible that I've been defending all night is the same Bible that says that each of us falls short of the glory of God. We all sin. That's why we have all these debates and these attempts to try to keep God at arm's length. The Bible says that the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. Jesus Christ really is a historical person. He died on the cross for our sins. He was buried. He was raised to life again in accordance with the scriptures, and he is currently reigning from heaven and holding the universe together. And anyone and everyone who trusts in him will be forgiven of all your sins and will receive eternal life. That's why we do these debates. It's not simply to score rhetorical points. It's not simply to build our channel. And that is truly the
You realize
eternal life
he
I
had
want
two
for
sides.
each and every one
He's
of you.
making an exit
He's
statement.
and he's
Let him-
doing it. He's doing it scandalous. I see you. I'm gonna call you out after you leave.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can
Call
say
me out.
everything
You don't think I
want
came here to
afterwards.
preach? That I've been saying from the very moment I got here. I've got one God. I want you to know him. I want you to have eternal life in Christ Jesus. People don't like hearing that, but someday, Dusty, I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope that you receive the same eternal life